I'm gonna wait to see if it comes through.
I know, I don't trust it.
Yeah, I don't trust it.
I don't trust it. I don't think they're there.
I think it looks like it's working. It looks like it's working on YouTube.
No, they're not there.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the 40k show. This is normally a bit later on in the day, but Adrian and I maybe made a bit of a cock up yesterday.
Yeah, we promised some big things here.
We promised, and then the gravitas of how long this will actually take was like, okay. So we said yesterday, we didn't have a game yesterday because Adrian hates me.
Oh, here we go again.
So we started going through the factions, faction by faction, and kind of talking about how we feel about them now. We've got the information about other factions. Now kind of all the rules are out, okay? So we still don't quite yet have 45 rules and points. And we don't have, if there's going to be a GT mission pack, we don't have the mission pack. But we have every index. We have the points for all of the non-4 draw stuff, and we have the rulebook and the mission, etc. And I thought it would be really cool to go through all those factions. So we started this yesterday, and I was like, hey, we're not doing a game. We've got 3 hours. We'll get through them all.
I was mildly skeptical, but not as skeptical as I should have been. It was probably irresponsible to say,
I was like,
sure, let's go.
At worst, it'll take 2 shows.
Yeah.
And then we got through 5 of 27 indexes.
So this is part 2 of 7.
So we're going to hopefully be a bit quicker today and get through more factions. Now, I would like to say this, but I don't mean this. I'd like to say, hey, less super chats. It won't take us so long.
Yeah.
But I clearly don't mean that.
Don't give him money.
So for everybody who donated over the last 2 streams to us here, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
If you want to support the channel, there's a number of ways you can do it. First of all, please make sure you hit all those magical YouTube buttons for us. Like the content if you enjoy it. The last one's like at 1,000 likes now.
I know, it's great.
What?
People like it.
It's mad.
They like hearing EP on stream.
I'm going to take you home in my suitcase. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and if you are coming across from Titans because you like this glorious human being, then I sincerely appreciate all you people that are hitting that subscribe button. It's amazing. I want to try and hit 25k by the end of the week. It's not going to happen.
No, we got this.
But we have gained like 500.
Wow.
So we've done well.
That's really good.
Because of you. It's all because of you.
You really should, if you're coming over from Titans or somewhere else, definitely like, subscribe. Liam and the folks do some amazing work. Joe is super adorable too. And
he's a national treasure.
He's a national treasure. Yeah. Definitely check it out.
So
fun to get ideas.
Otherwise, you can support us by doing things like becoming a member, using your very own hard-earned cash. It's super important to us. Gifted memberships is amazing, right? And all these people that gift memberships are amazing. We love you. We literally couldn't do this without you. 75% of our revenue is memberships, and 75% of those memberships are gifted memberships. So you guys are super important. Thank you so much. But what's more important to us really is if you choose to spend your own money and just let that continuously tick over. So when these wonderful people like Ozzy come in and gift one like he just has done, it then gives it to a new person who gets to try the area, because you guys who've already tried the Discord and hung out with us in the channel have gone, hey, this is great, I'm going to spend my own money. It's really important to us because it gives us a little bit of security so we can keep doing what we're doing. And this is true for both of our channels.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Memberships are the most important revenue stream we have. Alternatively, what you can do if you really want us to answer one of your questions is you can stick your question on a big, colourful postcard, right? Super chat to us if you want to. 10% of what you do super chat to us is donated to charity every single month. And if you !M4H in chat, it will tell you about the charity that we're supporting. I won't bore you with the details right now, but those guys are amazing. So big shout out to Models for Heroes for what they do. And you feel a little bit better about donating to us then, because it's not just going in my pocket, we're also donating it to charity, and we're feeding Joe and my children at the same time. So
Joe is one of your children.
Yeah. I mean, he is me practicing for a teenager. Literally.
He is.
That's exactly what he is.
You got the whole monosyllabic thing going on.
So we got through 5 factions yesterday. Yesterday we did Orcs, we did Tau, we did G-Cid Occults, we did Leagues of Votan, and we did another one. Necrons. We got through 5. I'm hoping today we get through a few more.
Yeah, we got this. Basically, if you did miss the show yesterday, go check it out. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to go largely through the faction abilities. We'll talk about the detachments, the stratagems, the enhancements, and we'll maybe touch on a couple of key data sheets, but we're not going to go through all of the data sheets, not a comprehensive review. But now that we have played quite a few games and the rules are out, you guys all have opinion as well. We're going to kind of discuss what we think about them and what we think is interesting, what could use some work, and what we're excited about.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday as well. We'll do a kind of light grading where we sort of think where they sit loosely. But actually, if you really want to know competitively where a specific codex sits, I highly recommend you check out Art of War stream from Monday. Very informative and is much better at placing them competitively than we are. We're also going to attack it from kind of a narrative perspective as well. Like, how do we think this rule fits narratively? Does it suit, etc.? And that's just kind of what we're going to sit and have a chat for a few hours.
Sounds fantastic.
This is my favourite kind of content.
Yeah.
I actually prefer this to games. Although I did run the Astra Militarum against Bridger with Chaos Knights last night on Titan's channel, which is one of their members-only streams. Every Tuesday they do members-only content. If you do want to watch that, you do want to check it out, you want to see me and Bridger have a great game full of laughs and fun.
It was awesome.
At one point, I thought we killed Lindsay. She was laughing so hard. So if you want to check that out, you need to be a Titans member. Go on over to Tabletop Titans. You can click the name in the video description or in the title. It should take you across their channel. You can join their channel as a member as well and check that game out. Tons of fun. And tomorrow night, I'm playing Bridger again, but that one's not for members.
No, that one's for everyone, so definitely tune into that.
I don't yet know what I'm running or what he's running.
I have a sense, but I don't want to spoil it just yet.
Yeah, let's not
in case we change it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Cool. Okay,
Awesome.
so off the bat, I'm going to say a big thank you to Ozzy. Yeah, to Ozzy, to Jill, to Tyler, and to Josh, who've all gifted Liam and Adrian memberships. You're legends. Thank you so much. And Zach has become a member all by himself. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
And then Liam and Russ, thank you for the 2. It looks like Liam has brought his son to work.
What?
That's cruel.
That insults both of us.
I don't feel like there's many years between us.
No.
Like,
or even that much, like
3 years
physically
between
common.
us?
Yeah.
Like 3 years older than me?
Yeah. Oh, me? Wow. When I'm a real boy, I want to grow a beard.
Yeah, one day, mate. One day. You'll get it.
You know it. Yeah. I try.
Cool. I think we've covered everything to start the show.
Let's dive on and take a look. Of course, we are here on the Games Workshop site where you can download all of these. As we mentioned yesterday, if you go up to top of the Warhammer community page to downloads, it will in fact not take you here like it should, but it'll provide you a page where it says, here's the actual link. So here we are.
Top job.
We've done these factions here, and this faction, this is
We did use the coast, didn't we? We've got Drukhari next.
Drukhari.
Which is an army you like.
I love Drukhari. I have a big Drukhari collection.
Okay.
And I will say, I'm pretty excited about the new Drukhari. They are interesting. Let's talk about how they work. So, this looks like a lot on the page. We'll try to break it down as easy as possible. Basically, they have these power from pain tokens. So the progressing chart that we had before is gone. Essentially, the way this works is you have these pain tokens, and you can place them on a unit, any unit, and it's going to give you 4 rerolls to hit in that phase. So this works in the shooting phase, works in the combat phase. 4 rerolls to hit. Amazing, very, very strong. How do you generate them? Well, you're going to get a certain number to start. So in this case, you can see for 2,000 points game, you're going to start with 3 pain tokens. Then you get more tokens whenever an enemy unit is destroyed and whenever an enemy unit fails a battle shock test. So very strong against factions that have lots of small units, right? You're going to be triggering this a lot. It does not trigger when your own units die, which is, interesting. So you can't control that. But very flavorful, and ultimately I think very, very powerful. When we played it, John had a ton of these. And then, so it's 4 rerolls to hit. And I actually forgot about this other one. You could also grant reroll advances, reroll charges. It's a bit awkward because you have to do it, I believe, before you actually roll the dice. So it's not as strong as it would be if you were to say, okay, I failed the charge, let me use this instead of CP reroll. But their hits reroll is amazingly strong.
Yeah. I think Joe and I talked about this slightly, and I think the reroll advance and charges is kind of meh. Yeah. Like, I just feel like it's because you could spend a pain token that you then just flat don't use.
Yep.
Which is where I think there's a problem with that one. Reroll hits is very good. I kind of always said that I felt like what Drukhari needed wasn't necessarily the reroll hits, but the reroll wounds.
Yes.
Exactly. But it's still a cool rule. I like it.
It's a cool rule. It's powerful. I won't get into this too much, but I'm a little bit mixed on it, narratively speaking. I like that they're generated when things die and when things suffer. That feels more like Drukhari than the previous version.
Yeah.
But the previous chart giving things like advance and charge was, for me, much more enjoyable because it was about movement, whereas this is about killing.
I felt like in the previous iteration of the Codex, the Drukhari felt like they actually got powerful. The power from pain, it escalated.
Right.
And it got more and more. And granted, it was more complicated, stack rule upon rule upon rule. But this one, a whole unit can feel a whole pain, and they don't get the pain token because you choose to place it somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't know.
On the other hand, the other one, like, you could not kill anything, and they're somehow getting power from pain, even though there's no pain, right?
There's no pain.
There's no pain.
Yeah.
But they're just like,
we're still powerful.
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
that's cool. I like it. It's a cool faction rule. I think you're right. I think it kind of misses a little bit of narrative to a point. They've got it right now where things have to suffer before you get the tokens.
Yeah.
But then the way it's applied, I don't know. It's okay. It's a good rule. Yeah. It's not super strong. It's not super weak. It sits in the middle.
I think it's solid. Here is the detachment. Of course, Real Space Raiders, classic detachment. And in this case, start of the battle, you're going to get an extra pain token for each of the falling in your army, an Archon, a Succubus, Homunculus. I don't know that you're really going out of your way to include a character just for a pain token. So funny enough, it's not a great detachment rule, I'll be honest. Like, if that's all you get, we've seen other detachments that give like sustained hits on the whole army.
The problem I have with this is things like Lilith don't have succubus keyword.
Did we confirm that?
Yeah.
We did.
So if you want to take some of the named characters, you don't get the keywords, and I have a problem with that.
Yeah. I'm very underwhelmed by this.
Yeah.
Don't like it.
I agree.
However, let's take a look at some strats. Prey on the weak. So the Drukhari have this kind of theme going on with them, where it's about preying on the weak is the stratagem here, but that's the theme we see, where it's like, oh, are you wounded? Are you below half? We're going to get stronger with that. That's very narrative. Can be strong.
Yeah.
So the first strat, what's this one do?
So in your shooting phase, one Cabal unit from your army and one enemy unit that is below half strength. So there's quite a lot of qualifiers here already, right? And I kind of am less into strats nowadays that have a lot of qualifiers, considering we only kind of have 6 per faction. Let's carry on though. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, you could re-roll the wound roll. So here's that re-roll wound rolls that I wanted.
Yeah.
But you have to have just a Cabal unit. So we're talking things like Cavalite Warriors and stuff like that. And then you have to be targeting
Ravagers.
a unit already below half strength. And then you get reroll wounds.
I don't want to talk about Necrons again, but
we have to compare.
yeah, they have a strat.
When we have similar rules in other factions, we kind of have to compare.
Yeah, 100%. They can get rerolls to wound in the same manner, as long as they're in half range or they have a character leading their squad. It might be 2 CP.
No, I think it is. I think it's 1.
I think it's 1. It's just flat better.
Yeah.
I wish if this was just below starting strength, then I'd be happy.
It's okay.
Because then it's like, cool, how do you get one person like wounded or bleeding and now they like go for the kill?
But also, why is it tied to Cabal units?
That's a great question.
I felt like on the whole of this edition, GW's done a relatively hard-working job at trying to remove differentiation between units. So it used to be, for example, in 9th edition, that auras would affect core and character or whatever. And now buffs just affect army. Okay?
Exactly.
It's like Angron. I play World Eaters. It's one of the ones I played the most so far in 10th edition.
Yeah.
Angron's abilities in the previous edition, one of them affected core, and one of them affected all World Eaters, one of them affected blah. Now, his abilities affect everything that he's near.
Yeah,
and I felt like that was a positive move. Removing that differentiation between, oh, does it affect this unit, doesn't it affect this unit? It removes the opportunity to get a rule wrong, potentially. But it also just makes things easier and simpler. I don't need to check if I'm in range of a specific unit or not, because I just know that all World Eaters are affected by Angron. And then they bring in a rule that only affects Cabal. It's not a terrible stratagem for 1 CP.
No.
But I don't understand the design choice here when, like you said, with Necrons, if you're within half range, 1 CP, you reroll wounds anyway.
Yeah, and it works counter to the design of the edition, which was, look, we're going to go from like 20 stratagems down to 6. And that's okay because we're going to take away all the very specific ones. Because before it was like literally you'd have a strat for each unit. And that was just, it was fine maybe when you had 20 strats. When you have 6, it's a bit awkward. And we'll see where they follow this potentially flawed logic in with the rest of these strats. Because that one was just Cabal. This next one is only for Witch Cult. Acrobatic display, 1 command point. In your charge phase, 1 Witch Cult unit from your army gains the ability to advance and charge, fall back and charge. Very, very strong. This is a great stratagem. My only gripe would be, why not give this to everyone? And it feels like it's because they're trying to be like, here's the Cabal thing, here's the Witch thing. My guess is the next strat is for a Coven thing.
Probably. I mean, 1 CP advance and charge is
awesome.
Solid.
I would kill for this.
It's really solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that regard, it's very strong. And let's be honest, right? If you remove, so here's an interesting thing. The only time I feel like this might be a problem, perhaps, is with Covens, because if you remove the Witch Cult specific qualifier here, do you really care about advancing and charging with Cabal units? You probably don't.
No. Well, the Court would be cute. But it's not crazy.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, no, because the Court is totally limited now. Never mind. I keep forgetting. You can't stack like a bunch of Urgles and Slits anymore.
No, I feel like it's not a problem.
It's not a problem.
Maybe with some of the Coven stuff, this could be a problem with Advance and Charge.
Yeah, and that would feel a little bit not super thematic.
Yeah, okay.
So this next one, I'll eat my words. This is not a Coven specific. Strike and Fade, Liam.
Strike and Fade. End of the shooting phase. 1 Drukhari. Here we go. 1 Drukhari unit from your army, excluding aircraft. Your unit can immediately make a normal move until the end of the turn. Your unit is not eligible to declare a charge, and that unit cannot embark within a transport at the end of its move. I like this. Is Fire and Fade. It's the same thing. It's just called something slightly different. 2 CP, a full normal move now. It's really strong.
Very, very strong.
Really, really good strat.
Amazing strat.
Yeah, very, very Asiani, very Eldar, very Elf. I think it's really good. I'm a big fan of this particular stratagem. And I think Eldar have got Fire and Fade, haven't they, for the exact same.
It's exactly the same, yeah.
Like that's a stratagem that I'm going to be looking at my limited CP and going, I'm going to need to keep that in the pocket because I think it's so important.
Exactly.
So I love it. And the thing is as well, like it says, anything that's Drukhari, not aircraft. So you can now apply this to things like Ravagers and Raiders. You know, it's really important. You can push a Raider out, fire your Lance, spend 2 CP, and then move it. Well, they move 12, 14 inches onto an objective, for example, and out of line of sight.
Use this aggressively.
That's really good. I'm a big fan of this.
Absolutely. Next up, we have Alliance of Agony. This is a classic strat. 1 command point. At the start of any phase, you select an Archon, a Succubus, and a Homunculus. What you do is you discard 1 pain token from your pool, and then to the end of the phase, all 3 of them are empowered. Oh, right, which is the what happens when you give them a pain token. So basically, you spend 1 pain token to get the value onto 3 models. Does it give it to their units? Yes.
Well, I assume so.
Oh, all 3 of these model units are empowered. This is, and of course, you can only do this if you're able to select all 3 of the models, which is good that they included that.
I'm going to jump into a quick super chat. Don't worry, people. If you are super chatting or gifting memberships, I promise you I will get to you, and I will respond as best I can, or we will respond as best I can to all of the super chats and questions that come in, unless it's going to take us 27 hours. But I will try and get there. I am going to jump to this one, though, from Inequity, who says, Lilith does have the succubus keyword. Love you guys for the great streams. So, caveat, right? The PDFs that we got sent through had mistakes in them. GW were very open with us and told us they had mistakes in them. So when Joe and I checked, she didn't have succubus keyword. So if that's been added in after the fact, that's good. Because this then starts to become compelling and interesting. Like Lilith's unit because she gives them fight first as well, with a pain token on it. I like
Full
it.
Hit rerolls.
That's good.
It's cool. And it's interesting because you can see this detachment at least is very much pushing you towards running all 3 of the sub-factions. Very much rewarding you for that.
Yeah, and it's very Drukhari, right?
It's cool. It is one phase, so ideally you want like all 3 of them to be good at shooting or all 3 to be good at melee, otherwise you're getting diminishing returns. But I like it.
Yeah.
Insensible to pain.
Insensible to pain. In your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its target, so there's quite a lot of use cases for this. A Coven's unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. To the end of the phase, each time attack targets your unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll.
Oh, it's so good.
With, like we talked about this a lot yesterday, with the increased toughness bracket and the not so increased strength bracket, -1 a wound is massive.
I rolled up to the game with Drukhari with 10 flash kits. This is 40 shots, 2 damage, strength 6. I go into a Chronos. John says, oh, well, I'm T7 now. I'm winning on 5s. 1 command point. -1 to wound. Now I'm winning on 6s. Very, very powerful. A very powerful ability to have on demand. Right? It's very, very cool.
I do also think, I'm going to go back into my problem with the fact that you have to target a Coven's unit again, though, because I feel like if you take away the Coven's restriction here, does it really cause a problem if you have -1 a wound on Witch Cult and Cabal units when they're toughness 3?
No, I think it's more of a narrative issue here. Like, I'd feel a little bit weird having witches be -1
Yeah, so I get it. From a narrative perspective, okay, this is cool. Right? From a narrative perspective, I'm not going to argue with the Cabal, the Witch Cult, or the Coven's stratagems. Narratively, cool, I get it. I totally get it. And I did think we spoke yesterday about, I think they probably tried to increase their narrative kind of bias rather than going just down the route of what's most balanced and competitive, and I'm all for that personally. But I'm just thinking from a simplistic game point, trying to keep it simple, fast, people just are able to play strats. Maybe they didn't need the Coven's restriction in here.
I do agree.
Not sure, but it's still a really good stratagem for 1 CP.
It's a great strat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I think looking at, when we get into the data sheets, I think people will have Coven's units. So having that -1 wound is important.
Exactly.
Lightning!
Last up, Quicksilver reactions 1 command point in your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, or just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. Which is cute because it means like Overwatch you could use this against. 1 Drukhari unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of those attacks. You would never use this as an Overwatch because it gives them -1 to be hit. And this one's interesting because in the restrictions it says you cannot use this on Covens, which has always frankly been the case. You can't lightning fast because they're kind of more slow and shambling.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that still, but amazing stratagem.
Yeah, really good.
You're going to use this every turn basically.
It's like lightning fast.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But not on Covens, which is, I think, okay.
Quicksilver fast.
Quicksilver fast. Yeah. But it's a good strat.
It's a great strat. Amazing.
What I find really interesting, this is a slight tangent.
Yeah.
Only slight tangent. What I'm curious of is, so we've seen, and we're going to go through obviously every faction. We're seeing all the stratagems, I think, at the moment that from my perspective at least, were probably some of the most popular stratagems that currently existed in books. So Quicksilver, Lightning Fast, minus one to wound, all these kinds of things, or Fire and Fade. I'm really interested to see what happens when they bring out the other detachments.
Right.
Because it's like, hang on, have you accidentally blown your load on all the good strats in all the initial detachments that are coming out?
Yeah.
And what's the other detachment going to be left with?
Exactly.
So I'll be interested to see what happens. I'll be interested to see if things like this do actually carry over to other detachments and you just gain like 3 different ones. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work.
Right. Like, for example, with Space Marines, in the Gladius detachment, you get Armor of Contempt. But then guess what every other Space Marine detachment also gets? Armor of Contempt.
Right.
Because they don't want to lose it. I'm very curious about that.
It'll be interesting, because I also think the stratagems, depending on their power level, will have a significant impact on where an individual goes with his detachment, sometimes more so than the detachment ability.
100%. Yeah. Certainly here, right? I'm not doing this for 3 pain tokens. I'm doing it for advance and charge, minus 1 to wound.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that.
Exactly.
So I'm curious. I think this is one of the strats that I can see being included in the other detachments.
Yeah.
So that's the strats. Let's take a look at the
We've got some
enhancements.
enhancements.
Ooh, a Crucible of Malediction. Homunculus model only. Again, with their once per battle at the start of any shooting phase, the bearer can use this enhancement. So once per game, better be good. When it does, every enemy unit within 12 must take a battle shock test, subtracting 1 from the test. Subtracting 1 if the bearer's unit is empowered.
Yeah.
Each psyker that fails this test suffers D3 mortal wounds. At the start of any shooting phase. Interesting.
Once per battle is why I don't like it.
Yeah. And shooting phase.
So it's once per battle. You take a battle shock test your opponent can pass. You only subtract 1 if you're empowered. So you've had to use one of your pain tokens. And if there's a cycle on the tabletop, they might suffer 1 mortal wound. They could suffer up to 3 mortal wounds. So for me, this is a bad enhancement.
I don't love it.
Right?
I don't love it.
There's a ton of stuff here that just completely negate. I don't know how many points. I can't remember how many points it is, but there's a ton of stuff there that just flat negates the whole enhancement.
Yeah.
If this was at the start of every shooting phase,
that would be cool.
It's all right then. I still don't think it's great, but it's okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you're not going, I'm going to go for my once per battle thing. And because let's face it, right? You can go once per battle. I'm going to take this to a tournament. Let's say I'm going to take it to an event. So if you're tailoring against a friend of yours and you know he's using units with terrible leadership, this could be a great one.
Yeah.
If you're going to go to an event, I'm now playing Custodes.
Right.
This is kind of pointless.
Yeah.
I pop it. Not even against Custodes either. I could pop this against a terrible leadership army, and they roll a 5 and a 6 and go, cool, no battle shock. That ends. The points I spent on this are now a waste.
Yep. Yep.
So I don't love it,
No, exactly.
if I'm honest.
I agree.
Cool. Blood Dancer for succubuses. Improve the attacks and armor penetration characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons by 1. While the bearer is empowered, improve the attacks and armor penetration characteristic of the bearer's weapons by 2 instead.
I love this.
This is good.
And I don't normally love things that buff characters. This is a real spicy meatball. This is great. I love it.
I think in 10th edition, anything that improves armor penetration is good.
Exactly. It's hard to come by, right?
And then just give you more attacks is just a bonus. That's not bad. I like it.
Yeah, I think this is great. I'm already like, in many of these books, you're almost taking maximum enhancements, or at least a couple. This one is already out for me. This one's automatically in. Let's see what else. Labyrinthine Cunning. This used to be the warlord trait for Cabal of the Blackheart. So appropriately, this is on Archon model only. And each time, already good, you select the bearer's unit as the target of a stratagem, roll 1d6, adding 3. If the result of the stratagem being used is Lance of Agony, on a 4+, you gain 1 command point. Solid. You need to be a bit careful because it's only in the Archon's unit, and you need to make sure that it's something that's going to be around long enough to benefit from this. So for example, GSC have this. I put it on the big neophytes that are pretty much never going to die. You know you're going to get a lot of chances to roll this. It's a bit tougher here because it's like you're putting it on maybe an Incubi squad, or again, I don't even know if you can join them on a warrior squad. No. If you're in a boat, you can't roll for this. It's good, but it's toned down by the kinds of units that you can actually put this in.
Yeah. We've talked about this. Anything that's CP regen is good.
Yep.
Right? So I instantly like it because it's that.
You probably still take it, right?
Here's the problem I have, right? Why did they need to, this is, okay. GW, if you're watching, you told us in 10th edition there was a number of steps you were making, or taking, I should say, to make the game simpler for people to understand by essentially amalgamating rules that are featured in multiple places, named different things, and we're bringing it all under one name, a la Universal Special Rules. And on the whole, I think they've done a good job of that.
Yeah.
Why did they say add 3 to the result if it's the Alliance of Agony? Why couldn't they say, if you're using the Alliance of Agony stratagem, that stratagem costs 0 CP?
Because then it wouldn't be. Then you could spend 0 CP on a 2 CP strat, whereas this one would only reduce it by 1.
But Alliance of Agony is 1 CP, isn't it? I guess the only reason why it might be worded this way is because that would then allow you to refund another CP via a different method, a la like a mission rule, right? Where it says you can gain. So I guess maybe this is the cap of gaining CP back.
Yeah.
Why did you need to say adding a 3?
Yeah.
If you, I don't like it.
The whole adding 3 thing is always weird to me because it's like,
weird.
it's actually guaranteed.
Yeah, it is guaranteed. That's what I'm saying.
You can't fail it. Why don't you just say it?
So you might as well, like, for me personally, you might as well, in a way, word it, when you use the Alliance of Agony strat, do not roll the dice, you automatically refund the CP.
Correct, yeah.
Right? Because you're going, roll a dice, I got a 4, but I plus 3, and I got a 1, that's fine. We're good, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't understand why they worded it
Why did we roll this dice?
But otherwise, super solid enhancement. I like it. Currently, the other one is better to me. The better AP for Succubus. If you have to pick one of the other, I'm probably picking that one. Simply because of exactly what you said. You have to put this on an Archon, and he has to probably go in a Cabalite warrior unit, so they're less durable, and you probably don't want to spend quite so many stratagems on them. Yeah, that's cool, though.
I agree.
So the Art of Pain, Adrian. The Drukhari model only. In your command phase, if the bearer's on the battlefield, gain a pain token.
I like this.
Yeah, 100%.
This is good because the thing is, pain tokens is a strong mechanic, but it is going to be dependent upon your opponent's army. So if you're going into Knights, first of all, you have a problem. Second of all, they don't have many units to die.
Yeah.
So you need a way to control this and kind of generate this economy regardless of who you're playing, and this gives you a bit of control for that.
This one, for me, is an auto-take. This is the first one I would put on the list if I was playing Drukhari every time.
Yep.
Just because it's leading into the army mechanic, there's no downside.
Exactly.
You gain an extra set of rerolls every turn.
I love it.
There's no reason not to take it.
No.
Right? This is solid.
100%.
Cool. So data sheets, right?
Data sheets.
If you did watch yesterday's stream, you'll realise we don't actually go through all the data sheets because we would in fact be here until October. But we can give you kind of an overview of data sheets in the whole. Drukhari is one of those armies where I feel like they did an okay job.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like there's anything that's just a flat never take specifically. I don't necessarily think there's anything that's a definite auto include.
Yep.
There's a couple of things, like me personally, I would have liked to seen Lilith with precision, for example.
Yeah.
I felt like it would have been cool, but that might have been too much because she has a bucket load of attacks.
It's ridiculous.
She has so many attacks with fights first and poison 2+ infantry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Awesome. But actually, I don't feel like there's any major standouts to me for Drukhari. I do feel like the strongest build, however, would tend to lean itself into like Venom spam, lots of MSU units,
exactly,
and lots of Dark Lances.
I definitely agree. I think Cabal is the big winner here. You have to take your squads in 10, which is a big downside, but as you're mentioning, Venoms now have the ability to basically combat squad, which lets you split the squads up. In fact, what it lets you do is it lets you have 2 types of Cabal squads. One with all the special weapons, that's super killy, and you can put that in the Venom. Another one that has no special weapons, and it's just super easy to trade with. And that's awesome to be able to do that. You know?
I can actually genuinely see people taking like near enough 6 squads of Cabal Warriors, 6 Venoms, putting all the special weapons in all the Venoms and just keeping the inventory at the tabletop to trade, hold objectives, that kind of stuff. And I feel like that's already a strong core. You then start adding in some Ravagers, even Raiders with more infantry units in them, with Dark Lances. I think you have a solid army, even if you're not making the best use. And here's the other problem I have. And we talked about this a little bit with Tau. But the detachment they gave you, I feel like was the wrong one to pick for an index. I don't know if what we're going to see when the Drukhari Codex eventually comes, if you're going to see a Witch cult based or a Cabal cult based or a Homunculus cult based. And perhaps the reason why they picked this one is because, like, well, I don't want to punish people that are Cabal players, I don't want to punish people that are Homunculus players by giving you a Witch cult based attachment. But I'd like to think that there could have been another detachment that didn't require you to kind of take all 3 to make it work.
Yeah, that's fair.
But, because I also feel like at the moment, looking at the data sheets, the Cabal is probably the strongest build. There is some cool stuff in the Covens, though.
There is, yes. So for me, one of the standouts in Covens is the Chronos, which is the unit that gives you the ability to regenerate your pain tokens on a 4+ if you use it nearby. That, for me, makes it almost automatic to take 1 to 2 Chronos in every list. This army has amazing shooting. Ravagers are criminally undercosted, and so Chronos are kind of able to sort of keep up with them and to kind of hang back and like refund those pain tokens. And again, we're trying to make sure that you're not reliant on always killing enemy units to get it. So that's a standout for them for sure.
Yeah.
I think witches are a little bit underpowered, and it sucks you have to take them in squads of 10. and Incubi kind of took a hit, but like Scourge are awesome, Cabal are awesome, the transports are awesome.
Yeah.
Overall, I really like this book. I think it's stronger than people think. I think it's going to be fun to play. I'm excited to see more of it.
For me, Drukhari is a solid middle tier. Like it's B tier, it's flat in the middle. There's nothing terrible about it. There's nothing overwhelmingly outstanding about it. I think they're solid. They're going to be fun without being oppressive. I quite like the book. I'm a big fan.
It's well done.
They did a good job here on the whole. Like I said, I think there's some narrative choices they could have made slightly differently. They could have made it a little bit more accessible to people that are trying to play Drukhari without having to try and tie them into all three different sort of sub-factions that sit within Drukhari. But I still like it. I'm still a fan. Yeah. Anyway, we'll jump into chat quickly if anyone's got anything to say about Drukhari. Zena first. Zena, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Look at that. If you have, at any point on any of these streams, by the way, been gifted a membership, we are running a giveaway in Discord until Friday. Okay, so for the lowly fee of £4 extra after you've been gifted a membership, you can upgrade your membership to Jarl tier. I'll give you a word of warning. If you do that and you don't cancel it after the fact, it will automatically renew each month. Yeah. I'm hoping you don't cancel it, obviously. But if you do pay that £4 to upgrade your membership to Jarl tier and you go into Discord, into the council area, which will unlock once you've linked your YouTube account to your Discord account, you can press a little button on the giveaway bot that we have inside Discord. It will enter you into that giveaway, and you could win a combat patrol box of your choice that I will ship to you. And if you were the winner of last month, I'm sorry I haven't done that yet, but I'll do it when I get home. When I say I'm not working Sunday, Monday, I'm going to be working Sunday, Monday. That's going to happen.
No,
I will get that to you very, very soon. But we do give a combat patrol box away every single month. It used to be, here, fun fact, it used to be supported by Element. They used to give us the combat patrol box to send. Oh. They had to stop that. Just stock issues from GW. So now I just pay for it out of my own pocket.
Wow. Brutal.
That's mine.
Let us know which combat patrol you would pick.
And now I am, in fact, paying for it out of my own pocket. I would appreciate more Jarls. Brian, thank you for the 10. You're not my supervisor, Liam. I'll super chat if I want to. Still looking at Votan models at work. Despite the rules, I have a feeling the poorer performing factions will get love on cards points. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
GW are, contrary to popular belief, not completely oblivious to what's going on in the community.
What?
They're not oblivious to what people are talking about. They're not oblivious to how people are feeling about certain factions. I can go as far as to say they're like the Eye of Sauron.
Okay.
They are always watching.
Yeah.
Someone somewhere is always watching.
Oh, 100%. They definitely.
100%.
Yeah,
I know that for a fact, right? Anybody who thinks they just chuck it out, they don't care. You're gravely mistaken. They do care. They want the game to be as balanced as possible. They want it to be as equal as possible, and they want everyone to have as much fun as possible, because that's how they make more money. Because everyone's having that experience. They sell more model kits, they sell more rulebooks, they sell more codexes. Everybody has more fun. They gain more customers. People bring their friends in. So it must make sense. They are always watching. Votan, I would always urge anybody out there, and I've always said this. Don't meta chase unless you have just this desire to be a competitive player.
Yep.
Pick what you like and what's cool. And in 6, 7, 8 years ago, if you had a terrible codex, I'm sorry, you're going to fucking suffer for a few years.
Yeah, right.
But nowadays, you're not going to suffer for all that long before they start trying to bring you back up in line with everybody else.
Exactly. And you want to be ready for that, right? You don't want to be like, okay, now my army's interesting to play. Now I need to build it and paint it and stuff. And everything. We've seen this enough times. Everything comes back around again, even the old models and all that stuff. Like, if you like the models first, that's the most important thing.
You have to realize from the start of 10th edition, we're starting at a flat 0 data set right now.
Yep.
They have no information. They have no events that run with 10th edition with all the rules and points out. So what I will say for those Death Guard, AdMech, Votan players out there, don't expect to fix next week.
No.
Because it's not going to happen. They need to see the data first to see if they are in fact as bad as everybody thinks they are. I mean, let's be clear, if they're as bad as Adrian and I think they are, ultimately.
Frankly.
And if we're right, if they are that bad, and that data starts to filter through, and they do their MetaWatch articles, and Stu tells us how great the game is still, at some point they're going to go, this is a problem, because the win percentage is so incredibly low, and that is also, they also look at obviously how many players are playing the factions, which is also an indicator as to how good or bad a faction is. Hey, look, suddenly we've got another 1 million Eldar players, and no one's playing Death Guard, is an indicator in itself that Death Guard isn't a great codex. They will fix it. So if you're looking at Votan models because you think they're cool, Brian, keep doing it. Keep doing it and build them and paint them and have fun with them. And at some point, they probably will be addressed and they'll probably get better, or everything else gets toned down. At some point, you'll try and be pulled into what Stu calls that Goldilocks zone, between 45 and 55% win range, win percentage. I would encourage anyone to keep the rule of cool and pick the things you like. Okay?
Definitely.
Michael Cody, thank you for the 2.
Oh.
Didn't say anything though. Okay.
That's surprising for Michael Cody.
Lewis, thank you for the gifted. Nordos, thank you for the gifted. Darius, thank you for the 30. Keep up the good work, guys. You're a hero. Thanks for hanging out with us. And Equity, we've done that one. And Tyler, thank you. Drenga Liam, fun game against Bridger last night. It was so much fun, Adrian.
It was awesome.
It was so much fun.
And very, very close, too.
It was, yeah. I was scared of Chaos Knights.
The moment that he started doing Bridger things and just rolling 4s, I was like, this is going to be very interesting.
He rolled, like, Joe does that to me as well.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Hey, Joe, you've got 63 saves to make it 4+. He's like, okay. And he rolls and I'm like, oh. You made all of them.
And it's worse because it's always like that. It's nothing fancy. They're just like, all right, 4 up.
Yeah.
4 up. And you're like pulling your hair out and you're like, what can I do? And they're just like, oh, 4 up. And you're like, ah!
Thanks for doing it, Tyler. Anyway, yeah, cool. That's it. We actually caught up. They're not
amazing.
Not so keen today.
Well, they're probably tired of us now.
They're probably sick of us.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the next.
All right.
All righty. Oh, boy. Here we go.
Oh, my God. I have feelings.
You really?
Those of you
You're like the first person with a feeling about Eldar.
Those of you that have watched the channel from the start, the very first army I ever played a battle report was on the channel. No, go check out the channel. The very first battle report I ever put on the channel was me versus Brom, and it was Ultramarines, his first army, versus Eldar, my first army.
Yeah.
Okay? And I played Eldar for years, and I've always loved Eldar. And as an Eldar player, if any of you have played Eldar for years, you know that being an Eldar player is flat pain. Not because their rules are bad, because their rules are never actually that bad, because you're treated like a Tau player or a ginger stepchild. Everybody hates you.
Yep.
That's how it
true.
works, right? So I had some horrific experiences towards the end of 7th edition when Eldar are super busted, despite the fact that I would arrive at an event with a relatively reasonable list where I tried my hardest not to take the broken shit.
Yeah.
And you walk up to the table against a player who instantly looks like you've just walked in at Christmas and pissed on his kids because he has to play against Eldar. It's horrendous. Unfortunately, they've done it again to us.
Yup.
Now, before we get into the rules, we'll talk about these in just a moment. I actually think there's an easy fix here, but we'll talk about this in just a second, okay? Their army rule is Strands of Fate. This is Miracle Dice on steroids, ultimately, and I don't know what they were thinking here. So Strands of Fate is very, very simple, right? What frustrates me the most is the old Strands of Fate rule was fine.
It was good, it was
and
cool.
if they'd have ported that directly across, this works, okay? Strands of Fate. So, at the start of the battle, you roll 12 dice. And there are ways to change that number. You roll 12 dice. And those results are your Strands of Fate results, right? A 1, a 2, a 3. And they are dice that you can use to substitute in for anything you see on the screen right now. Advanced Battle Shock, Charge, Damage, Hit, Saving Throw, or Wound rolls, okay? If you don't like your 12 Strands of Fate dice, you can actually re-roll them all. You pick all of them up, you discard 1 each time you do a re-roll, and you roll again, and you have 11. If you don't like them, you pick them up, discard 1, roll 10, and you so on and so forth until you end up with a result you're happy with.
Yep.
Now, typically what you're really going to want is 6s. But let's be clear, anything 3 or higher is probably a good dice.
Well, and as we'll touch on data sheets later on, but there's plenty of ways to say, you know what, I don't like this one, I'm just going to make it a 6.
Yeah. So as a mechanic, that seems strong. Miracle dice, not too dissimilar, but generated throughout the battle, seem equally as strong. However, Miracle dice has a restriction they don't have here. And I was surprised at this.
They don't have D weapons.
Well, there's that. But Miracle dice also restrict you to once per phase per unit activating.
Correct.
So if you have a unit of Dominions with Dominions, I think multi-melters, is it? No, Retributors. If you have a unit of Retributors and multi-melters, you could use your 6 dice for one of the damages on the multi-melter, for example. But you had to have hit and wound roll with dice rolls. You can't use any other Miracle dice.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
That's different with Fate dice. So you roll 5 6s in your 12 dice. If you get super lucky and you get above odds, you can then use all of those 6s on, like you could use 2 6s on Overwatch with D cannons. Yep. You can use a 3 and a 4 to wound because they're strength fucking stupid. And then you could, but you could just use 6s to trigger devastating wounds.
Which you'll do.
It's mad. It's mad. And I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah, and you can just completely front load everything and just absolutely destroy your opponent and don't give them a chance to respond.
Yeah, as an army rule, for me personally, it's the strongest army rule in the game.
Oh, 100%.
By a country mile.
Yeah.
And part of that is because of the army rule, but part of that's also because of what it's twinned with in terms of data sheets.
Yep.
The person who wrote this was an Eldar fan or was drunk. There's no other answer for it. It's fucking crazy. So here's the caveat that I'm going to touch on very, very quickly. For me, there's an easy fix.
Yes, I agree.
You restrict this to 1. You do the same as Miracle Dice. If you want to be super harsh with it, because actually, I think you could go a step further.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think you go a step further and be slightly harsher than Miracle Dice is simply because Sisters don't have access to the same units that Eldar have access to.
They also have to generate them when their units die.
Yeah.
They don't get them all at once.
But they don't have access to Wraith Knights, so they don't have access to D cannons. and things like that. So for me, you could go as far as to say you get one per phase.
Yeah, you could actually do that.
I think
it sounds harsh, but I like it.
Yeah,
100%.
I don't think that would be a massive problem. You know, you're talking shooting phase, fight phase. There's 10 fight phases essentially because you've got both turns. You've got a whole. Overwatch is a separate phase. There's plenty of opportunity to use your fate dice.
Yeah.
But you could go one per phase, and I still think this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely agree.
So that army rule. This
detachment.
Detachment rule.
Oh. I don't want to talk about the less rerolls edition.
Every unit from your army can reroll a hit roll, reroll a wound roll. Again, not a terrible rule, not incredibly strong in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But we took this away from factions in previous editions, like Salamanders, because it was too strong.
We took it away from Eldar.
Because it's too strong.
We took it away from Orcs, for God's sake.
Because it's too strong. And then we go, hey, not only are we going to give you all these fate dice, you can do what the fuck you want whenever you want.
Yeah.
We're now going to give you the rerolls that we thought were too strong in previous editions, in an edition that we're trying to make less killy.
It's so strong.
And then what we're going to do, and I'm going to skip forward a little part, is then we're going to do data sheets like Fire Prisms, and the Fire Prism data sheet says you've got 2 shots that are incredibly strong, and guess what? The Fire Prism lets you reroll a hit roll and reroll a wound roll.
So they're actually just rerolling everything all the time.
So Fire Prisms, if they fire their strongest shot, reroll hits and wounds.
That's if you choose to not just use fate dice.
Of course. But you don't have. But then again, you don't have to use your fate dice and Fire Prisms necessarily. So you go, here's a whole unit where my army mechanic doesn't matter really because I reroll hits and wounds, which means I can use my fate dice on other things.
Yup.
It's mad.
It's too much.
It's
too much.
Fucking stupid.
On top of currently at time of recording, very cheap units. You know, I think this is at least something where they can fix, which I'm caveating it. But right now, it's ridiculously cheap.
I personally think there's 2 things that need to happen to Eldar. There need to be certain points cost increases on certain units.
Yep.
And I think they need to limit the fate dice mechanic slightly. It's going to upset people. I've got my new army rule, and they're going to vote on it. They're going to nerf it before it comes out, maybe, or just after it comes out.
Yeah.
I think they are. I think if you don't think they're going to change this, you're slightly deluded.
Yeah.
I think this is going to get changed. Okay. Yeah. There's an interesting extra piece here as well. Corsairs and travelling players. I read this wrong to start with, okay? And I was a bit pissed off about Harlequins. I have a full Harlequins army, and I read this as I can only take 25% Harlequins in my Eldar army.
Yeah.
And I completely missed the fact that blacked out word right at the start is if your faction is Drukhari.
Oh.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we can still take a full Harlequins army.
Yeah.
And we get fate dice. And we get the reroll hit and wounds.
Okay.
Right? That's sweet. But if you take a Drukhari army that we just talked about, you can ally in Harlequins now.
Which is super fun and flavorful.
Nice. Yeah,
traveling players has always kind of been a thing, right?
Yeah, big fan of that.
Yeah, and you kind of have the same restriction with Yunari, which also kind of makes sense. That's always been a thing. So that's how they're handling it right now.
Yeah. Oh my god, we get a Chaos comment bomb from Mini Wargaming Dave.
What's up, Mini Wargaming Dave?
It's like we're one big YouTube family.
I know.
It's amazing.
It's craziness.
Love you, Dave. Miss you.
Dave, when are you coming over?
I miss you pretty. He came over to the UK, and
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to go and see him, and I was so sad.
That was very rude of you.
Hey, I mean,
If you come over to the US, we'll see you, Dave.
I wanted to come and see him. I wanted to make the time. I was too busy for Dave.
No.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Ain't
I should
nobody
never
too busy
really
for
be too
Dave.
busy for Dave.
Yeah, exactly.
I love
What's
you.
up? Welcome, everybody. Hey.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, you legends, but more importantly, make sure you hit the subscribe button on Titans as well.
Aw, thanks.
Because they're also awesome.
And Mini Wargaming.
And, well, I mean, I hope they are.
They probably already have.
Yeah.
Let's be
That's already a
honest.
thing.
We all have.
Okay, right, cool. So let's jump into their... We just get the stratagems? Are they doing enhancements first?
Oh, weird.
They do enhancements first, then stratagems?
Is that...
Did you page down too fast, Adrian?
I got excited? No.
No.
This is it.
It's a different way around.
We can do strats.
Where are the strats?
Wait, what the heck?
Oh.
I was like, that's one way to nerf them.
Just different. Yeah, just get rid of all the strats.
Yeah, we're going to keep the same format, which is strats. Weird.
Yeah. We'll do strats first because that's what we're doing for everything. Okay.
Totally.
Okay. If you guys have joined, by the way, and you've come across from Chaos Dave, and you get gifted things like memberships, because I think people will start. Often when we get raided, people start gifting memberships to try and catch people.
Oh, cool.
Make sure you join the Discord. Come and hang out with us. You need to be a member for that, all that stuff. If any of you super chat, because Dave tells people to do that sort of stuff as well. Thank you so much. We will get to it, I promise you. But I'm trying not to break the flow too much.
Yeah, makes sense.
Cool. Stratagem. So feigned retreat for 1 CP. Okay, in your movement phase, just after an Aeldari unit from your army makes a fallback move, and that unit then can declare a charge and shoot, even though it fell back for 1 CP.
It's very strong. It's very strong.
So you could argue that some of the ways you tie up Aeldari or make them slightly worse is by
Yeah.
tagging them in melee.
Yeah.
Guess what? No, 1 CP, I'm still good.
Very, very powerful. Previously, you had to pick one or the other, and it would cost more CP if you did both. This just got flat better. It's very strong. I love it. It's just great.
Yeah, it's just good.
It removes one of the theoretical downsides. Fire and Fade, as we just mentioned, we looked at Strike and Fade on Drukhari.
Yeah.
This is the same exact thing. 2 CP at the end of your shooting phase. You can make a full move with the unit, anything in the army. Very strong. I think this one is stronger with Eldar than it is with Drukhari. For example, we talked about the fire prisms that have the inbuilt targeting ability now, where basically you can have more than one fire prism, and your 2 fire prisms, around the corner can see the 1 fire prism that's popping out, and as long as they can see it, they can shoot through it. So you only have one that's exposed, and once that one shoots, you just fire and fade back, and now they're all hidden.
Yeah.
So very, very strong, given, once again, the units you can put it on.
Fire and Fade is strong in Drukhari. It's stronger in Eldar because of that exact reason. Because of the units that you can put it on and what you can do with those units. And at the moment, for me personally, if you're an Eldar player, and I wouldn't expect this to say the same, if you're not thinking about at least 2, maybe 3 fire prisms on the list at 125 points each.
Criminal.
Okay, fire prisms in this army with these rules and these stratagems could be 180 points, and I would still take at least 1, if not 2.
Oh, 100%.
125 points is criminally cheap.
It's amazing. Like, compare them to a Lancer, which is also undercosted, 145 points. This one has Fly. It has 2 shots. They're both very strong. You might say, oh, but the Lancer gets rerolls. Well, guess what? The Fire Prism actually gets more rerolls.
It does get more rerolls.
The faction and the inbuilt.
If you choose to roll, and you don't just use the fate dice.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
okay. Good strategy.
Great strat.
So there's 2 solid so far.
Oh, this looks familiar.
Matchless agility, single CP, 1 Aeldari unit from your army that has not been selected to move this phase in your movement phase until the end of the phase. If your unit advanced, do not make an advance roll for it. Instead, you just add 6 inches.
I love that they included this strat. This is one of my favorite abilities across any of the Warhammer games. In Sigmar, you can do this. Spend a CP, auto advance. It is such a wildly powerful ability. Warhammer is all about movement. And again, as we've seen, the reason that fate dice are so strong is because there's no randomness. You don't have to roll the dice. And guess what this does? You don't have to roll the dice.
Which is weird, because they nerfed it previously. Because it used to be flat 6 inches, and they changed it to D6.
Yep.
It's D6 inch advance, and if you want to use matchless agility after you just got 6 inches.
Right.
Then they nerfed it. The matchless just gave you a reroll in your advance roll.
It was, no, it was the battle focus, wasn't it? In it?
I can't remember. But
it was a auto battle focus. They changed it to auto battle focus and then changed it to reroll the D6. So they almost completely removed it, and now they're like, it's back the way it was originally. Very, very strong.
Yeah.
Frankly, that's maybe when they wrote this.
Yes. Yeah. So 3 strats, 3 very good stratagems so far.
That's really good.
Every single one usable. Every single one feeds into what Aeldari want to be doing. We then have Blazestorm for a CP in your shooting phase, a unit from your army that has not selected to shoot this phase until the end of the phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack on a critical wound, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 2.
Ooh.
I actually like this. Okay, here's where I'm going to be less critical of overpowered rules and more positive.
Yeah.
So Blazestorm previously existed on every single shuriken weapon all the time without having to spend any CP.
Yeah.
And what that meant was all of your shuriken weapons were typically AP1, and if you rolled a 6, if you rolled a critical wound, you got an additional AP2. Slight change of the Avenger Shuriken Catapult, which went from 2 to 4, but nonetheless, it just existed on all these weapons all the time. They've now taken it off all the weapons. They have kept their base AP1, which is interesting because it means that you've got Guardians with AP1 weapons, and it seems like we have seen a significant reduction in AP across the whole edition, but they don't get that guaranteed AP3 on a 6 unless you're spending a CP for it.
Yeah.
I think this was the right way to go.
I like it. And I also, Shuriken went from being Bladestorm to sustained hits, which for me is much more flavorful. They're firing literal shurikens, or like ninja stars if you're not familiar. And the idea of them getting extra shots on 6s is kind of representing them like bouncing off things and flying everywhere and having all these like shards of metal flying at you. So that feels, again, much more narrative.
Yep.
And this is a cool way to unlock that other part of like, oh, when they finally like are able to like nick in between like armor plates. So it's flavorful, it's interesting. It's good.
Yeah, this is just a solid stratagem that's not too busted. It makes sense, and I actually prefer the change from the previous edition personally.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, Phantasm.
Oh, God.
This is a legendary strat. 1 command point. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot what it changed to. This used to be a redeploy for your army. Now, for 1 command point, at the end of your opponent's move phase, you can select an Aeldari unit, any of them. You can make a normal move of up to 7 inches. This is very, very strong. End of your opponent's movement phase. This is going to say, okay, you know what? Your opponent can try to pin in these Eldar, set yourself up, prepare for your charges, for your shooting, and the Eldari just say, nope, I'm going to move 7 inches, mess up all your plans, get behind line of sight, move away from your charges, all that stuff. Incredibly powerful ability.
It's mad. A couple of the other unit abilities that we've seen that can do this in 10th edition have to roll a d6. They can move that far away.
Yeah,
This is just flat 7 inches.
Flat 7. Space Marines, it's a d6, or if you're really lucky in the right doctrine, it's a flat 6.
Can we just very, 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 very quickly, by the way, scroll back up to the stratagem, which was the auto advance, but not an auto advance. Eldari from your army that has not been such as a move until the end of the phase. If your unit advances, do make an advance roll for it instead until the end of the phase. Yeah, okay. So people are saying it's not an advance, you just add it to the movement, but it says if your unit advances.
Yeah, this
so it is an advance. People say, oh, you can fire any weapon because you add it to the move.
This is an old argument that has never held up because this has always been the case, and that is not how this works. If you look at the way that advance is written, it's written exactly like this.
Yeah.
So 100% does not work that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a fan. Okay, so Phantasm is incredibly strong.
So strong.
So 5 stratagems, 5 strong stratagems, also with the best army rule in the game and a very solid detachment rule.
Yeah.
But lightning fast reaction, surely this is going to be a terrible one that requires very unique circumstances to use on only a specific unit on the 3rd day of the 4th month of the year.
You would think.
Oh, wait, no. No. This is just the same as the Drukhari one with a slightly different name. You get -1 to hit against ranged attacks or melee unless you're a Wraith construct.
Amazing. 1 command point. So strong.
So all of the stratagems are good. So best army rule of the game.
Yep.
Very strong detachment rule. 6 incredible stratagems so far.
It's amazing. This is potentially a problem package. Surely the enhancements aren't as good.
Huge problem package. Now, I don't like the fact that the tournament, I think it was in Germany, banned Eldar before we'd all seen the rules. Specifically, I would suggest that they probably had somehow seen them if they made that decision to ban them. The reason why I didn't like the fact that they banned them is because they switched it to 10th edition last minute and then banned them.
Yep.
And that's a sore subject for people that have booked accommodation or travel or whatever.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's why I think that's bad. In terms of actually making the decision based on the rules, we're starting to see why. And in that regard, I don't necessarily blame them.
I still blame them.
No, but so this is what I'm saying. From a perspective of a player, say I'm an Eldar player in 9th edition, and I book this event in Germany, and I book my travel, and I book my accommodation, and I spend my time painting my one army, because I only have one army, because I'm not particularly wealthy, I don't do it as a YouTube channel for a living or any of that kind of stuff. I have one army, spend all this time painting this army, I'm ready to go to an event, I've spent all this money, I've booked everything up, and then they go, hey, this 9th edition tournament that you booked a ticket to, we're changing the terms, we're changing it to 10th edition, and we're also now flat banning our Aeldari because we've made the decision to change it to 10th edition.
Yep.
I have a problem with that, and I think that's bad, personally.
Yep.
Sorry to the TOs. I think that you doing that to people is a bit of a dick move, because unless you're turning around at all these people that have done that and gone, if you're one of these people that's now affected by this and you don't have access to another army, we'll refund everything for you. I can imagine they're not doing that. I can't imagine these kind of events people are particularly profitable. But I imagine they're not doing it. So that's a shitty move. That's a horrendous feels bad. And I think that's a bad decision. If you looked at those Eldar rules and thought we're going to ban Eldar, then you shouldn't have changed it to 10th edition personally. However, when we're looking at all these rules stacked up on each other,
they are going to be a problem for sure.
Yeah.
But you got to just give it a second to see and think about it, and you have to contemplate.
Here's my other problem with banning Eldar.
Yeah.
How do GW make decisions on what they change?
They need data.
They need data.
Yeah.
Oh, Eldar aren't a problem with that tournament.
Nobody's playing them.
Nobody won. Nobody won with Eldar. No problem.
Exactly.
They're clearly not too strong.
Yeah.
So that particular event is now giving bad data about Eldar. In fact, I would go as far as to say all the data about that tournament is null and void.
Oh, 100%.
Because Eldar aren't included.
100%.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
So I would have let them play and be like, hey, they came first, second, and third. This is a problem, GW.
Yeah.
But at least you can now use that data to go, oh, fuck, we have an issue here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So,
as it is, none of it's valid.
Right, should we look at some enhancements, Mr. Adrian?
Yes, this is the Phoenix Gem. It's a classic Aeldari item.
What's this voice?
I don't know. It's a little bit of a tactics voice, I think. So this is for Aeldari model, so that's pretty specific. Has to be in your army. Basically, the new version of this is when that model is destroyed on a 2+, it gets back up out of engagement range with full wounds remaining.
What?
Woof! We've gone through many versions of this, most of which have involved doing mortal wounds. Sometimes you had to wound someone to resurrect the model. Now it's just 2+, no mortal wounds. You get back up full wounds. Very strong, especially since we have some strong characters, things like the Autarch that have lone operative, that are really hard to shoot. So if you put this on an Autarch, for example, by the time you actually run up, punch them in the face, kill them, they get back up, then they run away, and then you're dead. So
yeah, it's really good.
It's pretty good.
It is really good. Weeping Stones. Each time the Bearer's unit destroys an enemy unit, roll a d6 and add it to your fate dice pool.
You thought you had 15. Well, and I say 15 because you're going to include Eldrad and
You're
get
going to
+3.
include Eldrad. There's no reason not to include Eldrad.
You have 15. You thought that was it, but wait, there's more.
There's more.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, solid.
It's solid.
Like, I feel like Fate dice in their current state with Fate dice.
Yeah.
That's an auto take for me. That enhancement.
Definitely.
I want to bring that in. So you've then got a psycho model in your command phase. You can select one dice in your Fate dice pool and re-roll it. Add it back to your Fate dice pool, displaying the result you just rolled.
So the ones, the twos, the threes, you're going to slowly, over the course of the game, convert them into something else, hopefully.
Narratively super cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Incredibly strong.
Auto take.
Yeah.
It's almost like, why is this an enhancement in army roll? Because you just take it. Fate's Messenger, Aeldari model only. Once per turn, after making a hit, a wound, or a saving throw for a model in the various unit, you can treat the result as an unmodified roll of a 6. Now, outside of Eldar, this would sound completely busted and crazy strong. Inside of Eldar, it's strong, but it's nothing that your army doesn't already have on... Oh my god, it works on the whole unit. It works on the whole unit!
I was looking at you like, what? No, this is crazy.
Well, I was like, cool, it's an Autarch, whatever. No, but you can put it on anything in the
model in the bearer's unit.
Why would they do that?
And not only that, what basically it's done is, it's giving you a free fate dice.
Yes, I know.
It gives you a free fate dice.
Oh my god, that's so good.
The other thing is, not only does it give you a free fate dice, it gives you that free fate dice after you've seen the result of the dice roll.
Can Spear Seers join Wraith Lords with Bright Lances?
So you don't have, you don't have to roll the dice. Like, you don't have to go, oh, I don't know whether I'm going to roll it. I'm going to use my fate dice to make sure I don't have to roll it.
Change it out to the fact.
You go, I'm going to roll it. Oh, I didn't get what I wanted, and now I'm going to change it to a 6. So I'll roll my hit roll. Oh, I hit. Cool. I don't have to use it now. I'll roll my wound roll. Oh, I didn't wound. I'm going to use it now.
Why is it not just the bear?
This is so fucking good.
A hit, a wound, or a save.
It's mad.
That's really dumb.
Yep, it's mad.
So basically, the biggest problem here is you want all 4 of these. Funny enough, the one that automatically gets your character up on a 2+ is probably the one you drop.
Probably the one I wouldn't take.
That's hilarious.
If I'm honest with you.
That's an underpowered ability compared.
Yeah, that's the worst one. So what we've seen so far is, on most of these ones that we've looked at so far, is you and I have gone, that's probably the worst one. I'm probably not going to take that one. And it's a relatively easy decision on the whole. This isn't an easy decision.
No.
They're all good.
They're all good.
So we've got the best army rule in the game, a solid detachment rule. I don't know if it's the best detachment rule in the game, but when paired with the data sheets and the army rule, it's incredible. We've got 6 incredibly good stratagems, 4 incredible enhancements. So maybe the data sheets bring it all down.
Surely.
But no, it doesn't.
They do not.
It gets worse.
Oh my god.
The data sheets currently are fucking bonkers. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this or not, but before you guys got the data sheets as PDFs and the points that came out on Friday, it was worse. It was worse. So when the index first got sent to us alongside the points months ago, D cannons could come in units of 3 and with 55 points a model.
That's pretty good. So I know what my first 450 points is.
We did some experimenting here, right? And Bridget played John, and John took 6 D cannons, not 9, 6 D cannons, and tabled Bridger without really using anything else in his army. It's mad. It was mad. It's still pretty mad.
It's still pretty mad, honestly.
Now they've restricted them to units of 1, and they've gone up to 85 points. And I still think I would want 2 to 3 D cannons in my list, even at that point.
It's still not auto-include, 100%.
The reason why that was so mad previously, because we still have access to all of the famous Eldar things. So a Farseer on a jet bike still gives you guide for reroll all hits in a unit. You still have access to Doom. Right. Right.
All right, let's do this.
Okay, I'm going to put that down for a second.
Let's go.
Eldrad Ulthwan is... You never leave home without him in an Eldari list now, and I'll explain why, chat. So he automatically gives you 3 extra fate dice right from the start.
Amazing.
So you start with 15, not 12, okay? Basically, you get full fate dice rerolls 3 times before you get to your original 12 if you want to, okay? Not to mention the fact that we've already seen ways with enhancements of gaining even more fate dice, okay? Then he has access to his psychic power Doom. Eldar being Eldar, masters of the psychic, GW have typically across all of the psychic powers in 10th edition said, you roll a dice and on a 2+ your psychic power goes off. On a 1, the unit takes D3 mortal wounds. not Eldar.
No.
There is no mortal wounds.
I mean, they have the ghost helms.
If you roll a 1, it fails, but you take no mortal wounds.
Yeah.
There's no downside to trying your psychic power.
I'm okay with that.
Doom. So Doom used to be that you targeted an enemy unit and all of your core and character units that targeted that unit got to reroll wounds. It was incredibly strong as it was before. That would probably be more balanced now, although we would remove the core and character restriction because the toughness bracket has gone up so highly. So leave it the same. No. They changed it.
It's not good enough.
So now every single thing from your army that targets the unit that you've doomed is +1 to wound. Now when you pair that in with the increased toughness bracket, it's just flat better.
Yeah. It's wildly powerful.
We talk about Farseers. I talked about Farseer on Skyrunner Jetbike, who gives you access to Guide, which for me personally is another auto-take in an Eldar list with Guide. Well, less so now D-Cannons are a single model, more so when they were 3 models. But the other thing that Farseers can do, if you're within range of a unit that you're using a fate dice of, you just change that result to a 6.
Auto 6.
So those 1s and 2s that are in your pool, if you're not re-rolling them with your enhancement that you've taken in your army, and you have a Farseer nearby, you go, I'll use the 1, but it now counts as a 6.
Yeah.
Now, I'll explain why this is a problem currently, chat, okay? Because at the moment, D-Cannons, for example, D-Cannons are currently the biggest point of contention for me. However, there is another to take into consideration, and that's Wraith Knights.
Yep, for the same reason.
Overwatch, as a change to 10th edition, as we all know, means that you can fire Overwatch in the movement or charge phase, basically any time an enemy unit finishes their normal move, etc., etc.
Exactly.
Okay, so you move within 24 inches of a Wraith Knight or a D-Cannon, and that player is sat there with a Farseer nearby and a bucket load of fate dice.
They pushed up their glasses.
Okay. You're just going to get killed because all of these D-weapons all have devastating wounds. So, you like Overwatch is a problem for most armies because it's 6s. That's not a problem if you have a pool of fate dice that will contain a bunch of 6s. So me personally, I'm probably going to re-roll them once or twice with Eldar in my list until I can get to 3, 4, 6s in my bucket. If I keep a couple of Farseers nearby, that's essentially the equivalent to 5 to 6 6s. That means that I can guarantee I hit and guarantee I wound and do mortal wounds. It's madness. Guardians generate more fate dice.
And have an inbuilt AP1.
Generate more fate dice as well, though.
Yeah.
So you
for standing on objectives. So
just
you're going to guarantee at least take 1, sit on the back.
yeah. I reckon minimum 2 units of Guardians. You sit them on objectives. You're generating fate dice. We've seen enhancements where you can re-roll fate dice.
Yeah.
We've seen other things where you get to generate more fate dice.
Yeah.
You've got 15 fate dice from Eldrad. You've got D-Cannons. You've got basically old D weapons, essentially, because it's just take damage and there's nothing you can do to stop it because it's all mortal wounds.
Yeah.
There's some factions that stand up slightly better against this. Custodians have a 4-up for pen against mortal wounds. Okay? I still don't think that's going to really help them that much, though, because of the amount of damage you can do.
Yeah, and they're losing a lot when they lose their armor as well. You know, and then they're very, very elite, and D-Cannons love elite units, you know?
If we talk about units in the Codex, the only units that really took a big nerf for me personally was Harlequins.
I'm going to take that Harlequin.
But they were, so Harlequins
Across
lost...
the board, basically.
They lost Rising Crescendo, they lost Flip Belts, they lost Hollow Suits, they lost basically everything.
They lost damage on their melee weapons, their special weapons. They can't advance and charge, fall back and charge anymore. They lost AP on their melee weapons as well. They got their 4+ invuln back, which is super cute. Their fusion pistols, lower strength, D3 damage, and to get in melt range, you have to be within 3 inches, Liam, rather than 6. They got done so dirty.
Yeah, I mean,
so
the 4-up invulnerable save is quite important because obviously fate dice you can now use with Harlequins. So they don't have their own separate luck dice for anymore. You now have fate dice,
that's
which
cute.
means 4 pluses you're automatically passing your invulnerable save.
It's nice.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
For me personally, I would not be to make my Eldar who are already turbo strong and supercharge them even more. I'm thinking about chucking a couple of units of bikes in, a solitaire, and maybe a Death Jester.
The bikes are genuinely amazing. I will say that the Skyweavers, because they have the crazy combination of having those haywire shots that are 3 flat damage with anti-vehicle 3. And devastating wounds. That is the combo. Anti and devastating wounds is insane. So you're going to be doing a ton of mortal wounds to vehicles. They're very, very strong. Everything else, Death Jester is cute. In fact, the Death Jester kind of inbuilt has the rule that in the previous edition was absolutely insane, like the crazy exploding 6s, and of course you can give him the upgrade to make one of them an automatic 6, which is cute, and it's still like wildly underpowered compared to the rest of the stuff. So I am a Harlequin player. They are basically my main faction when I played at tournaments, and they are in a real rough spot. We'll get through it. I have hope that we'll get a cool Harlequin detachment, and that'll unlock some new things. But
so I'm also a big Harlequin fan. I have my own Harlequin army.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit sad by this. Having said that, at the moment I'm in a place where I'm like, I'm gonna put Eldar on stream so I can show you guys what these things can do. And I'm actually kind of really fucking hoping. I'm really hoping. And it feels really weird for me to say this. I'm hoping they get nerfed before I try and put them on stream, because I'm worried about what it's going to look like as a game.
Yeah.
Now, we did showcase them at the weekend on the Titans 10th tournament.
We did.
Here at the weekend, and they played into both Custodes and
Chaos
Space Marines. And Grey Knights. So they didn't play Custodes, did they? They played Grey Knights and Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah. Great games.
Yeah, it was interesting. We didn't go nuts with the Eldar list on purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
We showcased some of the cool stuff, but we didn't go nuts on purpose.
Yeah, it's not
Eldar are an incredible faction, but I'm really sorry, Eldar players. At the moment,
it sucks.
You're going to continue to be hated by the whole community because of GW's rules writing. And this, for me, when we talk about the categories S, A, B, C, F, these almost sit above S tier. They're so good. And in the hands of a competent player, because they do have a slight problem with fragility.
They do.
They have... They're still elves, they're still toughness 3, they still have, they're not the toughest in the world, but in the hands of a competent player, you don't beat them.
Yeah.
You just don't.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Yeah.
Makes me sad. This is a weird thing to say. Makes me sad that they're so good.
It makes me, we're both Eldar players. It was also my first army, and I've been, for a while in the back of my mind, like, I kind of want to come back to my BL10 and do up some nice BL10. It's a new edition. It would be a great time to do it, but right now it's just like, I feel bad about Eldar, and I don't want to do it. So that project is going to get pushed because it just feels bad right now. So
Yeah.
Anyways,
right, in the chat.
About that.
See if people got some thoughts about Eldar. We're going to jump in chat right now. So if you've got thoughts about Eldar, now's the time to chuck it in there on a postcard. Weeman, thank you for the gifted membership. You're a hero. Tyler, thank you for the tea. Can we have Adrian say one bad word?
Oh, do a swear. Jesus Christ.
That's not a swear.
That's a swear. I just did a swear.
Not a swear. Fucking hell. Sammy Berry, thank you for the 5. Totally like treating fate dice like reverse miracle dice. Count them down from the start. 1 per unit per phase. 1 per phase is too strong of a nerf. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if it is. That's a hard one. Maybe I'm talking about a knee-jerk reaction in terms of 1 per phase. But I think that because of how good the detachment rule is alongside what the units can do themselves, I feel like if you limited it to 1 per phase, which is a monumental nerf compared to where it is now, the faction is still A tier.
Oh,
anyway.
100%, yeah. And I agree. Like, my default reaction would be 1 per unit per phase, but you're not wrong. Like, it's so crazy that, like, you could almost do that, honestly. And it might be necessary.
Yeah. Boris says, thank you for the tea, ignoring balance, sorry, what's your opinion of 10th? I am... So the balance currently is all over the place, and I will defend GW slightly here and say I'm not surprised. They have basically reset the whole thing.
This is more new Warhammer than we've ever had ever. Even in 8th edition, when we got the new indexes, there were no strats, there were no extra warlord traits, nothing. So this is literally the most information that we or they have had at any one time. It's absolutely insane. It's impossible. It's an impossible task.
So in terms of balance, the balance currently isn't the greatest.
Correct.
But you've said ignoring balance. So if I do ignore that balance problems, what do I think of 10th edition? Well, I think that the rules writers were smoking something when they wrote them because they're just not the clearest. And I think that they've done a bad job of clarifying how things work. And I think part of that is down, a lot of that is down to them. Part of that's down to us, because part of us, I think, some of us have been applying 9th edition logic to 10th edition.
Also true.
And we have to be aware of the fact that they are, in fact, 2 entirely different editions. In terms of how the game plays on the tabletop and how I'm enjoying playing the game, I love 10th edition.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this because GW sent me boxes. I'm not saying this because we're affiliated with them. I'm not saying this because we're reviewers. Hopefully you guys now know on the channel that I call a spade, and if I don't like it, I'll tell you that I don't like it. I love 10th edition as a game to play, and I'm really enjoying myself. Again, I played Bridget last night. I had so much fun. I played my World Eaters on Saturday against Adrian. I had so much fun. Played a few games on the channel whilst we were learning the game. Slightly harder because we're learning, still had so much fun. I really like what they're doing with 10th edition, and I think that if this is indicative of the direction they're trying to go, I'm very positive about the next few years of playing this edition.
Yeah, same exact thing. I think it is frustrating right now, all the questions that we all have for them, so the core rules feel a little bit messy.
Yeah.
But once we get past that and putting that aside, I have really been enjoying 10th edition. It's really, it's got me hyped for armies and play styles that I haven't been excited for in a long time. So I'm really positive about it. We just got to get through the birthing period.
Yeah, we do, yeah. Jerry, thank you for the 2. Dave says, hello, comment bomb. Dave's a legend.
Hey, legend.
Draco, thank you for the gifted membership. You're a hero. Kingsbane, thank you for the 10. Hey, guys, love the channel. Quick question on reserves. Is there a limit on how many points you can put into Deep Strike? I know strategic reserves is 25%, but I can't find a limit for normal reserves. The answer is yes and no, which sounds like a shitty answer.
It is.
If you're playing out of the main rulebook, there is no limit to what you can put on Deep Strike reserves. You can do whatever you want. But the second you pick up that mission deck and look through the leaflet, there is then a limit on what you can put in reserves.
Is it 25 or half?
I think it's 50%.
Yeah.
Of total units can go into some kind of reserves.
That's off the top of my head. That's what I believe it is.
I think it's 20. I think it's 50%. But the limit is in the leaflet. So when you guys start getting hold of your Leviathan boxes from Saturday onwards, inside the little mission card box, there's a little leaflet. I cannot tell you how many rules I've missed because I didn't read that fucking leaflet. Because I got the leaflet, I was like, I know how to set up a mission. Go away, leaflet. And then the amount of things that are in there. So for example, and I live on stream on Saturday, I was like, oh, I could bring in my reserve units whenever I want. He's like, no, you can't. So what? So it's in the leaflet. I was like, no, it isn't. Yeah, it is. There it was in the leaflet.
It took us many streams. Chat was like, hey, if you discard a card, you get a CP back. And first we're like, that's not a thing. And then really quickly we're like, okay, it apparently is a thing. We'll play it that way. But it still took us several streams to find out where the rule is written. I would highly encourage you guys, when you get those leaflets, actually, for once, read the entire thing from front to back. Don't make any assumptions, because I've made so many assumptions where it's like, that's it, I've read it, I've blah, blah, blah it. And then it's like, oh, on the back, on the subparagraph, paragraph C, there's a really important rule to read. It's one of those weird times where we actually want to read the whole thing cover to cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the answer is yes, there is a limit, but no, there isn't a limit. It depends on what you're playing. So they did what they did last edition. So to play just any old game of Warhammer, you can do whatever you want with reserves. You can bring them in when you want. You can put as much as you want into Deep Strike, allowing those narrative players, if they want to do a whole drop pod assault narrative scenario, they can do that. Yeah. However, if you're playing with the mission pack, it gives you the restriction inside that pack. Brian, thank you for the 5. I get why the allied units don't get the army keyword, but it feels weird to take these units in most armies unless the data sheet is busted. I think that's the intent.
That's definitely the intent.
Yeah, I think that's on purpose. I think the whole point is that you can use these extra units and you can make your narrative kind of allied detachments that include a knight inside with some guard, etc. But I think the intent is to sort of semi-discourage it. Like, you can do it, but there's a trade-off. So you will get access to these cool weapons, but you're not going to get army benefits for those particular units.
Yeah.
And I think that's the right thing to do.
I agree. We've seen it go too far the other direction, and I know that they wanted to play it safe, and if anything, err on the side of making it not viable and competitive.
Yeah.
Like, if they're going to go a direction, that's what they wanted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Kaldoff, thank you for the gifted. Hero! Dolphin, thank you for the 5. What would you think about only a natural 6 can trigger devastating wounds? Not rerolled, not fate dice, not generated by an effect, just that true natural 6.
That would be awesome.
I think that would be a very good change to the edition.
Because it keeps the drama, too.
I don't think they're going to do it, but I really like it.
Yeah.
Because at the moment there's circumstances where you see people who will roll 10 dice needing 6s, and they have re-rolls, so they pick up everything and they roll them all again, just trying to fish for those 6s. I've done it. If you have access to strong rules, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, of course.
But I like the idea of the first roll, unmodified natural 6 only for devastating.
I think that's very elegant, actually.
Yeah, I like it. I'm a big fan of that one as a change.
And because of the keyword rule, they could do something like that. They could easily just say, by the way, Devastating Wounds does this now.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Yeah. Here's Horace says, Horace, everywhere. Horace, thank you for the 2. Lightning fast avatar. Don't mind if I do.
Oh, let's go.
That's a thing. Red Soul, Sean Hannon, and Belgo, thank you so much for all joining the channel at Hosier tiers. So we have the bottom tier at $1.99 on purpose because I really wanted a low barrier to entry for the community, whilst also keeping a barrier to entry so I don't have people like trolls who will just come in to be arseholes for the sake of it.
Yep.
So thank you so much for choosing to... It's also like our trial tier, right?
Right, yeah.
So as a tier, it doesn't really do anything for us. Once YouTube takes its cut in taxes, it's worth naffle to us. So if you're gonna use it, please try out the Discord, try out the community, see if you like what we do on the channel, and if you do, think about pumping that level up to the next level up, or even the £9 tier, which gives you access to a giveaway. We're super grateful for everybody that does that. But please make sure you use your membership, try it out, and let me know what you think. But thank you so much for joining us. Thomas, thank you for the 5, who says for Chaos Dave. And then Ben, thank you for the 9. I'm crawling walls waiting for Forge World data and points. I'd be happy if they told us when they'll release them. The app is great, by the way. The app came out today.
It's awesome.
You can download it on the App Store right now. And and I have spoken to GW. There are slight mistakes in the app.
Yeah.
Very slight typos and issues. They have suggested that they think that the fixes to these slight issues will be very, very quick.
Yep.
So I've been using the app for over a week now. I've been using it all weekend when people have been playing games. I've been using it whilst we sat here to look up rules. And every time you see me pull my phone out to look at something, I'm not looking at a PDF. I'm literally looking at the app. And it is a very quick, very responsive system. All the lists I've been using over the course of this last 2 weeks, I've been building them on the app.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of it.
It's great.
I really like it. Yeah, the app's really good. Thank you, Dorlan, for gifting 1. Here's Horace, thank you again. Make Devastating Wounds melee only. Fixed. I think I'll do that. I don't know this name. Swedish Corona, but look at this like Viking name.
That's Frederick.
Friedrich, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Hero, tried making
What's
a world
that?
eaters list in the app, could barely fit anything. Are they really that strong? Name reads as Frederick. Oh, he told me.
We've had Frederick and I. We have a long history of getting his name wrong.
I love those runes. That's super cool.
So cool, right?
And from Sweden too, so like it's not like me as a fake Viking. It's like real. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's hard. World Eaters are probably the strongest melee army in the game, but we're talking about it in an edition where melee isn't that great.
Other than Chaos Space Marines, maybe. That's a melee army.
Yeah, and I guess you could consider Custodes as melee.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know.
Considering we've said that nobody can beat them in melee, I think they're the strongest melee faction in the game. Custodes.
I'd like to have a go at them with World Eaters.
Oh, let's go.
At some point.
I don't think you stand a chance.
I don't think I stand a chance, but I'd like to try.
So you can fight on death on a 4+, right?
Yeah.
So just roll 4+. You can,
Just do 4+.
because you will die.
Yeah, because they have all the fights first. Norris, thank you for the gifted. And then the last one before we jump into the next faction, which is Acid Usage. Great. Neurotyrant is a monster who can join a group of infantry, Tyrant Guard. Yeah. Does this mean the squad gets the monster keyword, or does the Neurotype get the infantry keyword? The answer is the unit. Right, this is janky. The answer is that the unit gets both keywords.
Correct.
Okay, so they get both monster and infantry. So if you join those units together, the unit has both keywords. This is important. If the rule that the opponent is using says that when you target a monster unit or an infantry unit, then the rule triggers all the time.
Yeah.
Even if they're targeting the bodyguard unit, which is infantry, if it's anti-monster 4+, that says you're targeting a unit with this keyword, the 4+ goes off and it works. If, however, the attacking model or unit is using a rule that triggers on monster or infantry model, not unit, this triggers on if a unit targets a monster model, then it won't go off.
Exactly. This is also important for movement and transport capacity. So if you have like a Spirit Seer join a Wraith Lord, Spirit Seer is infantry, the unit has infantry keyword, you cannot then put it into a Wave Serpent, right? And it's the same thing here with the...
Well, I mean, you probably picked the wrong example with Eldar. They probably can.
They probably can, yeah. The Neurotyrant for movement is still going to have the monster keyword, so it doesn't magically let you go through walls as if you're infantry, which I believe is probably one of the reasons that you're asking.
Yeah.
We'll jump
we'll jump straight into Ben because he's talking about the app before we then jump into the next faction. He says, thank you for the 350. App customer service is really good, by the way. That's good. That's positive. Love it.
Fantastic.
Right, should we look at the next one?
Let's do it.
This one's I let everyone listen to me go to the bathroom again.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
All right, hopefully this one is...
Oh, God.
Oh, man. We're just hitting them all today. Okay.
This is the strong...
We did all the bad stuff yesterday, and that's the strong thing.
Well, this is actually important and interesting. So if you did watch yesterday's stream, typically most of it was kind of meh, with the exception perhaps of Necrons, and we thought Gene Cults were okay.
Yeah.
But there were 3 kind of bad factions and 2 average to good factions.
Quite good.
Drukhari is average to good. Eldar's busted. Imperial Knights.
Probably busted too, for a number of reasons, and of course the community is very much up in arms. There is some nuance about this faction, which we should discuss early on, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's an issue with towering.
Yeah.
Towering is a pretty wild new rule. Basically, the way this works is if you have towering, obscuring does not work. So normally, if you have Like if my head is a ruin, then and you have one unit looking across, and you have a unit here, they cannot see each other, right? However, if one of them has towering, then you go to true line of sight. So meaning if they were actually physically tall enough, and you go to true line of sight, you can actually see down at that model, and vice versa. If you're using like terrain that is full of holes, you can just see straight through it. So it means that in much terrain, in many setups of terrain, you can actually just see the entire battlefields.
It's almost like Knights having indirect with no negatives.
Exactly.
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why we feel very strongly about when you're playing with your terrain, at least, at a minimum, play it so that the bottom floor of your ruins are blocked, line of sight blocking. If you have windows, you pretend that they're actually completely closed. We think this is important just in general for play, so that you're not just stepping onto a ruin and being shot from everywhere, but it's especially important for towering. And you might even consider doing that for all of the windows all the way down. So we think that's very, very important. Towering, nevertheless, still very, very strong, but it takes the game from being, I think, literally unplayable to just very scary when you're going up against towering. So that's a caveat I wanted to put in about towering before we dive on into the Imperial Knights and what they do. Having said that, I don't know them super well. I just know that they're very, very strong. So
this is an army that I bought a bunch of before I got the index for 10th edition.
That's
because
unfortunate.
I've always loved Knights, and I was like, hopefully in this new edition, but I don't want to, so I've never wanted to play Codex Armiger.
Yeah.
So I had no interest in playing Codex Armiger in 9th edition.
The Middle Management Codex.
This is the third time I've bought a Knight army. It's just true.
Yeah.
The first one I built and painted and then sold it.
Yeah.
The second one I built, didn't paint, gave it to prom.
Yeah.
And I'm trying again, right?
You got this.
This is before the indexes came out. And I was like, please, please, please make them a playable faction in 10th edition. And then I read the index. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. Because they didn't just make them playable.
They're really strong.
They made them really good. So let's talk about Code Chivalric.
Let's do it.
Right. If your army faction is Imperial Knights, at the end of the read mission's objective step, you select one of the oaths below. There's 2 oaths that you pick from, right? And they have an oath ability, and then they have a deed associated with that oath, right? So the oath ability you always have. That exists, you get it all the time.
Correct.
If you complete the required deed, you gain a benefit to that particular oath ability. Okay, so you've got Lay Low the Tyrant and Reclaim the Realm.
And you get 3 CP.
Now you get 3 CP.
Yeah.
What?
Up here. It says...
if you complete the deed.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you, okay. I was like, what do you mean you just get 3 CP if you complete the deed? So the oath, and CP's massive. We talked about CP loads already on the streams, right? So the oath ability, each time it's selected to shoot or fight, reroll a hit roll of 1 and reroll a win roll of 1. Now for me personally, Lay Low the Tyrant is the auto take for Knights.
Yeah, for
right?
sure. This is your default.
And when we read this out when they announced it on the GW community page, everyone argued with me, it's 1 hit roll and 1 wound roll, it's not all ones. I then clarified with the studio.
Yeah.
I went straight to GW live on stream. I WhatsApped him and asked the question, and he went, yeah, all 1s to hit, all 1s to wound.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my God. That's mad good on Knights.
It's crazy.
That's mad good on Knights.
In 9th edition terms, this is everyone has a captain and everyone has a lieutenant all the time.
Yeah.
What?
Your deed is completed if you kill your enemy warlord, not forgetting the fact that you can just ally in a 75-point Vindicator. Vindicare,
yeah.
Vindicare Assassin, not Vindicator, the tank.
It's much harder to hide your warlord in 10th edition, right?
Yeah.
You often are using your characters too.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're Bridger, you'll be like, oh, the Vindicare's no good because he just hides his character the whole game.
I mean,
cool, okay.
that's literally how the good talk went when we saw this rule.
Yeah.
Glad you know that episode.
So, for me, Lay Low the Tyrant is the auto take. However, Reclaim the Realm isn't a bad choice, right? Add 1 to this model's move characteristic and add 1 to advance and charge rolls is a big deal.
It's good.
Knights are quick anyway. Big Knights typically move, medium Knights typically move 10, small Knights, baby Knights typically move 12, and the big Knights move 8. Adding an inch to all of those is important, and adding 1 to advance and charge rolls is also very, very good. The deed is completed if you control 1 or more objective markers in your opponent's deployment zone. As we saw last night with Chaos Knights, they don't have a massive problem tearing across the battlefield and getting into the opponent's deployment zone. So this one's easy to complete, okay? When you do complete your deed, as it says up here, you gain 3 CP as well, and that is incredible.
Oh, amazing.
Right?
And you become honored, which ties in with other things we'll see later on in this book.
Yeah. Honored is, So, you complete your deed, you gain 3 CP.
Yeah.
Now let's have a look at, we won't talk about, we probably should talk about this as well, right? Bondsman abilities. Questoris models have a bondsman ability tagged with the word bondsman in your command phase. One or more models from your army with a bondsman ability can use that ability. For each one that does, select a friendly armiger within 12 inches, big range, right?
Yeah.
Until the start of your next command phase, both of those models, I missed this part to start with and already thought it was fucking bonkers.
Right.
Both of those models are affected by that bondsman ability.
This is one thing. Obviously, it's incredibly strong. We'll see what some of these abilities are. But I will say this. I love how much more narrative this is. In the previous book, they really wanted to feel more like you're going to have a knight and the squire. And I think they largely failed at that because they did a bondsman ability like this, but then they immediately gave many ways to splash it to your whole army all the time. And then it became, again, as I joke, Codex middle management. It's like, how can you have all your little dudes, like peons, doing the work of the big dudes? This is a much more like direct link, one small knight, one big knight, and they both get these very powerful abilities. So it's strong, and I love that it's flavorful.
Narratively, it's super cool.
Yeah.
Narratively, this is how it should work.
Totally.
But it's like the fact that they both get it is
bananas.
Okay. So free blades, you can ally these things in with Imperial armies.
Yep.
That's really cool. We were talking about this earlier with a previous super chat. However, you don't get any of the knight rules.
Nope.
So you don't get the army rule we've just shown you, and you don't get the detachment rule. Where's the detachment rule gone?
What? That was it. The deeds.
No, there was the army rule.
No. Oh.
There it is. There it is. We found it. Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh,
now this is
I
where
forgot about this.
This is where the deed becomes important, right? So Indomitable Heroes is the current detachment Imperial Knights have access to. This is crazy. Okay.
So crazy.
All Imperial Knight models from the army have a 6-up feel no pain. If you're World Eaters, you've got to roll certain dice to get access to this, for example.
Amazing.
No, they just get it all the time. But if your army is honoured, and to be honoured, all you have to have done is previously complete the deed. So either kill the enemy warlord, and you don't have. This is why the Vindicator is so important. It doesn't have to be a knight model that kills the warlord. The enemy warlord just has to have been destroyed.
Yep.
Nothing else other than that. Or if you've got yourself into the enemy deployment zone because you picked the other particular code chivalric instead, it goes up to a 5-up feel no pain.
Insane. On these massive, hard to kill. Like, these are already things that people are struggling to kill.
Oh my god.
5 feel no pain?
Woo-hoo-hoo. It's madness.
Amazing. Also makes them resistant to some of the things that arguably would be good against them, such as devastating wounds.
Yeah, these are really, really good.
That's really good.
We saw Bridger yesterday get incredibly excited about spending CP to give a knight a 5-up feel no pain. Then he was very upset when he found out it was against melee, and that was to spend CP to give one of his knights a feel no pain. The army just gets it all the time.
It's
mad good.
It makes me very, very sad as a Chaos player to see that this is kind of just better.
Yeah. And the other thing as well is, like, we have already seen, so again, back to what I was talking about, toughness bracket widened right out. Knights are incredibly durable. The toughness 12 predominantly across the board for the medium ones.
Yep.
The smaller babies I think are still toughness 10, but they have 2-up armor saves on those Questoris Knights now.
Yep.
They've got multiple wounds, and an addition that is less lethal, and I'm going to add those because in some cases, Eldar, it's not less lethal, but on the whole, I guess the lethality is pulled down a little bit. It's harder to drop a knight nowadays, which is a good thing because it should be.
Yeah.
Because they shouldn't be at risk of being tabled turn 1. And then you add a feel no pain onto that. So melters no longer wound knights on 4s; they wound them on 5s.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
There's
even the small knights.
Yeah. There's so many things nowadays that used to wound on 4s or 3s that are now wounding on 5s or 6s, and then you add in a feel no pain.
Yeah, we've been talking about how hard it is to kill vehicles now, and like how much tank killing do you need to kill just a couple? If your opponent shows up with the Land Raider or something, this is a whole army of that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So strats, are there strats any good?
Nah.
No? No.
Yeah. Shoulder the burden. Let's take a look. This is 2 command points. In your command phase, you select 1 Imperial Knights model from your army that has lost 1 or more wounds. So again, not below half, right?
Yeah.
And what does it do? Until the start of your next command phase, improve your model's move, toughness, Move, toughness, save, leadership, and OC by 1. And each time your model makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. What? Now you can only do this once per battle until you're honored, then you can do it a second time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so glad they put that restriction in there.
Yeah. I mean, 2 CP is a lot.
2 CP is a lot, but you go to you put it on a Questoris Knight, you got to toughness 13.
What? These are like characteristics that you don't do this to. Like save, hit roll.
So it puts them on a 1-up save.
What? That's not reasonable. Who wrote this? I have not seen these strats, by the way.
Yeah, that's not reasonable.
What?
It's very good.
That's pretty good.
Yep, I like it.
Okay.
I'm a fan. Thunder Stomp, 1
Ooh.
CP, fight phase, an Imperial Knight model from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, your model cannot target monster or vehicle units, but all melee weapons equipped by your models have the devastating
Are you
wounds
kidding
ability.
me? Are you kidding me right now? I was like, where's the part where it says only Titanic feet? Where, they must have forgotten that, clearly.
No.
That is insane.
So your flat 8 damage fist, which you trade in for, I think it's 8 attacks that goes to 3 damage, becomes Devastating Wounds.
Oh my god.
Or your Reaper Chainsword, which goes from 4 attacks to 12 attacks at 2 damage,
Oh.
Devastating Wounds.
Whoa.
Really good.
1 command point.
1 CP for Thunderstomp. I'm with you. I feel like it should have restricted you to using Titanic feet only.
That's what it used to be, and it was actually like you would actually do it in a bind. It used to be I think ignore invulns or something. It was good. No, it was mortal wounds. It was 2 mortal wounds every wound, and it was actually you would use it.
Rotate Iron Shields for 1 CP. This is a classic, right?
Yeah.
Your Imperial Knight Venerable Save, which is currently a 5-up only against range, goes to a 4-up. It's massive.
It's great.
Let's not forget they've still got that 6-up Feel No Pain. So you're now going to 4-up Invulnerable Save, a Toughness 12, and a 2-up Armor Save, and a 6-up Feel No Pain, unless you're honoured, and then it's a 5-up Feel No Pain. Knights become incredibly hard to shift at Questoris class.
And it's very strong, again, because with the stratification of toughness, your opponent's moves largely going to be telegraphed as to which knight they're setting up to go after. This, in previous editions, became weaker and weaker as the edition became more lethal because largely any target could go into any target. So you're like, well, I'm going to rotate here, and now they're just going to switch to the other knight. But now, ultimately, they don't have that many tools, so they can't really afford to like put 1 unit of anti-tank here and then the rest into here. They can't afford it, so it's much more telegraphed, making the strat much more powerful than it was.
And spoilers from the members game last night, if you haven't watched it yet on Titans, which you should do, you should be a member, you should watch it. Bridger did this stratagem with his Chaos Knight, which doesn't have a Feel No Pain, in the first turn, and it took my whole Astra Militarum army, and I said spoilers, to kill that knight, including a fucking Shadow Sword.
That was your fault. You didn't roll any 6s on the devastating.
Including a Shadow Sword. But if you take that same theory and you roll 6s against this particular army, you get Feel No Pains.
That's right. Why not?
Mad good.
Why not?
So Rotate's really good. It's a solid strat. I don't think that's ever going to go away for Knights. That's one of those ones that I can see being in every single Knight detachment.
Yeah, that one has to be, right?
Yeah.
Squire's Duty is 1 command point stratagem at the start of your shooting phase or start of the fight phase, so flexible. You pick 2 or more Armor Girl models from your army and 1 enemy unit that's an eligible target for the Armor Girl models. Cool. Until the end of the phase, you improve the strength and AP of their weapons by 1, and if you're honored, you get +1 damage! No! So you can have 4 damage Helverin shots now.
So this is where Helverin start to sing. So their base weapon is good anyway, but you use this stratagem for 1 CP with 2 Helverins, right? And let's not forgetting that this is without considering the fact that they might also be under the effect of bondsman abilities for other buffs, etc. as well. But you put this on Helverins, 4 damage Helverins at -2, I think they are, or maybe -3.
No, they only start at -1.
Okay, but still -2 then becomes good for 1 CP.
It's important.
And a better strength. It's like overlapping Fields of Fire for Cadians previously, but just better because it's on Helverins. It's really nice.
That's amazing.
I like it.
This is, man, I kind of want to play Knights now.
Yeah, everyone wants to play Knights now.
I know.
This
To be
fucking
fair,
Knight Edition 40k.
Our Knight collection is my Knight collection.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I've let John use it. I've always been a Knight main.
Yeah, that's what he's saying now, chat, right?
There's more. Trophy claim.
Yep, so shooting phase or fight phase, 1 Imperial Knight model from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight this phase, and 1 enemy monster or vehicle.
Okay, it's the opposite.
Until the end of the phase, each time your model makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, add 1 to the wound roll. If your model destroys that enemy unit this phase, you gain 1 CP, but your model does not destroy that enemy unit this phase, you cannot use this strategy again for the rest of the battle.
That's
I love that
hilarious.
last part.
Yes.
I'm into that last part.
It's
super
like,
cool.
shame on you.
Trophy claim. I'm going to try and claim this trophy, and if I fail, I am in fact shamed.
Yes.
So I can't use this 1 CP stratagem for the rest of the game.
We need more of that.
But 1 CP to get +1 to wound against a monster or vehicle that even if it is once per game, it's still pretty solid.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I like it. I'm a big fan of it.
I love this strat.
Trophy claim is really cool. I love that restriction at the end as well. Big
So
fan of
good,
it.
very flavorful. Valiant Last Stand, 1 CP strat. In the fight phase, you select 1 Imperial Knights model from your army that was just destroyed and that is eligible to fight but has not been yet selected to fight. Thank you for including that. You can use the stratagem even though it's been destroyed. Cool. What does it do? Well, one could guess. Before rolling to see if this model deals any mortal wounds as a result of deadly demise, it can fight. Interesting, because before, if you exploded, you could not do this. When doing so, it's assumed to have 1 wound remaining, or all of its wound remaining if you're honored. So you're fighting on bottom bracket, which isn't that punishing. And if you're honored, you don't care.
You fight on top bracket.
And then you fight. And then you still roll to see if you explode.
Yeah.
This is 2 CP. What? 1 CP? I'm done. I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm out. I can't do this. I'm gonna go bathroom. You can finish up.
Important restriction here, chat. You can't use this on Sir Hector, who is flat mad anyway. Yeah, the CP stratagems for knights are very, very good, and of course they want to be honoured all the time. And I don't actually feel like honoured is too difficult. Like I said, you can choose the movement one, which is I think very easy to get honoured. But I'm still a fan of the reroll ones to hit and wound, because if you do include something like a Vindicare Assassin, it's not that difficult to snipe out the Warlord. And actually, if you think about things like rapid-fire battle cannons, actually it's not too difficult to shoot out Warlords as well. If you take a Knight Crusader with the Gatling Cannon, I think it's a Knight Crusader, it might be the Warden. Is it the Warden? I think it's the Warden. He has a special ability, actually, where his Gatling Cannon gets devastating wounds if it targets infantry as well. So in terms of actually killing a Warlord out with Knights, with Towering, I don't actually feel like it's all that difficult. It is going to be slightly harder for certain factions. For example, if you come up against Thousand Sons or World Eaters and they have a Primarch, or someone like Dark Angels who have the Lion, it is obviously going to be more difficult to kill that Warlord than if you were targeting just a random character and a random unit of 10 Guardsmen, for sake of argument. But obviously you get to pick that ability or which one you're choosing at the start of the battle round, so you can look at your opponent and go, actually, I'm not fancying the opportunity to kill Angron, so I'm going to go with something different. But I still don't think Knights are going to have massive problems with killing certain things. Not forgetting, of course, if we look at some of these stratagems, if you are targeting Angron, then you chuck down Trophy Claim. You get that +1 to win against him straight away. If you don't kill him, and you nearly kill him, that's probably meaning you're killing him on turn 2. And then you get your honoured ability, and the rest of these stratagems then start singing because you're honoured. It's very, 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 very good. The Knight Army abilities are incredibly strong, and it's like I really cannot stress enough how tough, for me personally, I think the Knights feel at the moment in 10th edition. Chaos, not so much, but still pretty tough. But I think there's quite a disparity between Imperial and Chaos Knights. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we cover the Chaos Knight Codex, obviously. For me, Knights are incredibly durable and hard to shift, and I think there is an argument to take the movement-specific Code Chivalric, just because then you're going to get that 5-up Feel No Pain probably up and running significantly quicker. Obviously, it depends on the opponent. Certain armies will have a better time screening out your deployment zone and stopping you from getting that particular buff. At that point, maybe you're going to be looking at killing the Warlord instead. It's good. The strats are good. I'm going to swap places with you.
Sounds good. Calm down.
Have you calmed down?
Yeah.
Really? I don't feel like you have. No. There's no super chats to talk to, so you're just going to have to waffle to the 600 people in chat right now.
Oh, no.
Okay?
All right. Well,
you can do it. I believe in you.
I feel like you need to give me your batteries right now.
I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Which one do I have to mute up there as well?
You're number 3.
Okay, I'm number 3. Are you sure?
He's going to do the wrong one.
Are you
I should
sure?
tell you the wrong one.
Are you sure?
Yep.
You're number 1.
Actually, don't put that on me.
You're number 1, right?
I'm number 1.
So make sure chat can still hear you.
What's up, chat? Hey. Let me know.
How's
Oh, that's good. Proud of you. How's everyone's day doing? Yeah, no, this book is kind of insane. So, like, I knew broadly what it can do. I've seen some stuff, but it's just another thing when you really start walking through what's possible here. This is kind of crazy. So, yeah, ridiculous. I am excited for them. I'm excited for them in the Chaos Knights as well, though. We're gonna have to get some of the big knights on the channel. So, that's what's going on. What's up, Melody? How's everyone doing? Questoris Knights do not have a 2+ save. Colonel Panic, I'll appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. P-Stream, he took it off, right, guys? He's not peeing? Brutal. Yeah, so Imperial Knights, very, very strong. This is just, absolutely, was that the last strat? Okay, thank God. So what we're gonna do is go up to the enhancements, which we'll take a look at right when Liam's gets back. I am glad that we are away from Codex Armiger because, frankly, with our Imperial Knights collection, we only have like 4, and it was kind of a pain to keep creating them. So I'm excited to have these big knights, and we can do some really cool like modeling with them, all that stuff. Balance will settle down, but it's all new. Melody wants to know if I'm playing Sisters this week or what. So I'm super on the fence, Melody, actually, about that. I had actually decided not to do Sisters at all this week because we still need to get some of the models, and it felt like we wanted to do a good job and not just a job. But there's a chance they get played on Saturday. There's certainly we'll play them next week because I think it's changed a lot. And the models that I want in the collection, the models I want to play, has changed. So whether it be me painting up next to Sisters 2 or borrowing something from Jesse, that might be something that determines. So we'll play them soon, but I'm trying to do a good job, not just a job. So this is good. I got to let you know, Melody, because I wanted to tell you that. I just let her know about the Sisters. I tuned into the member stream last night, and I was like, let's see what's going on. And there's a poll. We do polls on the member streams. And it's like, well, what should Adrian play next week, even though I have no control? And it says Sisters, Sisters, Sisters. And then I think the last one was like, blah, 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 Sisters. And I was like, good to know, Bridger. Good to hear the talk.
Bridger even said it on stream, like, oh, we're going to play Sisters. And I was like, Bridger, we literally talked about this last night.
We literally just talked about it.
We paid a couple more models to make them really sing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where they are right now.
Monster.
We'll get to Sisters
So now
soon.
I'm the mean boy. So, anyways.
Right. Enhancements, I feel much better right now.
Good.
And hopefully none of them heard me, which is
Hopefully.
nice.
I would be impressed. I'd be impressed.
I think Melody got sniped with a membership as well.
Oh, Melody, what's up?
You can come hang out now.
Yeah, you should.
If you want to. You have to.
You definitely should. Check it out. What's up, Revered Knight? This is an aura.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not a member. Imperial Knight model only, obviously. While a friendly Imperial Knight model is within 6 inches of the bearer, improve the model's leadership by 1. If your army's honored, increase the range of this aura to 12. I'm calm. It's nothing. It's kind of nothing. Are there a lot of leadership things where you really need to pass, maybe?
Well, yeah, battle. So the thing is with Knights, right, is so they start off at like 22 wounds, 20 wounds, 24 wounds, something like that.
Yeah.
So the second they're below half wounds, they're taking battle shock.
Oh, okay.
And then you can't use all those stratagems on them.
Yeah, okay. What's their leadership generally?
It's a number. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd imagine it'll be like 6, I would guess.
Yeah, it should be 6.
Yeah, but maybe it's 7, I don't know.
No, that's a valid point, because there's no exemption there.
But I think that's solid if you're trying to avoid battle shock. And if you did watch the members only game yesterday, you'll start to realise how important battle shock is. Not even for objective control, but if you think about this, like an Imperial Knight is OC massive, like OC 10 or some shit. It's really like, and the stratagems we just looked at are very powerful.
They're mandatory with an army like this.
The second you fail a battle shock test and you lose all of your OC on that one model, because you don't have 5 units holding an objective now with Knights. You have, I say now, ever. You have 1 model, maybe 2 holding the objective. So you go to OC 0, that's a problem. And the second you can't put stratagems on them, that's also a problem.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's not that bad. I think it's reasonable.
You bring a valid point.
But you also have Mysterious Guardian.
Which is pretty good.
Imperial Knight model only, of course. The bearer has the deep strike ability. Once per battle at the end of your opponent's turn, if the bearer is not within engagement range of anyone, it can fade away. If it does, remove it from the battlefield, Adrian.
No.
And then in the reinforcement step of your subsequent movement phase, set it up anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 9. That's right, you can uppy downy with Knights.
It's a ghost knight.
You can uppy downy
Oh
with a
my
Knight.
god, it's the Mysterious Guardian. He just appears and he's like the Gandalf of Knights.
This is really good.
Why? Look. All you needed was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words. The bearer has the deep strike ability. Done. That'd be an amazing enhancement.
Yeah, it would be good.
But instead they can uppy downy.
Then you also get uppy downy as well.
Wow. This is super cool. This reinforces the fact that I'm a Knight's main. I love it. Mythic Hero, Questoris model, so this is the middle size, your traditional knight size, with a bondsman ability only. So it has to be someone who can manage people. Each time the bearer uses its bondsman ability, you can select 1 additional friendly armor model within 12 that has not already been affected by bondsman ability. Until the start of your next command phase, that model is also affected by the bondsman ability. So this lets you double up. You can basically have 2 squires. Very powerful ability, especially given the ratio. Like you're pretty much always just going to have more armors than you have big knights.
So I'm a big fan of Mythic Hero because there's things that help with ranged weapons, for example.
Yeah.
You then couple that with that 1 CP stratagem where you pick 2 health runes and you get +1 strength, +1 AP, and they're both being affected by the same bondsman ability.
Yeah.
It becomes really stackable, really strong.
Yeah.
This is a really, really good enhancement.
This is awesome.
100%.
This feels like an auto include, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, the banner of Macarius Triumphant. You'll notice, by the way, chat, as well, Adrian's already just blown his load right there. 5 enhancements for Knights.
Right?
Everyone else gets 4?
That's
5 for Knights.
Why?
Banner of Macarius Triumphant, Imperial Knight model only. If you control an objective marker at the end of your command phase and the bearer is within range of that objective marker remains under your control, even if you have no models within range of it, and your opponent until your opponent controls it at the start or end of any turn.
Amazing.
Sticky objectives for a single knight.
I love it. I'm okay with this. I like it.
This is good. This helps knight play.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to sit on an objective. You can walk
Exactly.
off of it. And I actually think this is a good enhancement without being busted that helps knight players have a less boring game by having to make sure they hold one on the home objective for the whole
That's the
game.
worst. Is like, yeah, just sitting a big knight or even armor grid just sucks to sit on the back. And there are downsides. Like if you're leaving it, someone can just deep strike in and stuff like that. So this is a good balanced enhancement.
The one thing I am glad about is that you can't pair this with the uppy downy knight.
That's true.
That would have been mad. But yeah, this is a solid one. Bridger used the Chaos equivalent yesterday. It's good.
Yeah, it lets you play the game with
like
7 models. You know?
But think about this as well, right? You can put this on a Valiant because it doesn't restrict you to something like a Questorus Knight. You can stay on your home objective. You can walk forward off your home objective, but make sure that you're still just within 18 inches of your home objective. So if someone then steps onto your home objective, you overwatch with the conflagration cannon with your 3d6 auto hitting strength 8 -2 2 damage flamer.
Oh my god!
So you're holding the objective and you're still a threat to that objective because of the Overwatch flamer as well. Really good combos for Knights. I'm quite a fan.
That's fantastic. Unyielding Paragon. This is for Questorus only. Each time an attack is allocated to the bear, worsen the armor penetration near the attack by 1. So this is permanent armor of contempt.
Yeah.
Wow.
Permanent armor of contempt with a minimum of 6 up and feel no pain, and the potential to have a minimum of 2 up armor, 5 up invulnerable.
Oh, by the way,
6 up feel no pain.
Apparently they're 3 up armor, not 2 up armor. Someone was saying in chat. The Questorus Knights. But that's okay.
Hang on, is it the Dominus that's 2 up then?
Yeah, Dominus is 2 up.
Right, okay.
But still,
that's not so bad. Okay.
Still.
I mean, yeah. So, all right, 3 up armor.
Yeah.
Minimum 3 up armor, 5 up invulnerable save, 6 up feel no pain, and -1 AP.
Yeah.
And you could be minimum 3 up armor, 4 up invulnerable save, 5 up feel no pain, and -1 AP.
It's pretty ridiculous. It's pretty ridiculous. This is
hard to kill.
Wow.
It's hard to kill.
So that's the strats, enhancements, arm abilities, and attachments.
Yeah. Melody says Knights plus Overwatch is a problem. I agree.
It feels like it.
100%. Melody is correct. So we've done strats and enhancements. Let's talk about data sheets, okay?
Yeah.
There's just nothing bad.
Yeah. It's all good. All good in different ways.
There is better and there is worse. For example.
Sorry, there's good and then there's better.
Yeah, there's you're right. There's Valiants and then there's Custodes. I had a Dominus class at home. I hadn't built it yet. I waited to see the index. I read the fucking Valiant index and I was like, I can't build a Custodes because the Valiant is crazy good with Overwatch.
Yeah, it's
and
absurd.
that harpoon is mad as well. It's just fucking silly.
Yeah.
Knights are A tier for me.
Yeah, for sure.
They're middle A tier minimum, if not maybe slightly
100%.
better. I think a lot of armies are going to, especially, so I actually feel like we're going to see a shift in what you see on the tabletop because the Knight data sheets for the Questorus class and even the Dominus class are now really good and they're quite compelling. And because of the way that Bondsman abilities work now, you probably don't want one medium knight and loads of armigers. It's still a build that you can run.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. You do have to have a minimum of 1 Questorus now because they're the only ones that gain that character keyword. And that's also a slight problem. The only way that knights really, I think, suffer is if something can spam lots of anti-character. I don't think we've seen tons of anti-character though, so I don't think that's actually going to be a problem for them. But I think we're typically going to see somewhere in the region of 2 to 3 big and the rest of them small. And in those 2 to 3 big, you might see one of those as a Dominus class. And it's going to be a solid build. They're very, very durable. They're very hard to shift. And I don't know how many armies outside of perhaps Eldar that really, really reliably tire down a big knight every single turn for 3 turns in a row while still taking casualties from the rest of the knight army.
Exactly.
Of course, being the Imperial variants, they also have access to this little gem called Canis Rex.
Oh, yeah.
Canis is an auto take.
You want me to pull this up?
Let's go find Canis' data sheet. They did show this on the Warcom article when the Imperial Knight Codex was dropped. But Canis for me is mad good.
I'm very curious.
Now, rapid fire battle cannons, I feel like they sit exactly where they need to sit right now. They're very, very good. 2d6 plus 6 for the rapid fire battle cannon shots is a lot of shots.
I love that they're actually rapid fire now.
Yeah.
Did I skip him?
I don't think you did. Maybe you did.
Isn't he a Preceptor variant?
A Precept variant, yeah. So rapid fire battle cannons feel good. Thermal cannons, d6 plus 6 damage, also feels good. The Gatling cannon with 18 shots, 14 to 18 shots is good. And if you've got it on the Warden, you get devastating wounds against infantry. Mad good.
No.
Yeah, honestly. There's so many cool things. And then we've got this fella as well, Canis Rex. The thing that's important here, if you look at every single weapon, both melee and range, they all have sustained hits 1. which is good.
That's good.
It's exploding critical hits. Why do we say exploding critical hits, chat? Why don't we say exploding sixes?
That's right.
Because then you look at the chain breaker ability that he has on the right-hand side. Each time this model makes an attack, an unmodified successful hit roll of a 5+, scores a critical hit. All of his weapons, including his 9 damage hand, 9 damage hand, explodes on 5 and has 5 attacks. It has more attacks than a normal hand weapon on a different Questoris Knight. It has a higher damage and it explodes on 5.
Oh, that's so
Most
cool.
importantly, let's not forget, we did see this last night, but you can use that particular hand for any of the knights alongside the Tank Shock Stratagem. Tank Shock Stratagem, what you do, you take a number of dice equal to the weapon's strength characteristic and roll them, and on 6s you do mortals, and if that weapon's strength characteristic is higher than the target's toughness, you actually do mortals on a 5+ to a maximum of 6. You pick up 20 dice and you roll them, and on 5+s you do mortal wounds, and then you still get to swing with it.
Oh my god, I love it. And 0 CP strat also on this guy.
Yeah.
Wow. He's amazing.
He's
amazing.
Incredible.
What?
For me, the reason why I wanted to pull Canis up, people are focusing on the Valiant because of the Flame and Overwatch.
Sure.
People are looking at the Rapid Fire Battle Cannon. People are looking at the options that exist. For me, personally, and maybe I'm wrong, chat, I'm happy to be wrong, Canis is the auto take of the Codex. He is so good. He is so good. He's strong, he's powerful, he's got incredible rules, he hits like an absolute tank. You just look at the Chainbreaker Impulsor, he's got 2 different types of intensity, so he can deal with infantry, he can deal with medium-sized units. If you want to hit those higher strength, bigger units, you go in with his Freedom's Hand, but even with Freedom's Hand, he can get 10 attacks on a sweep. A normal Gallant Fist thing is 8 attacks on a sweep, he gets 10 on the sweep, with exploding 5s at strength 10 -2, 3 damage.
Amazing.
He's so good.
So strong.
Not forgetting, he re-rolls all hit rolls and wound rolls of 1 if you take the right code chivalric, and he could also have a 5+ feel no pain.
Amazing. Amazing.
Canis is insane. Knights are good.
Knights are real strong.
Yeah, Knights are really good.
So upper 8 for sure.
Do you have a Canis Rex?
Unbuilt, yes.
You will have soon.
This thing is a lot now.
Right, cool. There we go. That's nice. I'm a fan of them. I think they're going to be really good. They are borderline, however, going to be a problem, in my opinion.
Correct.
Because I think they're very, very strong. They're not Eldar levels of strong. I think Art of War placed them below a couple of other books as well, including Space Marines, including Thousand Suns. Some armies are going to have a significantly harder time. So Melodies in chat, as we know, and we talk about Sisters. For me personally, Sisters are one of those armies that are going to really struggle against Knights because they just don't have great anti-tank weapons in the Sisters Codex. And they've been done a bit dirty there, in my opinion. Their highest strength range weapon in the Sisters Codex is a Hunter-Killer Missile, which is a one-shot only weapon. That's bad.
The next strongest is in melee, and everything else is winning them on 5s.
Yeah, which hurts. So certain factions like that are probably going to struggle a little bit with Knights, if I'm honest with you.
For sure.
Which makes me sad, because I don't like the idea of a rock, paper, scissors edition where certain armies can't deal with others, and other armies deal really easily with others. I don't like that, personally. But hey. So into chat then. Twanzo the Clown, am I weird for not wanting to include Dark Angels enhancements in my list? I'm not the biggest fan, and I'd rather just bring more units. That's totally a strategy.
Yeah.
So enhancements, I think, for me personally, I feel like enhancements have done a couple of things. They've simplified the Wall of Traits Relics thing, which I think is positive. They've added a points value to it, which also means it's easy to balance those particular things. So if you find that a relic, as it was incredibly strong in the previous edition, what happened? Nothing. Everyone took it. It was incredibly strong. Nowadays, because there's an associated points value, if GW find that one single enhancement is being taken by, if the uppy downy knight enhancement is being taken by every single knight player all the time, no matter what, they might choose to put it up by 20 points and go, hey, now you still have a choice between the other enhancements. So in that regards, I feel like there's a few reasons why they've done it. The other reasons why they've done it is because of the way they've changed points. So they've removed a ton of granularity in terms of adding war gear, paying for pistols and paying for melter guns and all that kind of stuff. Seen a ton of negativity about that in the community. I get it. I get that a lot of people love the theory crafting and building lists, etc. I still think that this is going to be a net positive change on the whole. Yeah. But what these enhancements also let you do is kind of fill those gaps if you have them. Yeah. So I ran Astra Militarum last night at 1995 points, took no enhancements. There was nothing in the enhancement list that for me was incredibly compelling. There's a couple of good ones, and if I'd have had the points for them, I'd have chucked them on. But when I got to all the units I wanted to use, I didn't have the space, so I didn't take them. Yeah. So it's totally reasonable strategy to not use enhancements as well. Ginger Steve, thank you for the 5. I stole Bridges' idea about using a hex mark with the enhancement to buff my Doomstalkers and Heavy Destroyers for a tournament this weekend. Thanks. Fun fact, you can also put it on a Technomancer. It has a 10-inch flying lone operative.
They have lone operative.
Supposedly, yeah.
That's
I'm
nice.
sure they do. I'm sure that's what I saw.
Thanks,
Here's
Steve.
Horace. There's Horace. Thanks to you, Steve, as well. You're a legend. I love you. Thanks for the 2. Here's Horace. How do you protect Eldrad Farseers versus indirect?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
Fortune, fate dice, invulnerable saves.
Yeah, frankly, pressure. If someone gets too close, then you shoot them.
If I'm honest with you, with an Eldar Codex, I think the biggest protection for Eldrad is the fact that you've got other units that are a bigger threat than Eldrad. If I'm honest with you, Eldrad is very, very, very good, and he's an auto-include. But if they kill Eldrad, okay, you lose Doom, but you've already generated the fate dice that he gives you, and you've still got your D-Cannons and your Fire Prisms and your Night Spinners and your Dark Reapers and your Wraith Guard.
Right. Yeah, and the fate dice are going to make it unreliable to kill him, right? It's like they just need to roll a little bit bad, and you just need to roll 1 fate dice for a 4+ on your invuln save, and then you're good. Yeah, that's the main thing.
So I don't think you're going to have a massive problem keeping hold of him and hiding him. Josh, thank you for the 10. Never get to catch a stream live. When I do, I get both my favourite channels in one.
Oh,
Adrian, please tell this man he needs more orc love on his channel.
You do, dude. We were so close to getting him to do orcs. He was like, oh, I'm thinking about doing orcs. And then once you decided not to do orcs, you're like, oh, I hate orcs. Don't like
I didn't
them.
say I hate orcs. What I did was I looked at the 10th edition index and went, no, not for me.
I know.
They're not bad, but I don't love them.
Yeah.
Brian, we have an orc army as well. It's not massive. We don't have a ton of selection for it.
Yeah.
And Brom I was trying to give it to Brom to learn as well because he fucking plays Ultramarines.
You want the orcs to win sometimes, though.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the problem, okay? But, caveat, right? I feel like part of the reason why it was harder in the last edition was because of the whole codex, the rulebook, and how it worked.
Yeah.
Stratagems were pretty terrible on the whole.
Yes.
You know,
it was very awkward to play, for sure.
Yeah, orcs weren't in a great place.
Yeah.
Maybe in 10th edition he's going to have a better fun time playing them. We'll have to see.
Fair enough.
Brian, thank you for the 2. Hear me out. Legions of the Damned Knight. Yeah.
Yes.
For Uppy Downy Knight.
So dope.
That would be fucking cool, actually.
Imagine them converting opportunities.
Tide Ultra, thank you for the 5. Hi, Liam, Adrian. Questoris are back. I believe they are as well. I'm painting a House Hawkshroud Crusader for my Revered Fury. What is your favourite piece of Knight lore? We talked about this briefly yesterday on the Titans member stream, but I'm going to cover it again very, very quickly.
Totally.
My favourite piece of Knight lore is on Titans channel.
Huh?
In short form content. If you check out the shorts area of the Tabletop Titans channel, then one of the more recent shorts is about Canis Rex, the Chainbreaker. I won't spoil it now as to what happens and why I love it, because I want you to go watch that short. But go check that short out on the channel. I've done a ton of shorts for Titans because we like working together. Yeah. If you watch that one and listen to that piece of narrative, it might even inspire you to go and Google what happens there. Ooh. And it covers Canis Rex and and how the Knight became known as Chainbreaker. That's my favourite bit of Knight lore.
I like it. For me, it's going to be from Horus Heresy. I'm blanking on the name of the book because I didn't love the book overall, but it's the one where they're kind of setting the seeds for like Leman Russ to try to go after Horus, basically, and it's kind of formation of the Deathwatch and all that stuff. And they follow a knight household kind of in the beginning of that before everything goes to hell. And it's a very like feudal style world on these like verdant kind of grass plains, very traditional sort of medieval like landscapes. And they go and they fight like monsters in the woods to kind of like prove themselves and like hunt monsters. And for me, it's just like this. I love this medieval kind of aesthetic with these big knights, and that juxtaposition for me is like one of my favorite things about them. It's so cool. It's so unique. So it's got to be that kind of like whole backstory from that book.
Yeah, I've often found knights are very Marmite. So I explained to you what this means.
You did,
right?
Yeah.
So for those of you that are not in the UK, Marmite is a food product, and some people would classify it as not a food product.
Correct.
Because they consider it disgusting. I think it's called Vegemite in Australia, maybe even over here as well.
Well, it's slightly different version.
It's like a black tar thing that I love the flavour of. Anyway, the reason why it's Marmite is because the marketing for Marmite in the UK for the longest time was you either love it or hate it. There's no middle ground. You love the stuff or you hate the stuff, okay? Yeah. For me, Knights can be very Marmite with people who play 40k. I find that people either love Knights or they hate them and they don't want them anywhere near the tabletop. I'm definitely the former. I love Knights. Yeah. I really enjoy them. Do I think they belong in 40k on the tabletop? Maybe not. Yeah. I feel like there was a better time when we removed Titanic units and flyers from the game on the whole, and we kept those units for things like Apocalypse. We're never going to go back there. It's just not going to happen. No. But I still love Knights. And actually, some of my most favourite games I've ever had, and I wish I could do this more often, is Knights versus Knights.
Yes.
I love that.
Oh, God.
Like, if you get together with a friend,
Yeah.
it's not so great for stream content. People don't seem to love the stream content, but you get together with a friend and go, I've got a Knight Army, you've got a Knight Army.
Yeah.
We can play a game in 90 minutes.
Exactly.
Cool.
This is such a pain point for me because I love Chaos Knights, Imperial Knights. I have both and done a bunch of conversion on them because I love them so much. But for some reason, as you said, they're Marmite. People are very polarized by it, and we have to be very careful, especially as content creators, because you want to make sure you make stuff that people want to come and watch. But because Knights are so polarizing, we don't get to do as much Knight content as I would like to do, frankly. And that's a shame.
Yeah, it's a rare, like, Brom's got a reasonable Knight collection because I gave him all my old ones, like I told you earlier. And it's a shame that often I'm going, I don't really want to put them on stream because they just don't do so well. Because believe it or not, we don't just do what the hell we want to play Warhammer on YouTube channels.
Shocking.
We actually have to analyse, look at numbers,
Listen
look
to
at
what people are interested in.
Follow the kind of community attitude towards certain things and then make decisions based on all that information. And Knights just typically don't do so well. I'm kind of hoping a little bit that 10th brings that round slightly and maybe people become more interested in them. But who knows?
I hope so. It's tough because I genuinely, the last Night book was awesome. It was very strong, but it was also very, very interesting. It was very complicated, and over the last fall, I ended up having to play against Knights a lot. And the more I learned about it, the more I loved the book, and I actually loved playing against it because it was very, very tactical. So it made me sad because I think it was a great Night book, but people still didn't want to watch Night content. So we'll see.
We've got two comments here, like very much close to each other. One of them saying, love seeing a Knight on an army, and the next person saying, boring as fuck. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Marmite,
no,
right?
I know, it's tough.
Thank you, Stephen, for the 5. Do you think a Storm Raven with a Redemptor Tech Marine and a squad of Intercessors would be worthwhile to grab a whole flank of a battlefield? So look, Flyers aren't going away in 10th edition, despite what I've just said.
But they're trying.
But they're not making them easy to use or fun to use necessarily.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you're going to have them in the game, make them fun and make them interesting and make them cool. I have a problem with the whole flyer hover interaction right now and the fact that you have to pick which one you start in. And if you don't start in hover, you have to start off the tabletop. So you're saying I'm paying points at a slightly overinflated cost so that I can skip a whole turn of the game. I don't love that.
Sometimes two in a way. Yeah.
A Storm Raven with all that stuff in though is, however, cool as fuck.
Yeah.
So, in that regards, yeah, go for it. It's great. Cool. Beautiful. Right, what's the next faction? Myths of the Adrian.
Ooh, let's do it. I'm excited.
Knights good. Knights are good, chat.
Knights are awesome. Ooh, this is near and dear to your heart.
This is very near and dear
You're in
to
the
my
guard
heart.
now.
Astra Militarum.
This is only in my heart so much that I'm going to complain about catechins.
You're in the guard, son.
Yeah.
I have thoughts about this codex.
So you just played this last night on Titans members. If you're not a member, you should become one so you can check it out.
No, it is the first time I played with guard in 10th edition.
Cool.
So I spent some time yesterday with your collection working out what you had to try and put together a reasonable list. I tried to make it slightly different to the one that you guys had used previously as well, so I didn't take any Rogue of Dawns, for example. And I thought we'll give it a go. So what do they get as an army rule? They get voice of command. Very narrative, very cool, definitely the right army rule to pick for guard.
Yeah.
Essentially what it is the old orders system, okay? So
cool.
officers can issue orders. It tells you on their data sheet what orders how many orders they can issue, and typically who they can issue orders to as well. And you pick a friendly Astra Militarum unit within 6 inches that can be the recipient of that order, and you pick an order below, and you give them that order. And you get access to 6 or 7 orders in total, I think it is. It might be 6. So move, move, move. Very, very simple. Add 3 inches to the move characteristic of models in the unit. It's good. Fixed bayonets improve the weapon skill characteristic of melee weapons in the units by 1. Oh, weapon skill... Improve the weapon skill characteristic. Oh, I thought you improved the AP as well. No, just improve the weapon skill characteristic. Take aim. Improve the ballistic skill characteristic of ranged weapons by 1. That's important because it's improved the ballistic skill characteristic. More on that in just a moment.
Massive.
First rank, second rank fire, improve the attached characteristics of rapid fire weapons by 1. Also important because don't forget plasma guns that everybody's been equipping their guardsmen with for the last 2-3 years are also all rapid fire. Take cover, improve the save characteristic of models in this unit by 1. Cannot improve the save beyond 3+. And duty honor, this one's actually more important than I think people are giving it credit for. Improve the leadership and OC characteristic of models in this unit by 1.
That's huge.
Really good.
Yeah, with Warhammer maths, that's
Really,
big.
really good. Duty honor is really, really good.
Yep.
Remembering, of course, these all take place in the command phase. And that's important for duty honor because that means that you can put duty honor on a unit before they take battle shock.
Exactly. Now, it's interesting because you would think, okay, you get +1 to your OC, you fail battle shock, goes down to 0, but that's not the way that the ordering works in 10th edition. Basically, if you have something that sets you down to 0, you go to 0, and then you do any addition to that. So even if you're battle shocked, you're still going to have OC1, which is amazing.
So Bridges in chat.
Bridget?
I thought he was supposed to be working.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. So orders. So there's some caveats here. There's some things that have changed fundamentally from 9th edition, okay? No longer do we have Prefectus orders, Regimental orders, and then the Squadron orders.
Thank God.
They've all gone into one set of orders, which means that whatever your officer says you can issue an order to, so for example, a tank commander will tell you that you can issue to Squadron, a Cadian Castellan will tell you can issue it to Platoon, and Lord Solar says he can issue it to Astra Militarum units, you give them one of these. So you can give a tank fixed bayonets if you really, really want to. You can give anything take aim. You can give anything additional OC. I much prefer this system. Yes, maybe there's slightly less narrative and slightly less granularity. Really, really simple. I only have to remember 6 orders and I don't have to remember what they did. I played Astra Militarum a lot in 9th and sometimes I still have to check what an obscure order that I haven't normally used does.
I never got the hang of it.
So this is super cool.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of this one.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I like it. The big interesting one with that is take aim as well, because it's +1 ballistic skill.
Correct.
Okay, now guards on the whole have kind of suffered a little bit ballistic skill wise, but +1 ballistic skill is important because that means it does in fact stack with +1 to hit. Because you're not giving yourself +2 to hit, you're giving yourself +1 to hit and +1 ballistic skill. Okay, so Born Soldiers is a detachment rule. In the previous iteration of the Astra Militarum Codex, maybe a little bit too strong, where basically all 6s with lethal hits all the time on everything. Now you only get that if you stay still. I love the narrative behind this.
Yeah, hold the line.
You've stood still, you've taken your time, you've taken your aim, you're not on the move. I used to be in the armed forces. I cannot tell you how difficult it is to shoot anything whilst you're running across a field. You're kind of just randomly spraying in the right direction. That's just how it works, right? And I'm not an Astra Militarum with a flashlight round in my hand. This time round, if you stay still, you can take your time to try and find that headshot and get that lethal hit.
Yeah.
Big fan of this.
That's awesome.
I like Born Soldiers. It's a cool rule. So army detachment rule, not super strong, not incredibly powerful, very narrative, also really useful. I'm a big fan.
Absolutely. Gosh.
They changed it around for the Xenos ones. Why did they do this? I thought we got to a point where everything was in the same order all the time.
This is exhausting.
Bastards.
Reinforcements.
Oh my God. Probably the best stratagem in the book by far.
This is wild.
So any phase, a regiment unit from your army that was just destroyed, you can use a stratagem on that unit, even though it was just destroyed, and you can add a new unit to your army identical to your destroyed unit in strategic reserve at its starting strength and with all of its wounds remaining. You can't be using this on character units attached to units.
Checks out, checks out. So what has the regiment keyword?
Well, typically anything infantry-based from battle lines, so Deathcore Krieg, Catachan Jungle Fighters, Cadian Shock Troopers. More importantly, 2 big things that have this. Kazakin, I'll explain why in just a moment. And Sentinels.
Sentinels. Why are they regimental? Why? That's crazy.
Sentinels for me should just be squadron, in my opinion.
100%.
Sentinels having regimental with a 2 CP stratagem to bring them back is very, very good.
That's hilarious.
And Scout Sentinels, let me tell you at the moment, are clutch for guards.
Yes, very important.
Very important. Really, really good stratagem.
Absolutely.
Really, really good stratagem. And I said it's important on Kazakin, and people are going, well, what does that make a difference? I'll explain why.
Yeah, tell us.
So you take Kazakin, you can take them with or without an officer, because Kazakin have an ability on the data sheet which says you can just give them an order.
Ooh.
You have to have an officer in the unit.
That's cool.
Now, even if you do have an officer in the unit, if this unit dies and you spend 2 CP on reinforcements and you bring them back, you can't bring the officer back.
Correct.
But you can still give them an order.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because Kazakin get to give them an order.
But yeah, to be ordered, you have to be in the squad? Or you have to be near the squad?
Unit within 6 inches from the officer.
Okay. So you can bring them back anywhere and you don't need to set them up.
But they go in strategic reserve.
Yeah.
So you can, battle round 2, you can walk them on from any battlefield edge that's not your opponent's deployment zone. Battle round 3, any battlefield edge wholly within 6 inches, nowhere near any other models in your army whatsoever.
That's awesome.
And go, I'm still going to get my +1 ballistic skill. My Kazakin are now hitting on 2s.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really good. Big fan.
So strong.
Big fan.
Fields of Fire is a 2 CP strat. In your shooting phase, you select a regiment or a squadron unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. After you resolve their attacks, you pick an enemy unit that was targeted by one of them, and until the end of the phase, attacks made against that unit by a regiment or squadron get +1 AP as long as you weren't battle shocked. Wow.
It's actually really good.
It's really good. It is 2 CP, it's expensive, and it's only against 1 target, but you have just such a volume.
Yeah.
And this also helps with indirect too, I'll be honest.
So Basilisks are naturally AP -2.
Yeah.
So if you fire indirectly, your opponent gets cover, all right?
Yeah.
Which essentially negates one of those AP points. You go to AP1, which is a pain place to be. It's not the greatest. You spend this stratagem for 2 CP, you go back to AP2. Well, you go to AP3 basically, but they get cover.
Exactly.
Really
Their squadron?
Yeah,
Do they come in squads or just,
they
just the
don't.
keyword?
Oh my god, if they came in squadrons, that'd be mental.
Because you could take 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, unfortunately, those people out there with 9 basilisks, you've got 3. Access to 3 right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Fields of Fire, good stratagem. It is 2 CP, which is a bit strong, but because of the way it interacts with indirect, I'm actually comfortable with it being 2 CP.
Yeah, exactly. Get out of hand easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
Suppression Fire then, 1 CP. I like this actually quite a lot. In your shooting phase, 1 Astra Militarum infantry unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase, and 1 enemy unit excluding monsters and vehicles. Makes sense, I'm okay with it. If your Astra Militarum unit scores 1 or more hits against that enemy unit this phase, until the end of your opponent's next turn, each time a model in that enemy unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. I read this yesterday, I got very excited about it, and then I was playing Knights, which are all vehicles. No. So I can't use it, obviously. But I like the idea that las guns, which are typically very underwhelming in how much damage they put out, still can have an impact here with the CP.
Totally. I like this. I like this for a couple of reasons. The main reason is the fact that this is on demand. We're seeing suppressing fire being a mechanic that is introduced into the game. Certain units have suppressing fire, such as, shockingly, suppressors. But a lot of the time, it's on units like that where I'm not quite sure what their main role is. And I like this because it's flexible. You do have to pay CP rather than having it inbuilt, but you can say, okay, you know what, this time I need the suppressing fire. I'm going to use it with just a guard squad and kind of have it on demand, because you don't need it all the time.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that just for 1 CP being accessible to you.
It's a cool unit. It's a cool stratagem. I like it. And like I said, it gives the guardsmen some utility. It gives them something they can do.
Exactly.
Expert Bombardiers.
Ooh.
Now, trust me, at the moment, the way the game is and the way that Guard will play right now, for me personally, this is probably a stratagem that you're going to want to use every turn if you can for 1 CP.
Okay. What does it do?
At the start of your shooting phase, 1 Astra Militarum unit from your army equipped with a Vox caster, and 1 enemy unit that is just visible to that unit. No range on this visibility. As long as I can see you, I can use this stratagem.
Yeah.
Until the end of the phase, each time an Astra Militarum model from your army makes an attack with an indirect fire weapon that targets the enemy unit, unless the attacking model is battle shocked, add 1 to the hit roll. What? So now, and we showcased this yesterday, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you take aim as a Basilisk. You're now Ballistic Skill 3+.
Right.
You're heavy because you're a Basilisk, so you stay still, you get +1 to hit, you go to 2+. I then target an indirect enemy unit that I can't see, -1 to hit and back to 3+. I spend 1 CP on this stratagem because my spotter's out of his vehicle and looking at you. I go back to hitting you on 2s out of line of sight.
Oh my god, that's crazy. And it signals something very clearly here, which is Guard are about ignore line of sight. They're about their big mortars and their backfield, not actual mortars, but their out of line of sight guns. That is so incredibly strong. The fact that this one, unlike the previous one, is just all your units for 1 CP with no real restrictions.
Yeah.
Crazy really powerful.
And there's not like, I was kind of expecting a restriction on the distance of the spotter or, no. 1
Wildly
CP,
powerful.
Another +1 to hit. And I think some people read this, and because they looked at things like Basilisks having heavy, well, there's not really a benefit to it, but you can stack +1s to hit. They did it. Brian talked about this with Bridger on a good talk last Thursday. You can stack multiple +1s to hit. You can stack 7 +1s to hit on top of each other and have +7 to hit. But when it comes to rolling the dice, you could only ever benefit from +1. But at that point, your opponent would need -7 to cancel it out.
Exactly.
Okay? So stacking 2 +1s means that if someone pulls a trick like lightning fast reactions, you're still going to get your +1 to hit.
Yep.
It's really, really good. Really good.
Said. Inspired Command is a 1 command point stratagem in your opponent's command phase. You pick an Astra Militarum officer from your army, and you can issue 1 order as if it was the command phase. And you can't do that if you're battle shocked. Very interesting. How do you feel about this one?
I love it.
Yeah? Talk to me about it.
Well, we talked about that 1 order that I said people are underrating right now, which is +1 leadership and gain an OC. So you're contesting an objective. This happens in your opponent's command phase before they score objectives. You drop that 1 strategy, that 1 order on where you go +1 OC and go, suddenly you're now scoring your objective. Oh, no, you're not. I have a higher OC now.
It's so mean.
I've taken it off of you.
Oh my god.
There's nothing you can do about it. Sorry, dude.
It's so mean. Because they're like, okay, you have 5 OC right now, but it could become 10 OC. So I need to put 11 right now. And if they do that, then you don't spend the CP at all. Yeah. Just the threat of it is forcing them to make moves and be awkward about it. And you don't have to spend anything to have this already do amazing work.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. I like it quite a lot. For me, that's the best use case of that particular strategy.
Yeah, for sure.
Is improving your OC and stopping your opponent from scoring.
I think it's a cool opportunity for Guard players to finesse, though, and really learn the tricks. Because there's a lot of opportunities that opens up that might not be clear right now to us.
Yeah, I agree. Armoured Might. This is going to be very important for Guard. Okay, so 2 CP. So it sounds expensive because 2 CP in this edition is the highest I think we've seen it go to so far. We've seen a 3 CP stratagem outside of someone vecting something. But this is because this one's very important for Guard players. So in your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy that has selected its targets, okay, one vehicle from your army that was selected as the target of one or more of the attacking unit's attacks, you're -1 damage.
Okay. 2 CP is a lot.
2 CP is a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot, to be fair, and it didn't, it didn't really come into play as much last night as I'd have liked it to, because Bridges Knights had obscene numbers of damage with things like thermal cannons, and minusing 1 from D6 + 6 doesn't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
But this could be really big. There is a ton of factions out there that kind of cap out at mostly damage 2 and 3, and so having -1 damage on your Liam and Russes that are 13 wounds with a 2-up save and toughness 11 is a big deal.
And it's cool for your super heavies and stuff like that. Like this, really, you're going to use it on a high value vehicle, so it's not going to be all the time.
One of the big things I like about the changes to this, and I don't know how the community feels about it, but I'm a big fan of the fact that this is just 2 CP. It's not 1 CP on a tank, 2 CP on a Titanic, or that kind of nonsense. It's just 2 CP all the time. Big fan. I think there is some play in Guard super heavy tanks, which I'm excited about. I've loved Shadow Swords forever.
Yeah.
They're just my favourite. And this helps them. It gives you some degree of protection, not to mention the fact that you have a 45-point Engine Seer character who can heal you for D3 wounds and give you a 4+ invulnerable save against both ranged and melee attacks as well. So there's ways now where you can go, I'm putting 440 points into a Shadow Sword. I want to make sure I keep it alive. Yeah. And this helps that.
And then 2 CP
I really don't have a problem with 2 CP on this one.
Yeah,
with you.
I think it's totally fine. I think that's the strats. Yep, so we're going to go back up to
the enhancements. Because they're all over the bloody place right now.
That's how we do it, apparently.
Yeah, yep. I love the Guard, by the way.
They're a really cool faction.
Yeah.
Ooh, the Death Mask of Alanius. This is for an officer only. Officer. While the Bears unit is battle shocked, I'm not looking at you. While the Bears unit is battle shocked, subtract 1 from the OC of models in that unit instead of changing it to 0. That's cool.
So, as we discovered yesterday, Guard leadership is what can only be described as dog shit on the whole.
Yeah.
Specifically,
I was gonna say poo.
If you're against a unit like a Chaos Knights. So why is it bad? Okay, so Guard leadership across the board is 7, basically.
7.
Right? Most of it's just 7, which means you have a 50-50 chance of passing your leadership because of... I say 50-50. It's not exactly mathematically 50-50.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit better.
Yeah, of course, because 7 is the average result. So it's slightly better. But you get what I'm saying, chat, right? And so you come up against Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, who make you -1 everywhere. I passed one of about 27 million battle shock tests yesterday. Okay? So losing all your battle shock, therefore going to OC 0 across the board, the Guard is going to be really stingy. Yeah. So this isn't a terrible enhancement because going down to OC 1 and you get +1 from your order. So
your OC 2 even after battle shock.
It's reasonable.
It's great.
Yeah?
I mean reasonable. That's great.
I like it.
That's like a battle line OC. It's awesome.
Drill Commander, officer model only. While your bearer is leading a unit, I can do the posh officer.
Yeah,
Did you hear that?
That's good.
Yeah. Only. Officer model only. While a bearer is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack, if that unit remains stationary this turn.
Oh, yeah.
A critical hit is scored on a successful unmodified hit roll.
You're into this one, aren't you?
Yeah, I like this one.
You've been telling me about this one.
Yeah, okay, so this isn't bonkers.
Oh, I did it again.
You locked it again.
We're still live.
You did it again.
It's fine.
This isn't bonkers, but there's a couple of combinations which gets you a little bit more mileage out of this. This isn't going to necessarily win you a game. This isn't going to absolutely tear down an opponent's Imperial Knight. But let me explain the combination.
Cool.
So you can do this with Cadians, for example. You can do this with Kazakins. The reason why it's called Cadians is Cadians can now come in units of 20 infantry models.
Ooh.
So you could put this on a Cadian Castellan.
Yeah.
Put that Cadian Castellan in a unit of 20 Cadians. Okay. Why is that impressive, Liam? I hear you ask. Okay. 20 Cadians with a Cadian Castellan. Cadian Castellan gives you sustained hits 1. Okay?
Cool.
Cadian Castellan orders the unit for first rank, second rank fire, which gives you +1 on your rapid fire weapons.
Oh.
You're in rapid fire range. Your 20 Cadians have 3 shots each right now. That's 60 shots.
Yeah.
Okay? And you stood still. This now means that on 5s to hit, because of this particular relic, which is a critical hit, not only does the sustained hits 1 go off, and you get additional hit for every 5 to hit, but lethal hits also happens if you stay stationary, meaning every 5 is also an auto wound.
That's cool.
And it is just death by 1,000 flashes at this point.
That's really cute.
So there are combinations where this can be super cool. Obviously not forgetting of the fact that things like Born Soldiers is just applied to all weapons, so it works on melter guns, it works on plasma guns and all that kind of stuff. I'm a fan, and so does the sustained hits. It just applies to the unit as well. A unit of 20 Cadians can take 2 melter guns, 2 plasma guns. I like it. I'm a fan of it.
That's cool.
It's cool. I was actually putting the Cadian Custodians yesterday with Kazakin, who can take 2 melter guns and 2 plasma guns per 10 rather than 1 of each.
Ooh.
And giving them sustained hits is just a nice potential extra buff.
Yeah.
So if you could give them exploding 5s as well, love it.
Exactly.
Cool.
It's a very spicy meatball.
Yep. Spicy meatball. What are you doing? You broke it.
I don't want to have to.
It's because you're on the OBS screen. You need to come down.
Oh, I'm trying to control OBS.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
You're next to Grand Strategist. You're above Grand
I don't
Strategist.
see the mouse. Oh, there it is.
How can you not see? I can see that from here.
What?
What?
No, there was no mouse, I swear.
Nah, you're wrong.
I'm going to check the tape. All right, this is Kurov's Aquila, a classic relic/enhancement. This is for an officer only. Once per battle, just after an opponent has used a stratagem, the bear can use this enhancement. Aha, I see where we're going. If it does until the end of the battle, the CP cost your opponent must pay to use that stratagem again is increased by 1. So this is commonly known as a Vect, based off of the strat that was the first one to do this mechanic. Basically increase the CP cost of one of your opponent's strats after they've used it for the rest of the game. Very, very, very strong. With 10th edition, we have less command points overall, and we have less stratagems overall, which means it's usually pretty easy to identify 1 or 2 strats that your opponent really wants to use over and over again. And, of course, famously, you can now use this on core stratagems, so even CP reroll.
Yeah.
This is amazing. This is basically an auto-include anytime you see it.
Yeah, Kurov's Aquila is a great enhancement. Historically, we saw this refund CP.
Right.
And this has gone the other way now and made Q cost more.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think as a guard player, I would have rather have had the potential refund, simply because you've got a couple of good 2 CP stratagems in there. And so, like we've said before, CP is a commodity now. It's rare. You don't get as many of them. So I would have preferred it that way. But I actually really love the Vect kind of dynamic. And it is a strong enhancement. And like you say, using this on core stratagems is important. I challenge all of you, don't actually do this because it would be tragic, but I challenge all of you to look at all the battle reports you've watched so far in 10th edition. How many times has Overwatch been used?
Right.
Like at minimum once a game, if not more.
Oh, for
like
sure.
it happens so often.
Yeah.
Imagine pushing Overwatch to 2CP. It's a big deal.
Really punish them for that.
Yeah.
Valiant.
Or imagine if you're fighting a melee army and you're a guard army and they pay 2 CP to interrupt and you go, cool, +1. You're interrupting on 3s.
That's wild.
I mean, you probably don't want to be charging with guard, but you can start to see how adding a CP value to a 2 CP stratagem really, really hurts players right now. Pushing anything with 3 CP in this game is almost borderline making it unusable.
100%.
Grand Strategist. Officer model only. In your command phase, the bearer can issue 1 additional order. Not bad. It's good.
Yeah.
Solid.
Solid.
Orders are good.
What are you gonna do?
They make everything better.
Yeah.
Typically, you're going to see take aim more than anything else. So they make things better because take aim is +1 ballistic skill. It's cool.
I like it.
I think Kurov's Aquila is probably the better of the 4. The thing is here, I don't feel like any one of them massively leaps out at me.
They haven't blown my mind. Yeah.
But they're all okay. They all have use cases. You know, none of them are terrible. I like them.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine.
I think that there's a good balance between the 4 of them here, and a good balance of none of these are an auto take either. So you could, as we had from someone earlier in the stream, you could choose to take none at all, and it's not going to massively impact you.
Yeah.
You're not suddenly much worse because you haven't taken one.
Agreed.
I like it. Cool, data sheets.
Yeah, what you think?
I am both pretty content and happy on the whole,
Yeah.
and slightly pissed off.
Okay.
Right?
All right, let's talk about feelings.
The slightly pissed off has nothing to do with the guard's power, to be fair. I think the power is okay. I think that maybe they could be a little bit stronger than they currently are in that codex. But on the whole, I'm pretty chuffed with how the guard have played out. The weapons do what guard weapons should do. Tanks kind of do what they should do in terms of the overall kind of picture of all of their armoured sort of units. The officers kind of work well. We're back to bigger units of infantry for guard, which is nice because 10-man units in guard, which you restricted to previously, just fall over. 20-man units of Cadians will last a little bit longer.
Yep.
The guard are in a much better place narratively, I think, on the whole, than what they were previously. Let's be clear, when they came out in 9th edition, their book was bonkers good.
Yeah.
And there was things you could do with things like 3CP and Kazakin that you just shouldn't be able to do,
No.
right? So I think that they've done a good job of bringing them back to where the humans should be. They have things that can deal with tanks. They have things that can deal with monsters. They have things that can deal with infantry. Nothing is terrifying to guards. Yes, if you do come across a mass of Chaos Knights, they're going to find it hard to drop every single one. That's true of almost every faction bar Eldar.
Correct.
So I'm okay with it.
Yep.
It's not a problem to me. All right. The one pain point I have is the disparity, between artillery units, essentially indirect, and main battle tanks.
Because the indirect just seems better.
So from a military's perspective, in 2023, a Challenger 2 main battle tank is significantly more accurate than an AS-90 artillery piece. If you don't know what they are, they're British Army weapons. And an AS-90 is essentially an armoured basilisk, and a Challenger is essentially a Leman Russ to a point. Right? One's a main battle tank, one's an artillery piece.
Correct. Yeah.
Because the artillery piece is by its nature more random than a main battle tank with targeting systems.
Yeah.
That's in 2023. This is the fucking 41st millennium. Okay, I'll explain. If you look at the Basilisk and the Leman Russ, and both of them stay still, you can get a Basilisk, even whilst firing out of line of sight, hitting on 2s.
Correct.
You cannot get a Leman Russ hitting on better than 3s.
Feels wrong, right?
It's the wrong way round, in my opinion. Okay? So a Leman Russ, if you give it take aim from a squadron order or from someone like Lord Solar, you can get it to ballistic skill 3+. They lost turret weapon. They lost the +1 to hit for turret weapons. I don't feel like that would have been a stretch leaving that in, but that really hurts them. I thought that Leman Russ is maybe a little too powerful in terms of points in 9th, but narratively we're probably in just the right spot.
Yeah.
Turret's a +1 a hit. Everything else hits on 4s anyway, even if you're a tank commander. And if you fire a turret weapon out of combat, it's still -1 hit you back to 4s. I was fine with all that. That was perfectly okay. Basilisks now outperforming them in terms of range firepower. I have a real fear you're going to see a lot less Leman Russes than artillery. Guards seem to have moved towards almost Codex parking lot.
Yep.
Just tons of artillery, out of line of sight, boom, boom, hammer you, flatten you, and I'll kill you whilst I can't see you, and you can't do anything about it because you can't see me back.
Yeah, sucks.
That's a feel-bad moment for your opponent. It's non-interactive 40k, and I'm not about non-interactive 40k. I don't love that. There's a couple of other things, like Lord Solar. He's dropped to 125 points. I didn't include him in my list to start with last night.
Ooh.
And I was flicking through the data sheets because I was like, oh, we've seen the Lord Solar in every single list. And I looked at Lord Solar and I was like, he needs to go in.
Yeah.
He absolutely needs to go in. Because he can issue orders to any Astra Militarum unit. So he can issue it to the Baneblade. He can issue it to the Shadow Sword.
That's awesome.
Any unit he can issue orders to. So you can get your Shadow Sword to 3s.
Right.
I mean, you can't get it to 2s, like on Basilisk, but you can get it to 3s. So I think on the whole they've done a relatively good job. I think they've toned down some of the units that they need to tone down. Attilans are still very good, but not as busted as they were before. The Codex is good, it's solid. With orders, it's okay. There's a couple of weird choices. Tank commanders are just battle cannons now.
Yeah.
Can't choose the turret. If I was a tank commander in the Astra Militarum, I would want to choose what turret I was in.
Yeah, naturally. That's your right.
Demolishers, which have been the king forever, I don't think they've done a good enough job of not making them the king still. I'll explain. They have every data sheet in this edition has an ability. And people have complained about it because they reckon they've made it more complicated. I actually prefer it because it means I only have to worry about the abilities that are on the data sheets that I'm bringing with me. Demolisher's ability is that they can fire their blast weapon in combat, and when they are firing whilst they're in engagement range, they don't suffer any negatives to hit.
Amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you put take aim on them and everything's hitting on 3s, even in combat. It's good. I like it. So they're okay.
Yeah.
I think Guard are going to be fun.
Yeah,
they're going to be
Guard are
solid.
fun.
They're just not going to be oppressive unless you go Codex parking lot. Then they can be an issue because you just max 3 Basilisks. I probably would think about taking at least 1 Wyvern. I would then probably make sure I'm taking as many Scout Sentinels as I could squeeze in. I'd fill the rest of the list with infantry in Chimeras for objective grabbing and screening to stop people from getting to your Chimera, to your Basilisks. And of course, once that unit's been killed as a screen, you pay 2 CP, you put it in reserve, you bring it back on again. Same with your Scout Sentinels. Your Scout Sentinels spot units for your Basilisks. You can ignore the indirect penalty, and I think you ignore cover as well, if I remember rightly. Basilisks become oppressive. That's how that Codex works.
That's Guard.
I love them. In a chat, however, because I think we've had some things come through. Bridger's still talking in chat as well.
Bridger.
He didn't know Kazakins were a thing until a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Bridger, educate yourself.
Wow.
Honestly, right, we did that one, we did that one, we did that one, we did that one, we did that one. No fucks given. What a great name.
Amazing.
Yeah. I wish I'd got you to read that one out. What's your take on using a Phobos captain with the Spectrus kill team and 3 warsuits? Kind of cool the warsuit has the Phobos tag. The captain sucks beyond that skill. I don't know what that does.
So
You know what it does?
I really like the Phobos captain for the exact reason. One, he does the captain stuff. He can spend a CP for 0. You can do a stratagem for 0 CP, which is cute. More importantly, he lets you redeploy up to 3 Phobos/scout units at the start of the game after you know who's going first.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
So it's very good. So you can use this offensively and defensively. I like it with a unit of scouts when you're playing like mainline Marines, because then you take 10 sniper scouts. If they're popping out any of their characters, they're like, pop, shoot around the corner. You can redeploy your infiltrators, all that stuff. So I like it a lot. I like it a lot with the Spectre's kill team. I don't love the Invictors. I guess this makes them more cute because you get around one of their weaknesses, which is if you want to go first, you can be aggressive. Even if you're not going first, then you can be defensive, and you actually get to know that in advance, so you don't have to put them out in the line. So I like it. I'm not crazy about them, but the Spectre's kill team with the redeploy, that I like a lot.
To be clear as well, most things Dreadnought in this new edition makes Adrian nothing but firmly flaccid.
Frankly, yeah.
They're just not where they were.
Do you feel differently?
No, I think they have some play, but they're not what they used to be. I think what people are doing typically is I think they're comparing them with 9th edition Dreadnoughts, 9th edition Redemptors, etc.
Yeah, for sure.
I think if you compare them with their 9th edition compadres, they're not going to stand up. I don't think they are as good as they were before.
for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But what I'm really trying to do, and this is hard, I'm finding this hard myself, what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to compartmentalise 10th from 9th and be like, how do they look in the 10th edition meta, as opposed to how good were they now and how good are they?
Yeah.
You know?
You do have to separate that 100%. I just don't love like their durability versus their output compared to some other things, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Tyler Ultra 13, thank you for the 2. In your opinion, is a Scion army still possible? Yeah, it is. Yeah, but the thing is, so a Scion army you can do it. It can work. It's going to be probably a little bit of fun. I'm a fan of it. You know, if you take a Scion command squad and make that unit your warlord, then Tempesta Scions become battle line. You can take 6 units of them. So there's some cool ways to play Scions. Obviously, you're back up to 3 flyers for them as well if you want to take the gunships, the transports, etc. I like it, but what you're not taking if you take a Scion-only army is you're not taking any indirect. Now, there is some differences, of course, because now you can take a Scion Warlord, and as far as I'm aware, and I have skimmed this a few times, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but you could take Scions as battle line, plus Tauroxes and Flyers, and fill remaining points with Basilisks now, and you still get all your orders and your benefits. So there is a way that you can kind of tech into using Scions if you're okay with doing that, whereby, narratively speaking, your artillery pounds the ground first before your drop troops then come in afterwards and mop up, which is not an uncommon military tactic in itself. So narratively it can work, and you can make Scions a little bit more effective. Pure Scions are going to have a slightly harder time, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool, right. Acid usage, guard player. Let me set up all the car park. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's basically what I
100%, yeah.
Lolo, thank you for the 5. So, how useless is the Pure Tide Engram Neuro chip? It really only lets you use a strat again at CP cost.
Yeah, I don't love it, honestly. It's cute to be able to... Oh, we were discussing this the other day. Does it get around the Overwatch limit?
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's hard.
It's very difficult, right? I don't know.
I feel like the answer to that one would be no.
Correct. That's how I feel. But as written, I'm like,
The problem I have is there's so many abilities throughout the whole of 10th edition that lets you use a stratagem again at no cost.
I know, it's so rough when it's either just reduced, like with World Eaters, or if it's at full cost, like with the Engram chip. Yeah, I don't love it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think it is that great. I mean, it's not horrific that you can use a stratagem twice per phase, but it's just the fact that you have to pay for it that I don't like, whereas so many abilities, Space Marine Captains, for example, just let you use one again for 0 CP, even if it's like, I don't know why they had to make that one cost. It's just, sometimes they feel like they went, this person here is going to write this set of codexes, this person here is going to write this set of codexes, this person here is going to write this set of codex. No one talked to each other.
Yeah.
Why do they need to do that? Anyway, Durgrim Bloodbeard, thank you for the 5 gifted.
Oh, so generous.
Gifted memberships are very important to us, and it makes me have a slight erection. Thank you so much, Tyler, for the 5. Do Eliminators get extra AP if they were high in a building? Plunging Fire, anything that is more than 6?
More than 6.
Yeah, more than 6.
Maybe it's 6 or more, but yeah.
It gets Plunging Fire for +1 AP, so yeah, they would. 100%
cool.
They would get it. Yeah, absolutely. Eliminators are cool. We're racing through them this time round.
Yeah, are we?
We've done 4 so far, haven't we?
Yeah.
Eldar, Drukhari, Knights, Astra Militarum.
Yeah, look at us.
And we might get 2 in. We might do 6 today.
Oh, exciting.
Talking of which, The next faction
is
Mr. the Adrian.
Let's take a look. What have we got here? What have we got? It's... Oh, no, this one makes me tired. Do we even do this one? Agents?
Oh, I don't care about this one. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Take a Vindicator. There you go, job done.
Boom. All right, this one is Deathwatch.
I have no idea about this one at all.
Oh, let me educate you. Now, this is one of the very few armies that on launch was already a little bit too crazy, and they are immediately walking it back.
This is one of the few indexes that when it came out, I didn't read it because we just don't have access to a Deathwatch army. So I was like, I'm not going to waste my time and energy trying to learn this one. So I'm going to be interested to hear what you say about it.
Absolutely. Okay, so Deathwatch. Their army rule is kind of not an army rule. It's basically just you're going to have kill teams. They're going to let you mix different types of models and units, and basically you kind of just make it work. You can put bikes in transports and weird stuff like that. It's just this whole several paragraphs just to make that work. That's all it is.
Okay.
It's kind of a non-rule. They have kill teams.
Cool.
That's all you need to know. Detachment rule, on the other hand, is very interesting.
But do they keep Oath of Moment then?
They do keep Oath of Moment.
So they have an army rule. Oath of Moment.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Correct. But like, Blood Angels have Oath of Moment and +1 strength and +1 attack when they charge.
Yeah.
These guys just have
Oath of Moment and mission tactics.
Oh, I guess that'd be the detachment rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that page basically just clarifies.
Okay, cool.
Stuff.
Okay.
All right, this is where they basically limit the kinds of units that you can include because they are largely, there's other versions of it in the kill teams, right? So you can include Deathwatch units, but if you do, you cannot include any chapter-specific units. Makes sense, you're in a specific chapter. And you cannot include any of the following: assault squads with jump packs, attack bike squad, dev squads, land speeder storm, scout squad, scout sniper squad, tactical squad. Makes sense. They have kill teams for this, they don't use these troops. Then they have mission tactics, which is basically like your doctrines. You can select one of these. Is it in the command phase? Yeah, start your command phase, and they're all once per game.
Okay. Once per game. Okay.
Once per game. It's like doctrines. So you can give your whole army sustained hits 1. Amazing. You can give them all lethal hits. Awesome.
Yeah.
Or you can give them all precision on critical hit rolls. So you have to roll 6s. I know, right? Look at me. So 2 very strong abilities, 1 situational one, which is, of course, the precision. Having played against this, it is very, very scary. And it lasts until your next command phase. So this is your shooting, your combat, your opponent's turn when you're overwatching, your opponent's combat, and then you come back. So the turn that you can really pop like a big hit when you land, giving them all these abilities. That's great.
Cool, cool. Like it.
So this is solid. And immediately we're just going to get into strats.
Armor of Contempt.
Ooh.
So we haven't read Armor of Contempt out yet on these particular streams. However, we'll read it once, and then you just every other Space Marine Codex basically have access to this. Okay, it's very, very simple. When you're targeted, -1 AP.
Amazing. This is a very, very strong.
Joe fucking hated it.
It's huge.
When we were demonstrating the box set, and Games Workshop very kindly didn't give us access to any of the rules or units for like 2 weeks, and I was playing Space Marines and he was playing Tyranids, I just kept going Armor of Contempt, Armor of Contempt, Armor of Contempt, because that Tyranid half of that box set is typically sat in the AP1, AP2 zone, and he got so frustrated with it.
It's horrible. This, we were talking about Vect's abilities that increase the CP cost. This is an amazing one, because once it costs 2 CP, they're really thinking about it. It's so good they might still do it, but they're at least going to take something for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Solid.
So Armor Contempt, Space Marine strat. Adaptive Tactics is 1 CP strat. In your command phase, you pick up to 2 kill team units or 1 other Astartes unit. And the way that works is you select one of the tactics, and that unit gets that tactic. So for 1 CP, you can give 2 units exploding 6s to hit. You can give them lethal hits. It's very, very strong. And notice, of course, just like the GSC, this is powerful also because you can pick 2 units for 1 CP. And it really incentivizes you to run kill teams, which I think you will.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it.
Amazing. Teleportarium. This is the end of your opponent's fight phase. Fight phase. Listen to that. 1 CP, up to 2 kill team units from your army, or 1 other infantry unit. You pick them up, and you put them down in your next movement phase.
Uppy downy!
Uppy downy. Amazing. And you cannot select this if you're actually within engagement range. This stratagem, kind of like the GSC, fundamentally changes the army. It makes them incredibly strong. This is a shooting army, first and foremost. You're dropping down, you're throwing out tons of shots, you're using a lot of combi weapons and assault cannons to do mortal wounds. Once they get reached, once you hit them and touch them, it's tougher. They actually can get locked in. It's very scary for them. So they want to drop in, just like the GC, kind of out of reach, And by the time you start getting close to them, they're going to pick them up, put them down next turn against something that they can kill. It's very strong.
Right. Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
Think of it like GSC.
No, I was lost because I was like, hang on, if it's in opponent's fight phase, then you're in engagement range, but you actually have no requirement to be anywhere near anyone.
You actually cannot do it when you're nearby.
Yeah. So, but it still triggers in your opponent's fight phase.
Yeah. So why would they do that? I don't know.
No, but
I really don't.
All of these redeploy abilities are good.
They're so strong. And again, 2 kill teams for 1 CP. Very strong.
Jesus, yeah. Oh my God.
It's just like the GSC one in an army that functions very similarly. I'll be honest.
So all of these strats, if we look at the Hellfire rounds, I mean, I don't know if we've done the one above it yet. We have actually.
We did, yeah.
It's picking 2 kill teams.
Picking 2, which makes them super strong.
Yeah, that's really good.
This next one, I will say, is I believe has been changed because it was just too crazy on the launch. 1 CP in your shooting phase, pick up to 2 kill teams or 1 other that is not shot yet until the end of the phase. This is as written before they changed it. Range weapons. Oh no, they did add it in here. Excluding devastating weapons. Gain anti-infantry 2+, anti-monster 5+.
What Adrian is describing there is that bracketed exclusion didn't exist when they first wrote this strategy.
So what you do is you take the firstborn kill team. Everyone has either they either have combi weapons or you're one of the 3 Terminators with assault cannons. So that's 18 shots plus all those combi weapons. Anti-infantry 2 with devastating wounds. And you can be hitting on 2s, you can get rerolls. Exploding 6s also if you want. So 2s to hit, 2s to wound, straight to mortal wounds. It was just disgusting. It was an insane amount of mortal wounds.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So they have fixed this. It's excluding devastating weapons. So it's still strong. It's still infantry 2, anti-monster 5, but you're not going to like wipe your opponent off the field with it.
It is one of those interactions though where I do genuinely sit here and think to myself, how did you miss this? This isn't even a obscure combination.
It feels like you're supposed to do this.
Yeah, it's not an obscure combination. How did you miss this?
Yeah.
It's cool though.
Still good.
Still really good for 1 CP. 1 CP for 2 units to benefit for 3 stratagems is very strong.
It's
I'm
very,
a big
very
fan
strong.
of that. You get some good mileage there.
Yeah.
Crackhead rounds.
Nice.
In your shooting phase, 2 kill team units again from
so
your
small.
army that have not yet been selected to shoot until the end of the phase. Improve the AP of ranged weapons by 1 and improve the range of those weapons by 6. And you cannot select units that have been targeted with the Dragonfire round or Hellfire rounds. Essentially, basically, if you're using Dragonfire, Hellfire, or Kraken, you can only use one of them. You can't use multiples. Extra AP in this edition's good.
It's real strong.
For 2 units for 1 CP.
Right?
That's okay. I'm into it.
Not to belabor the point too much, but we've seen other armies, which shall not be named, that require Dredge Tokens just to get +1 AP. And this is 2 for 1 CP for free.
Yeah.
Dragonfire rounds, 1 CP, shooting phase. Guess what? Pick 2 kill teams or 1 non-kill team. Until the end of the phase, their ranged weapons get assault and ignore cover. Oh, that's strong.
Assault is huge now.
Amazing. Giving you that ability to move and shoot and ignore cover. Movement is everything. So being able to unlock movement and still be able to shoot and ignore cover, which in many ways, the ignore cover is also going to be the same as +1 AP from the other strat, right?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, so there's a set of good strats in here. There's a couple. I want to, like Melody's in chat, right? I know she's a Titans mod, and I wouldn't normally do this, but she's making some interesting points right now.
Totally.
Right? So first of all, should Armor Contempt is the new transhuman? I 100% agree with that one. I absolutely agree with that one, and that is it's been my experience. That's what I've seen people do.
Yeah.
But then she just said it. I just saw this pop up below. Like, who wrote this shit and thought that these were very good strats that need to hit 2 units? This is a weird one for me. I am on your side here. I would have been, although I don't like the variable cost, if they'd have gone 1 CP for 1 unit, 2 CP for 2 units, and you could do it in the same turn, okay, cool.
Could be cool.
I'm more okay with that. Or 1 CP and you pick 2 units that are within 6 inches of each other. There's none of these restrictions.
No.
This is just how do we really make sure people go down the kill team route with Deathwatch?
Yes.
How do we make sure that people don't take things that aren't kill teams in Deathwatch? Well, we give them strats that affect 2 kill team units or 1 Astartes infantry unit.
Correct.
That's how we do it.
Yeah.
And I have a problem with that. Like, I feel like this is actually an active try to force people down the kill team route.
It's too much, right? It's too much because, like Melody's saying, these could be okay strats that become interesting once you put them on more than one squad, right? That's the thing, and they're not truly incentivizing it in the right way. So
yeah,
kill teams. This is finally, I think, officially Codex kill team with only a couple exceptions. So look, thus far we're seeing amazing arm ability, which is Oath of Moment. We're seeing a great detachment, I'd say a good detachment ability, those once per game things. And then of course, amazing stratagems. All those strats were amazing. You'll use all of them as much as you can. So you're gonna want CP. Let's take a look at the enhancements. Thief of Secrets.
Oh, this is the one that's mad?
I can't remember. Adeptus Astartes model. Improve the strength, damage, and AP characteristic of the melee weapons by 1. Normally, Liam, I hate enhancements that help one model. But the moment they say +1 damage, +1 AP, these are, again, as we mentioned earlier, these are stats that don't normally give bonuses to.
Yeah.
And when they do it, you perk up and you listen.
Yep.
In addition, if the enemy model is destroyed as if an enemy model is destroyed as a result of a melee attack made by the bear at the end of that phase until the end of the battle, +2 strength, +2 damage, +2 AP by their weapons, melee weapons. This is super strong. So just kill anything. Kill a scrub. Kill...
Oh yeah, it doesn't have to be a character. Just kill any unit.
Yeah, that's it. So very strong. Of course, we'll see if this can contend with other ones, which maybe affect whole units.
Yeah, +2 to the damage and armor penetration is mad. I think it's really good.
Bridger was running around with a 4 damage Thunderhammer.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which still has devastating wounds, by the way.
Yeah.
Osseous Key, this is a classic Deathwatch tech. You can put this on a Watchmaster or a Tech Marine model only. At the start of your opponent's shooting phase, you select an enemy vehicle within 12 invisible to the bearer. They must take a leadership test. If it's passed, if you pass until the end of the phase, they're -1 to hit. If you fail, you just can't shoot. This is adorable. It's weird because it's only 12-inch range, and it is in your opponent's shooting phase, so they've arguably had a chance to not be within 12 of you. But it is very cute.
There's also things like, so this works in engagement range as well, right? So you can, vehicles that now are very, very strong because they can shoot out of combat, as we've discovered recently.
Right, that's a great point.
This shuts that shit down, or has the potential to shut that stuff down. I actually think this is quite good on the whole. What I do like about this one, as opposed to some of the other ones that we've seen previously, is you take a leadership test, and even if you pass, you're taking a negative.
Exactly.
But if you fail, you're taking a bigger negative.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this one's better than the one we saw previously, which is take a battle shock test, and if you pass, everything carries on as normal, despite the fact that I've got this once per battle enhancement.
Yeah.
Not forgetting, this isn't once per battle. This is the start of your opponent's shooting phase, every turn. So this is
awesome.
good.
Especially if you're dug in, right? You're a problem for them.
Yeah.
So it's cool. Let's see, the Tome of the Ectoclades, again, classic Deathwatch. The Deathwatch are interesting because due to the fact that they were already kind of a smaller book and like an attachment, a lot of their things that really carry the Deathwatch identity made it to the index because there's not much to cut, right? So this is Watchmaster or Captain model only. Once per battle, after you've selected an enemy unit using the Oath of Moment ability in your command phase, the bearer can use this enhancement. Long story short, this gives you a once per game Guilliman ability. So once per game, you can say, I want to have Oath on 2 targets. So you pick one. Once you kill that one, then Oath moves, it jumps to that second target that you've picked. Guilliman does this every turn, but I'll tell you, for a few measly, however many points it is, the ability to do this once per game is very, very strong because ultimately this often is all you need. The ability to just absolutely get full reels on one unit, devastate them, jump to the next one. It's very, very strong. I like it.
So what's interesting about this one, if you read through it, actually, you don't need to kill the first one.
What?
So it's once per game, but if you do so, select an enemy unit until the start of the next command phase. Each time an Adeptus Custodes model from your army makes an attack that targets either of those enemy units, you can reroll the hit roll, reroll the wound roll. You don't have to kill the first.
That's ridiculous. Why would they do that?
Okay, this is really good.
That's very, very good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's why it's once per game.
It's better than Guilliman's ability.
Well, Guilliman gives it to you all 5 turns.
Yeah.
This is once per game, but you don't have to kill the first one.
Correct.
That's really good.
That's awesome.
I like it. I'm a fan.
And you can just throttle that damage, which again, as you can see, this army kind of wants to do.
I think because it's once per game, it kind of needed to be as well as instead of after you've killed the first one.
I don't
because
know.
the risk of picking a unit, not killing the first one, and then you just lose that ability that you pay points for. I guess.
I just don't think that enhancements, they're not much skin off your back, you know?
Okay.
Like, I think it's pretty great.
So Beacon Angelus.
Ooh.
As Adeptus Astartes model only, in case you were thinking about putting on an orc, right? Models in the bearer's unit have the deep strike ability. In addition, you can target the bearer's unit with a rapid ingress stratagem for 0 CP.
This is awesome.
Rapid ingress is another one of those core stratagems, which I think is so clutch and important in 10th edition 40k.
Yep.
So being able to do that for 0 CP whilst also having deep strike is massive.
It's huge.
Yeah, that's
Great
a really
ability.
good one.
Yep.
I think I'm taking the tome every single time.
Whoops.
And I'm probably adding the beacon as well. And that's probably my 2 go-tos for Deathwatch if I'm playing a Deathwatch army personally.
I've already forgotten. Yeah, no, these are the 2 go-to for sure. Beacon and Tome.
The Thief isn't bad, and the Osseous Key isn't bad. They're both okay.
They're cute. Yeah, and the Thief of Secrets is amazing, but again, this is not a melee army. This army really wants to shoot and be kind of dodgy. This is another version of uppy downy Marines.
Yeah,
Except they're kind of just cool, I think.
Now, I'd like to talk about the data sheets right now. I have no idea about any of them.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. So I'm not going to get too in depth as we have before, but a couple of things I want to highlight. The Watchmaster, of course, was super key before. This was basically a chapter master. It was unique. No longer unique, so I think it's actually interesting. It's not an epic hero. Could be interesting to run more than one. I'll tell you why. They give this amazing ability, which is allowing a unit to shoot and declare a charge in a turn which is advanced or fallen back. Woof. And we talked about the one weakness of this army is getting tagged. As soon as you reach, they're not that great in shooting, or in melee, due to the way you have to build these kill teams, which are much more restrictive. So this is a very, very strong, very, very cool. The second ability, Watchmaster, is an inbuilt Vect. Guess what?
Okay.
So you want this guaranteed. The second Watchmaster is giving you diminishing returns, but if you're worried about getting tagged up, you can throw this in a second squad and not have to worry about it.
But it's once per battle on both Watchmasters. So surely you get to use this twice.
If your opponent uses strat, if this model is your warlord.
Oh, okay.
So it's locked to one in a different way.
The other thing with the strategic knowledge ability, though, is don't forget that we've got this 1 CP strategy where 2 units can gain assault weapons on all of the assault queue on all their weapons. So this would allow you to advance, fire all those assault weapons, and still charge if you wanted to.
Yeah,
that's really good.
It's really spicy.
Okay, I'm not against that.
So I'm a big fan here. What I do want to mention is there are some pretty big changes to the kill teams. They've made them more restrictive in a way that I guess makes sense. So traditionally, the way it works, and this part hasn't changed, is you have your base kill team, right? If you're running like the Gravis kill team, it's 5 heavy intercessors. If it's the Phobos one, I almost said Phobos because you're here. Phobos. You take 5 infiltrators and then you build from there. That's the same. What they've changed though is the models that you add to it. So the Gravis kill team, you can no longer say I'm going to do 5 heavy intercessors and 4 eradicators and 1 inceptor just to give you the bonus. Instead, it's limited to 2 eradicators, 2 inceptors, 2 aggressors, which makes it much tougher to build a skew kill team, right? You can't just say I'm going to do all my Melta, all my whatever. So that is a limiting factor. I think it's fine. I think it could be interesting. Spectrus is interesting for many of the reasons we mentioned now, and they do weird things where they take Reavers with the Reaver grab shoots, and they call them Phobos jump packs. It's very, very strange, and give them I think slightly different rules. It's very awkward. I've never seen them do this before. It's very strange, but it's cute. I think by and large.
Why do they again? For me, this harks back to people doing wild things with net. Did you know Ravenwing Black Knights no longer have Corvus hammers?
What do they have?
Ravenwing melee weapons. I don't know why they did change the name.
I don't mind that one so much, but yeah, I feel you. At least they're not changing an entire model name.
Yeah, okay.
This is look at this. Spectre's kill team right here. And they also do the thing you're saying where they make up different names. So jump pack. Bear has a move characteristic of 12. It can move over models and terrain features as if they were not there. It literally turns them into jump packs.
But just the bearer.
Just the bearer.
Whilst they're in a kill team.
Yup. It's super awkward. They suffer from a lot of this.
So this is why,
Yeah, look at this. Infiltrators with jump packs. Infiltrators with bolt sniper rifles, combat knives, Oculus bolt carbines. They make up these new types of models.
Yeah.
It's very awkward.
You know what? This was all part of the reason why I didn't read this when it came out. I feel like Deathwatch would be an army that I would love to do because I love the narrative behind the Deathwatch. They're super cool from a narrative perspective. But I've always just looked at them from a gameplay perspective and thought they're a hot mess.
You're just tired, reading it.
Look at the state of it. If you pull out slightly of that data sheet and look at the state of that data sheet on the whole, it's just a ton of information. Look at this. It's just a ton of information.
This is less complicated.
And it doesn't get better when you look at the backside of it either.
Correct.
It gets just as bad. It's just I don't look at that.
Oh my god.
Look at the mess there for unit composition. Supposed to be making this simpler for people to understand.
It's a mess. We at Titans have our Titan Watch, which is all community created, community driven. Titan Watch, which is awesome, and we're gonna do a second push. People have been asking to send more models. We're gonna have to figure it out. It has not gotten less complicated. I was hoping it would because I love this army. It's really cool. But my god, it is.
The cool factor for Deathwatch is high. I just don't like. This is just. I'm like, I can't be bothered with this. I can't be bothered to learn it all.
Exactly. It is good though. These guys have uppy downy, which is fantastic. I think again one of the big winners, of course, is the Firstborn Marines.
Yeah, I agree.
Lots of combi weapons, lots of mortal wounds. Terminators are awesome. I think it's fantastic. Again, Land Rangers are interesting for the first time ever. The Corvus is kind of Again, it's a flyer. Flyers are an awkward spot.
Yep.
But overall, I think this army plays very, very well, especially if you just lean into, frankly, playing these Firstborn kill teams, playing uppy downy, popping out, doing these tactics. I think it could be really fun to play. Maybe not play against. And I think it's very strong.
Absolutely.
Which is why I honestly put these in A tier, upper A tier probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Art of War agrees with me.
I can't put these in a tier because I don't really know the book well enough.
That's fair.
So I really can't. I'm going to have to just trust your judgment. We'll stick them in A tier. I just, I look at those data sheets and I get instantly put off personally.
Same.
I don't necessarily want it to go as simple as they've gone with the data sheets, but I look at that. I've always looked at kill teams. I bought the Deathwatch Codex in 9th edition. I looked at them and I was like, nope, and that stayed on my shelf, and that's what happened with that book. But, Anyway, Squirrel Noob, thank you for the gifted membership. You legend. I love you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Alex Randall, for also gifting one of the finest memberships. Puts us on some gifted memberships, I don't know how many, but thank you so much. You guys are incredible. Gifted memberships, as we always say, are so incredibly important to us, and I really appreciate it. Marn Easterman, thank you for the 10. Liam and Adrian, what are the best combos that be applied with characters to turn Dark Angels Hellblasters into Custodes Grinders? I know there is a strat that can give their guns to get assault and heavy. That's a good stratagem, by the way.
Yeah. Assault and heavy on Hellblasters.
Can you get them to Custodes Grinders? Because to be Custodes Grinders, they kind of need to be 3 damage. Is there a way of making them 3 damage? I don't know.
Not that I'm aware of.
Because Weapons of the Dark Age has gone away, right?
Correct. The normal combo with Hellblasters is, of course, not part of Dark Angels. It's part of Gladius, right? Which is the apothecary with Bolter Discipline. So in Dark Angels specific, I mean, obviously you could take the Gladius detachment, but with Dark Angels specifically, I'm not sure. I think Inceptors are better Custodes Grinders, right? Because they're 3 damage there, if you overcharge them.
Yeah.
So...
I think Space Marines do have answers to Custodes. I think Dark Angels definitely have answers to Custodes.
Because they can't turn off our rerolls, finally.
Yeah.
They can turn off everything else. You can't modify anything, but we can reroll everything against them. And I think that's, like, there's one thing that Space Marines love. It's a unit that wants to try to be unkillable. One unit that your whole army can shoot. That's what Oath of the Moment is like built for. And Custodes want exactly that. So it's like, we should play this game. It's the unstoppable force versus the immovable object, and I really want to see what happens there.
Yeah.
We tried it with Shane, but that doesn't count.
He was in chat earlier as well. I like Dark Angels into Custodes on the whole. Plasma, you've got Ravenwing Black Knights, you've got Hellblasters, you've got Inceptors, is going to do some work against Custodes in general.
Yeah.
I really like the Lion, but you have to hold him as a counter-charge unit rather than a charging unit.
It's kind of scary.
Because he has that fights first ability, right? So Custodes have access to lots of fights first. So you kind of put the Lion out there and be like, go on, bro, charge me.
Yeah.
And then you fight first with the Lion.
He's got 4 damage swings, right?
How you turn, okay, currently rules as written, you can take the Lion, you can take Dark Angels, and you can take the Gladius Strike Force.
Yep.
Currently rules as written. And I think you need the Gladius Strike Force if you want to be Custodes Grinders, because you do want that Bolt of Discipline on that Apothecary as well.
Yeah.
Because it just makes them better in every way. I still think that there is some clarification required there, because I don't think we're supposed to be having, Librarian Black Templars, but...
Correct. Apothecary, Space Wolves.
Yeah, I think in terms of general Dark Angels, if you tack into Plasma a little bit, you become Custodes Grinders, and then you can, which is I think what you're probably after, Martin, really mess with Bridges Day.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, so Debs, thank you for the 10. Tank Commander can choose turret. Oh, can it? Oh, I missed that. Okay. Don't get extra rules, though, that Liam and Russes get. Liam and Russ, Vanquisher, and Shadow Swords are heavy and go to 2+ with orders. You are right, the Vanquisher is heavy, but it's single shot as well. The Commissar, the Commissar's rule is glorious.
What is it again?
It basically tells you about what he can do if you are in a unit with an officer in it.
Oh, yes.
Okay?
Apart
from it doesn't tell you that you can join a unit with an officer in it.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. We did solve this, however, because we had this question last week. It's on the actual units they can join. So one of the infantry squad actually says specifically you can have an officer, you can have a commissar and a whatever in there.
Oh, is it?
So we found that
that's a weird place.
When it's an exception to the rule, it'll include it on the unit. So Orc Boys, I believe, have the same nomenclature. I'm not saying it's right, but that's the kind of the internal logic.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because we had the same exact question, and we're I don't know.
It was always on the units data sheet. Like
usually it's on the character.
Say on the character's data sheet, you can join a unit that's already been joined by a Space Marine.
I think it's when you have like double characters, then it's on the unit. The unit has to allow you to
Okay. Yeah, I missed that the Liam and tank commanders can take different turrets. I
Good.
don't know how I missed that one. Maybe our data sheets that I originally had didn't tell me that they could.
We're going to stick to that story.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that one for a while, by the
Evan,
way.
thank you. Yeah, it's my get out of jail free clause, chat, right?
Yeah.
Do not pass go. Anyway, thank you, Evan, for the 10. The fearless leaders of 40k battle reports.
Oh!
Also, Joe is a national treasure who we must protect at all costs. Thanks for all the great content.
Appreciate it.
Oh, it's just a nice message.
I appreciate the
That's nice.
support.
The fearless leaders of 40k battle reports. I don't know how I feel about that.
Being fearless or being leaders?
The leaders of 40k battle reports.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'll take it, but I appreciate it.
I'll take
Appreciate
the compliment.
Yeah.
I think you clearly don't watch any other channels. Anyway.
Keep it that way so you don't know any better.
Yeah, right? So I think we've got one more faction we can get to in the time that we have planned.
I reckon. Let's do this. Cool. Index review. Goodbye, Deathwatch. We barely knew you. This is, speaking of which.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Custodes.
This is, God, I wish we could, man, you know what we should have done for this one? We should have gone and, like, taken clips of Bridger before he played all of his games.
Yes.
The hot takes about how bad this army is, they need help, you know. Hopefully the Forge World stuff is good because the basic stuff is bad.
We should know by now. We should know by now with Bridger that we should just record his hot take on the book before he's ever used it.
Why is he so sure and so extreme? Like, he's so smart, but at the same time, like, God.
I think he does it on purpose.
Yeah.
I think he knows he's doing it.
He digs his heels in for sure.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to play it right down. No one will expect. No one will expect. And then look at what happened this weekend. Right?
I mean, it worked. He's done it, I think, 3 times now.
So Custodes, the Emperor's finest golden warriors, the most elite foot soldiers in the galaxy, the Adeptus Custodes, what do they have? Well, they have an army rule called Martial Qatar, which, quite frankly, in 9th edition, one of the things that I was with Bridger on was a hot mess, and I fucking hated it in 9th edition.
It was awful.
And the most adaptive elite fighting force in the galaxy couldn't adapt at all. They had to pre-pick what they were doing, and you couldn't change it. Hated it. Don't like it, wasn't for it. I made a short about this new rule as well.
You did.
Also on the Titans channel, right?
Yeah, check it out.
So what you do now is you have partial Qatars, and what you do is you pick this Qatar at the start of the fight phase, which is good because finally you can adapt. You know what you're in combat with. It's at the start of the fight phase, not the start of the charge phase, start of the fight phase. So you know what's tagged you know what you've tagged, you know what's about to happen roughly in terms of who's fighting who, and so you can pick a stance, and you get access to 3 different stances. So the first one is Captaris, and with Captaris, you subtract 1 from the hit roll of melee weapons from your enemy, and I think we've pretty much seen Bridger sit in Captaris for every single fight phase on the channel so far, pretty much.
Which is hilarious because that's the opposite of what he said he would do.
I looked at this and thought this would probably be the weaker one, but what it does do is it gives your Custodes a lot more resilience.
Yeah, they are expensive. Your army will be elite, and so in the cases in which you think you're not going to kill your enemy, which is pretty rare, or they're going to fight first, then this is great. And it's nice that you can adapt to that, get the -1 to hit. So I think it's cute. I think, however, if you're not doing this one, you're doing the next one, which is the Katarai.
So the Dakatarai is the one that I think personally was my favourite. I gravitate quite frequently when I have options of rules. I gravitate quite frequently towards the sustained hits option.
Yes.
More dice. Weight of dice and throwing weight of dice has always been one of the stronger choices in 40k in general. And so sustained hits is just one that I naturally gravitate towards. There are other things like devastating wounds and lethal hits that are very tempting in certain circumstances and depending on the opponent. But typically, if I'm going to have a default, for me personally, this would probably be this one. What it is sustained hits 1 in melee for all of your Custodes units. What does that mean? On a critical hit roll, typically an unmodified hit roll of a 6, you gain an additional hit. Not an additional attack to roll, just an additional hit.
Automatic, which is great, especially because Custodes, while they do have way more attack than they've ever had, possibly too many, these are very big, they're value hits. You know, these are axes or spears or whatever. And so every 6 is going to be much more valuable than, say, a lasgun on a 6, right? So big value here. The last one, of course, is Rendax, which isn't bad. You will use it situationally, gives your melee weapons lethal hits. So 6s will automatically wound. You'll see, well, we probably won't see it. There's things like the Custodian Guard that have inbuilt rerolls to wound, which make this less and less necessary. You generally have enough strength to at least be wounding on 5s, getting the rerolls. So in that case, you actually should still just stick with sustained hits. So to me, this is pretty clearly the worst of the 3, but it's cute to have in a pinch, right?
Yeah, Like I've been very interested in watching Bridger live in Captaris stance, and I don't think that is a bad choice necessarily.
Yeah.
But considering they've gone from 3 attacks base per model up to 5 attacks The chances to get those sustained hits is significantly higher than it's been
So
before.
good.
Like, I'm a fan. Now, from a narrative perspective, if we don't think about the strength too much, we talk about the narrative of the stances. I really love the Martial Qatar as they are now. I think it's so much better than it used to be, and it's probably the right choice for an army rule for Custodes.
I like it.
Good job, UW.
You done good. Now this is the detachment rule, so again, future detachments might not have this, which is interesting because it's pretty core to the identity. If you are part of the Shield Host detachment, you have the Aegis of the Emperor, which means your Custodes models will have a 4+ Feel No Pain against mortal wounds. This is essential. This is, in the previous book, one of the Shield Hosts, the Emperor's Chosen, gained this ability. And let me tell you, this was the one that everyone always took in competitive play, and this was one of the big reasons, because you're going up against an army with a 2-up save and a 4+ invuln save.
Yep.
What is the one thing you can do to get around that? It's mortals.
This is when I saw this detachment rule for the first time ever. My first thoughts were, how on earth are they going to tempt me into a different detachment?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm very, very curious.
Because I don't know what they can possibly offer me in a different detachment that is more valuable to me than a 4-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds.
5-up all the time?
I mean, yeah. But let's be honest, that's probably not going to happen.
No.
Because it's too similar to this detachment rule. This detachment rule for me is so good because it just mitigates one of the main weaknesses Custodes has that I struggle to think what they're going to do to try and tempt me into a different detachment personally. It's really, really good. It's kind of narrative as well. The Aegis of the Emperor against mortals, specifically when mortals historically came from things like psychic attacks, it is kind of narrative too. It's maybe not the most exciting rule in the world, but it does give you the ability that Custodes really, really need.
Yeah, it is narrative. You know, right now I'm reading through the Siege of Terra and talking about like how the demons and the demon primarchs like can't get past like the shield of the Emperor, and they land, they're fighting, and then they run into this like this wall, this impenetrable wall that will literally burn them up. So it's cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Alrighty, let's take a look at some strats. Let's see if they've gone with enhancements first again.
Oh.
Hey,
back to
right.
strats first.
You're all right, Custodes.
Yeah, Slayers of Nightmares. For 1 CP, Adeptus Custodes unit in the fight phase that has not yet been selected to fight until the end of that phase. Each time a model of that unit makes an attack that targets a monster or vehicle unit, add 1 to the wound roll.
So
really good. 1 CP,
God.
really, really good. So Custodes have got more attacks than them before, but they don't have access to like loads of 14 damage everywhere. So this stratagem is actually going to be clutch to give them abilities to deal with those bigger targets on the whole.
Yep. Remember how we were saying lethal hit's probably not particularly interesting?
Yeah.
That's another reason.
This is another reason why. Now, one caveat I will add with this right now, as we're doing all of these armies and all of these factions, we don't know Forge World.
Yeah.
So it might be that this is less important. Let's say the Telemon and what's the other big, the Caladus or something?
Yeah, Caladius.
They might have incredible range profiles, which actually makes this less compelling because they already have the ability to deal with vehicles and monsters. Who knows?
That's true.
But at the moment, as the book is as a standalone, this is almost a guaranteed use strat if you come up against someone with vehicles and monsters.
Yep.
I like it.
Absolutely. Unwavering Sentinels, expensive. It's a 2 command point stratagem. At the start of the fight phase, you pick an Adeptus Custodes unit, excluding Anathema Psychana, so that's the sisters, who I think they get done dirty here, that is within range of an objective marker. Until the end of the phase, your unit has the fight's first ability. This is possibly the most important stratagem in this whole army, because if you can shoot Custodes, cool, that's great. If they charge you, they're going to hit you super hard with a bunch of the things we've already looked at. So arguably the way to fight them back is to charge them. And we've seen how important fight first is now, because if you had fight first and you're getting charged, you will fight first. So people are just killing each other over the ability to like put a Judiciary in a unit, put a Mo in a unit. It's super, super important. Here, 2 CP, any Custodes unit can get it on demand. Oh. So unless your Custodes player is being forced to burn those CP, it's going to be nigh impossible to charge them.
I think depending on your opponent, you see your Custodes player probably make sure he has these in the pocket.
Yeah, they have to at all times.
Absolutely.
If you convect them and make them, they're still going to save up for the strat because they have to. So you'll be turning off other strats.
Yeah. But it's a very good stratagem, and I think we see people play that very, very commonly. And I like it. It is also Custodes though, but let's not be being around the bush here. Fights first is an incredibly powerful ability, especially when you can put it on a unit that isn't too shabby in melee. So if you're putting excuse me, if you're putting fights first on a unit of Eldar Guardians, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
No one cares. If you're putting fights first on a unit of fucking 10 Alaris Custodian Terminators, oh my god. I'm
crazy.
not sure what their maximum unit size is, but probably 6, like, for example.
Probably.
But yeah, like, that becomes a problem. That
10 Custodian Guard?
Yeah.
Who for some reason get the shock tactics rule to reroll wounds on an objective. Like, what? Okay, giving that to Assault Intercessors, who are strength 4, AP 1.
Yeah.
Hitting on 3s. That's
Not so
great.
bad.
Love it. These guys are hitting on 2s with crazy strength, crazy AP, crazy damage. Like, what?
Yeah.
Welcome back.
What did you do there?
I hit the thing, yeah.
Okay. You hit the thing and the stuff.
Arcane Genetic Alchemy. What's this do?
In your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, just after the enemy has selected its targets, you pick a Custodes infantry, and again, excluding the sisters that were selected as the target. Until the end of that phase, each time the attack is allocated to this model, subtract 1 from the damage.
It's pretty good.
It's really good. It's
pretty good.
3 wound Custodes. Again, what we're talking about they're tough. They have better toughness than Death Guard, let's be honest. The toughness 6 is standard, toughness 7 on the Terminators, a 2-up armor save, a 4-up invulnerable save. In this attachment, a 4-up no penalty against mortal wounds. So we're making them tanky, but we are also aware that they're super elite unit sizes, all right? You're not having 60 Custodian on the tabletop.
Yeah.
It's just not happening because you can't do it points-wise. So things that we still need to think about as making them more and more and more and more durable. And so Arcane Genetic Alchemy does that. -1 damage, 3 damage weapons are suddenly not killing a single Custodian Guard.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
I don't know about our Dark Angel's Device now. I forgot about this strat.
Yeah.
It's very scary. The only saving grace, if you're playing against Custodes, because you can tell that's kind of the perspective that we're taking, is it's 2 CP, which they're probably saving for fight first.
Yeah, I mean, but this is good though, right? So what they've done is they've gone, hey, these are the Custodes. Again, these are the elite fighting soldiers of the Imperium. So we're going to give them some really good, strong abilities.
Yeah.
But you're probably not going to be able to use all of them straight away.
Correct.
Because they cost 2 CP a time.
And you're really encouraged to bring big bricks of squads, which we saw Bridger played over the weekend. They are expensive, so the more models you can have in the unit, the more you're going to benefit from it. So very strong. I think it's pretty appropriate. Avenge the Fallen, classic strat. 1 command point. At the start of the fight phase, you select an Adeptus Custodes unit from your army that is below its starting strength and has not been selected to fight yet. Until the end of the phase, add +1 attacks characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in that unit. If they're below half, add +2 to the attacks characteristic of those melee weapons.
So if you have a Custodian Guard squad of 10 guys and you lose 1 Custodian Guard, for 1 CP, you've lost 5 attacks, you then +9.
Yep, not bad, not
What?
bad. It punishes your opponent for trying to kill me. Oh, you kill my friend? You kill my friend of 10,000 years? Well, we're gonna go beat you up.
He's been to all my birthdays. Yeah, I mean, it's good.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting with this one is it's less compelling on smaller unit sizes. So
again.
if you do, for whatever reason, take a unit of 3 Custodian Guard, I think, what's that minimum unit size? 4? Minimum unit size is 4. If you have a unit of 4 Custodian Guard, and you lose 1 Custodian Guard, so you lose 5 attacks, you then gain 3 attacks if you've just lost the 1. It's less compelling, but then again, it's 1 CP. So it's not breaking the CP bank if you want to use it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a cool stratagem. It also has ported across from previous Custodes book as well, so that's cool.
Very flavorful, you know? Got some more stratagems.
Vigil Unending, which is a command phase based stratagem. Again, for Custodes infantry units that are not sisters. 1 destroyed model is returned to your unit with its 4 wounds remaining. You cannot target the same unit with this stratagem more than once per battle. I mean, that's 1 CP to bring a whole Custodian Guard back, or a Warden, or, Jesus Christ, an Alaris Custodian Terminator.
Oh my god.
That's mad good.
So good. The exchange rate from CP to points here is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's once per battle, but you will do it. It's super clutch.
But it's once per battle per unit.
Correct. Sorry, yeah, you will do this once per battle per unit.
So you could potentially do this all 5 turns.
Yep. And of course, if you played this kind of mechanics in previous editions, you'll know that this is also an amazing way to gain movement on an infantry squad. Put them 2 inches away in coherency, suddenly you've gained about 3 inches of extra movement, which is important because you're largely foot slogging or coming out of Land Raider.
So does the clarification document specifically state that in instances like this you cannot end an engagement range? Or is that normally attached to a unit ability?
I don't know.
Because if it's not in the clarification document,
You can get into combat?
you could put that into combat in their
No.
turn. Oh, no, you do it in your command phase, don't you? Oh, it's your command. Okay,
Command
that's good.
phase.
Thank God for that. Jesus Christ. That would have been a problem otherwise. Anyway, That's cool.
Sworn Guardians, 1 CP strat in your movement phase. You select 1 Adeptus Custodes unit, excluding Sisters, within range of an objective. The effect, the objective marker remains under your control even if you have no models within range of it until your opponent controls it at the start of any turn. So again, this is like the Knight strat that we saw earlier. Just like Knights, this is ultimately a expensive army. They're going to be elite. It's going to let you hold things even when you walk away from them.
Yeah, 1 CP to make sticky objectives. It's cool. I like it. And it rounds out a set of 6 solid command point stratagems, right? A couple of them are quite expensive. If I'm a Custodes player, I'm looking at all of these and thinking, actually, there are reasons why I could use every single one of these stratagems. I don't think I massively see myself wanting one over the other. And again, CP's rare. This is where they've done a very good job of giving a Custodes player a choice and typically not seeing a player spam the same stratagem over and over and over and over again. This is a great set of stratagems for the book. Yeah. Narrative, flavorful, strong, but not ridiculous in places. I really like it. I'm a big fan of it. But the only thing I have where I'm slightly sad, the only sort of point of contention for me, is that the majority of them just exclude Sisters.
Yeah, it sucks.
Which sucks a little bit.
I don't know why they keep doing that.
Why, like, I want, like, for me, like, one of the main Custodians books, I can't remember the name of it, that I listened to, is a Sister of Silence and a Custodian fighting side by side.
Yep.
The narrative is that these two groups fight side by side, and these stratagems are going, nah, we don't want Sisters.
Right.
We don't want to do anything.
They don't do anything for you. There's not really any synergy.
I don't like it.
They're kind of just like cheap trading units.
Is there any reason why Sisters, for example, so the Avenge the Fallen that they do, okay, I kind of get that one actually being Custodians only.
Sure.
But why can't Sisters have sticky objectives?
This one they definitely should have gotten.
Jackals for World Eaters have sticky objectives.
Jackals?
What, Jackals? Why can't Sisters?
Yeah.
Like that's just a weird differentiation that I don't feel like they needed in that one there.
Definitely. Yeah, some of the, I understand. -1 damage on Sisters, they're only 1 wound, right? You know, it's fine.
Yeah.
But overall, unnecessary. What's up with that, G-dubs?
Yeah. What's up with that?
What's up with that?
Okay. So we got some enhancements, and we can talk about some data sheets. Unstoppable Destroyer! Are they actually unstoppable? Adeptus Custodes model only, again excluding Sisters. Each time the bearer ends a charge move, select one or more enemy within engagement range of the bearer, and roll a d6. On a 2 to 5, the enemy suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 6, the enemy suffers 3 mortal wounds. This is interesting. This is an enhancement that Bridger had on a shield captain, and I talked him out of it.
Yeah.
So it's not bad. It's not bad.
It's okay. The second bullet point is almost more interesting.
Which one?
Once per battle, after the bearer's unit ends a charge move, all enemy units within 6 must take a battle shock test.
Okay, so this is where we see this theme now that we're seeing in enhancements throughout the Custodes book.
Yeah.
They have an ability that they can do all the time, and they have another ability they can do once per battle to kind of show them really at the last minute adapting to the situation and making something special happen.
Popping off.
It's not bad. The mortal wounds is nice, but we're paying for an enhancement which could do nothing if you roll a 1 on the mortal wound chart. And then we're paying for an enemy unit to take a battle shock test once per battle. And the reason why I don't like this, it's once per battle and they could just pass it.
Yep.
So he had this one. I actually told him, I think what you should do, this was on Friday before we started on Saturday, I think what you should take this off, and I think you should put the Veiled Blade on.
Ooh.
What does the Veiled Blade do? So the Adeptus Custodes model, same shield captain that he adds 2 to his attacks characteristics of his melee weapons.
Oh, this thing.
Already good. If you think about, I mean, I wasn't expecting him to sit in Captaris the whole time.
Sure, yeah.
But he's getting sustained hits now without even having to roll it, because he just gets it for his relic. And if he does go sustained hits, he's got more chances of gaining those sustained hits. And then his once per battle ability at the start of his command phase, he can triple his objective control characteristic. So, the reason why I told him to swap. Unstoppable Destroyer requires, in certain circumstances, we're talking about capturing objectives, requires your opponent to fail a battle shock test. They then might go to 0, you then might be able to take that objective off them.
Yep.
If you play the numbers game with your Custodian Guard or your Wardens or your Terminators, and then you pop this, which is guaranteed to triple your OC, up to 6, you then take that objective off them without having to rely on them failing a battle shock test.
Correct. And honestly, it's the same thing even with the first bullet point, right? It's +2 attack, guarantee, or a chance of doing some mortal wounds. You take the sure bet every time. That's infinitely better.
So I just think the Blade was better, and I talked Bridger through this, and he said, you guarantee the 2 attacks, rather than the mortal wounds, whereas you might get them, you might not get them.
Yeah.
And you're guaranteed to triple your objective control, whereas a battle shock, you might pass it, you might not pass it.
Absolutely.
And that's why I said to him I would pick the Veiled Blade over Unstoppable Destroyer. And we then switched.
And it was impactful.
Yeah, was it? Did it actually play off?
Yeah, it was very scary for me. Because it was like, okay, you have to get in, and you can become an OC6.
Yeah.
So you have to get in, and you have to kill him, otherwise you can take the objective back. And he had enough attacks to actually do damage against me. He rolled horribly, but
Yeah.
he had the attacks to get through GSC, whereas if he didn't have that, he actually physically couldn't kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Inspirational exemplar. The first bullet point is, of course, Adeptus Custodes, excluding Sisters. The bearer has a leadership characteristic of 5+. Once per battle, at the start of any phase, you can select one Adeptus Custodes unit that has been battle shocked within 12 of the bearer. That unit is no longer battle shocked.
I don't hate this. I know you get, but objective control, leadership characteristic of 5+ is basically the best you can get in the game.
Yeah, well, they already have 6, right?
Yeah, you get +1.
Yeah, it's cute. I guess, okay, I'll say this. Of the ones we've seen thus far, I can understand why I would take this.
Yeah. So
there's not one that I'm like, I absolutely need this.
Remembering as well, you have an elite force that needs to be able to control objectives with basically every unit in the army to score properly.
Yeah.
And you have a set of incredible stratagems to try and maximise what you're doing with your few bodies that you have on the tabletop. So failing battle shock for Custodes will really fucking sting.
Yeah.
It will just hurt.
Yeah, it's true.
Because you can't hold the objective, you can't play any stratagems to keep them alive, to make them more, it just flat hurts. So giving them an objective control of 5+, which means that more often than not, you're probably going to pass that battle shock, is very important. And then it says a unit that's within 12 inches that's battle shocked. That can still be the same unit.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because you're a unit within 12.
Yeah.
And you just turn off battle shock.
That's great.
And it's at the start of any phase. Here's where I find the problem with it though.
Yeah.
It's at the start of any phase, Adrian.
Uh-huh.
Right? When do you battle shock?
At the end of the phase.
End of the command phase. When do you score your points?
At the end.
So this is where this then becomes for me a little bit worse. I like the 5+ leadership. The only reason why the auto passing is important then is for stratagems. It's not actually for scoring, and that's because at the end of your command phase, you go in command phase step 1, you do your command abilities. Command phase step 2, you take your battle shock tests.
Yeah.
Okay. You then fail your battle shock, you go to OC 0. End of the command phase, you then score your objectives. Your OC 0, you score no points. Start of the shooting phase, you can then pop this. At that point, you haven't scored your objectives though.
Exactly. Yeah, not quite the same, is it?
No. Well, the only way it does then potentially impact scoring is they are then no longer battle shocked, which means when you move into your opponent's command phase, if you're contesting that objective, you're back to contesting it again and potentially stopping them from scoring it at least.
Yeah. It's not nothing.
It's not nothing.
But you bring up a good point, actually.
It's not nothing, but it's okay. It's good. Ceaseless Hunter, however, Adeptus Custodes model from your army, again excluding Sisters. The bearer's unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn at which it fell back. And then once per battle, when a unit ends a normal move, advance, or fallback move within 9 inches of the bearer, if the bearer's unit is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, it can make a normal move of up to 6 inches, Adrian, not just D6.
Not just D6. This is awesome. This is great. This is my auto include right here. Ceaseless Hunter. Very powerful, very flexible in an otherwise slow army.
Fallback and charge. So the first bullet point for this one is the most clutch bullet point.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Fallback and charge on Custodes, because you get that fight's first benefit, is so important and so impactful.
Yeah.
I like it.
And it gives you movement, Yeah. It's like you need to fall back and re-engage.
Yeah.
This is great.
It's a cool one. I like this and the Blade personally. I could probably find reasons to take Inspirational Exemplar. I actually really don't like the Stoppable Destroyer at all. Personally.
Yeah, same.
So, if we think about the Custodes data sheets now, I mean, I'm not going to bore you too much. There was actually 3 games with the Adeptus Custodes over the weekend where you saw them take on Genocide Occults, Chaos Space Marines, and they took on, who was the first one he played? I'm forgetting.
Space Marines with Shane.
Space Marines with Shane. Oh,
Ultramarines. Doesn't really count.
Yeah. So you can watch the Custodes, and in that list, Bridger had Wardens, he had Custodian Guard, he had Alerus Terminators, he had a Land Raider, he had basically everything in the Codex, he had a Blade Wizard, he had a Shield Captain, he had Trajan. So he essentially, and he had Sisters, actually he basically took the whole fucking Codex.
He took a lot, because it's all good. I have a couple shout-outs. Custodian Guard, as I mentioned many times, have the reroll wounds on objectives. The Blade Wizard, otherwise known as the Blade Champion, I believe this is the source of the advanced charge once per game, which let me tell you, in my game, was a big pain in the butt.
Yep. Again,
just the threat of it. And then last of all, of course, Mr. Trajan Valoris himself has an ability that is turning out to be very clutch in 10th edition. Allows his squad to ignore negative modifiers to their characteristics. It means you cannot slow them, you cannot make them -1 to hit, -1 to wound. You can't even make them -1 damage. And that makes that big brick of 10 Guardians very scary. So for me, those are some of the standout units, since we haven't seen Forge World yet.
What I really love about the Custodes book in general, when we do look at those data sheets, Wardens are very good. The Terminators are incredibly durable as Terminators with a toughness of 7. Everything in the book is pretty solid. The thing that I really want, the thing that I really like, the thing that I really want to shout out here, and I'm actually 100% a big fan of this, is the fact that Custodian Guard are very good and terrifying again.
Yeah, I like that.
So they're no longer there, I need to take them because I need to take them. No longer are they, I'm just going to hold them on a home objective. There is a compelling reason to make a unit of 10 guard and go and do things with them in the Custodian.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, 100% it is.
So heroic.
Because it's a Custodian Guard. And in previous iterations, we've been like, well, they're here, but they don't really do anything, kind of. And we're just going to take them with Storm Shields, and you just can't shift them. And then we're going to rely on the bikes, and we're going to rely on the Lurrus Custodian Terminators, and we're going to rely on basically Forge World Dreadnoughts to do all my work for me.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore. And I'm so much happier that Custodian Guard are no longer just going to stand over my shield and hold this objective. They're now going, no, fuck this, I'm getting involved because I'm actually terrifying. I'm getting involved because I'm terrifying because I'm a fucking Custodian Guard.
Exactly.
And I think they've done a very good job with this book. I would argue that to some extent they may have made a slightly too good job of this book. So if we go back to our ranking scheme, we have Eldar up in the stratosphere all by itself. We go down to A tier. Custodians for me are high up on A.
Yeah.
And I thought they were quite good. I didn't think they would win the Titans tournament over the course of this last weekend. And if you haven't watched it, you can head on over to the Titans channel. There is 37 hours worth of content or something stupid over the course of the 2 days that we did, maybe 27 hours of content we did on the channel. There is so much content about this Titans tournament. There's a lot to watch. You could watch this for the next month and probably not run out of content if you wanted to. And Bridger talked with Custodes and he ran them for 3 games. Fun fact, he wasn't going to bring Custodes.
Correct.
Bridger was going to bring Necrons because Brian was going to want Tau. Tau was basically unplayable in the event. I'm not picking on Brian here. We played it, was like, well, this is going to be bad content. You can't use them. And Brian was like, Bridger, you okay if I play Necrons? And he was like, yeah, cool, I'll take Custodes.
Yep.
And oh my God, he then fucking won with them.
Yeah. They are quite good.
So they are a very good codex.
Yeah.
For me personally, they definitely sit below Eldar, obviously. And there's a couple of other codexes that I think challenge them. Thousand Suns probably give them a slight run for their money.
Yeah.
Me personally, Knights aren't terrible at stat checking Custodes because Custodes are okay against big things.
Yeah. The shooting could be scary for them.
If Knights can skirt around them and just pummel them with ranged firepower, Knights probably win that matchup in terms of the killiness. Playing the objective is a whole different ballgame, of course. But Custodes are a very strong faction. And they're great for beginners because low model count, easy to get into, low number of data sheets.
Easy to paint.
Easy to paint. Absolutely. There you go, Adeptus Custodes. Look at that, it is 5-3, which is when we said we'd stop. Ooh. We do have, I think, one more message from people.
Sounds great.
Now's the time, people, if you want to get something in here now. We have 2 more messages from people. Okay. Martin, thank you for the 5. We love Bridger, but he has a hot mess of hot takes. He has to find the extremes before he can imagine the middle, like Stalin and Reagan kissing.
That's fair.
Amazing.
Very accurate.
Michael, thank you for the 2. Yes, this is a silence need love too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping, my hope, Michael, is that when they drop the codex, there is something that techs a little bit more into Sisters.
I hope so.
If I had the opportunity to run 100% Sisters of Silence army, I'd struggle not to do it.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
I'd love it.
So cool.
Yeah. It'd be super cool. But thank you so much for the donations. You guys are amazing. Thank you for all the gifted memberships today as well, and for the people that chose to become members all by yourself.
Means a lot.
We will continue this chat tomorrow, 7:30 UK time, 11:30 Pacific time, because we've still got some more codexes to get through.
A few more.
Funny old thing. I'm enjoying this chat with you, though.
It's really fun.
I'm learning as well at the same time.
I was thinking about that as we were going through. I was like, this is actually really good to like go through and learn everything we haven't learned and kind of refresh what we saw before we had even played the game and didn't know.
This is becoming completely accidental golden content for me.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying
happy.
it.
I'm glad.
Okay, cool. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you are enjoying it, please make sure you smash that like button for us and tell us that you're enjoying the content. More importantly, once the stream finishes, which will be very soon after we hit the end stream button because my credits isn't working whilst I'm out here at the moment, as soon as we finish, stick comments below, talk to us, tell us what you think, tell us the things you like, the things you don't like, the things you think we've got right, the things you think we've got wrong, the things that we've missed, the crazy combinations that we've gone, yeah, it's all right, and you go, no, hang on, what about this? Tell us, because I like to learn.
Yeah,
we do this for a living and we make content around it, but we also have to dig into 27 different indexes and try and give you all the hot takes. I love seeing what other people can do and going, oh, that's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
We've learned so much with talking through all throughout the 10 days and all that stuff. So we'd love to hear more from you in the comments below.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, right, cool. Oh, interesting. Pip says they auto-lose tonight, so we have played it like 4 times. They lose by turn 2.
What?
That's interesting, because Bridger last night said that wasn't the case.
Oh, yeah? Well, before that, he said it was the case.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But every time he says it, he's like, this is definitely the case.
Bridger's hot takes. Thank you so much, Bryce, for the 5. He goes, Liam. I fucking hate that now. I've grown to hate that.
That's because you say it now. Can't help it.
I have started saying my own name, like some weird self-obsessed Tourette's that I seem to have now, walking around.
You're just a
weird.
Pokemon.
And the thing is, because I just appropriate what other people do, and I've got like weird ADHD kind of traits, I end up walking around a fucking shop or Starbucks going, Liam, and they're like, who let this guy out? And why hasn't he got a padded vest on, right? So that's what's going on. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Like I said, check out the channel tomorrow at 7:30 where we will continue this. And then we also have a live game on Tabletop Titans tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard. That's 2 a.m. if you're in the UK. Don't worry if you are asleep and you won't be able to watch it, because obviously you'll be able to catch it on demand on Friday or over the weekend whilst you're chilling out and relaxing from your working week. That's it. Thank you so much, Adrian, again.
My pleasure.
Being the man behind the deck, essentially.
That's
You
right.
didn't fuck it. It was good this time.
Yeah, it was good.
We didn't go late. We didn't go live 10 minutes late, and we didn't piss on stream.
I think that's an improvement, honestly.
You didn't do a swear yet, though. I'll get it out of you at some point.
Yeah, you could try.
I'll tempt it out of it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Bye.